The story begins with a guy talking about a woman named Snow White. And he said that she was the target, but an agent raised his hand and asked about Branka, saying if she was not Caucasian, questioning if she was not a typical Asian woman, and that she seemed too weak to be a target. But that guy called him the team leader in Soyoki and asked him not to judge the situation by race or gender, because she is an extremely dangerous woman, and Ananayama, also known as Snow White, is the leader of the Yakuza, the Nanayamagumi, and the reason she is called Snow White is because she is the main drug supplier, which in this case is the white powder. And that is why she has the nickname Snow White. And the target plans to throw a drug party at a hotel with minimal security, after meeting with the domestic organization, the international faction, and to prevent the illegal distribution of drugs internally in the country. They must use this opportunity to eliminate her, and since it will be disguised as an organizational conflict, firearms will not be allowed, and a guy with glasses asks him if this mission is difficult, and that is why they assigned the best of their agents, the team leader, Suiyak, and he says that he trusts him, the team leader, while the guy just says to leave it to him. And now, at the party hotel, as soon as he gets off the elevator, 3 guys ask who that man is and start yelling at him, asking who he is, saying that he can't be there, but he tells the alpha that he is already coming in, and then he pulls out a knife, which surprises them, thinking that he is the enemy. But quickly Suyok charges at them, and when that guy is about to attack Soyok, he quickly blocks and is able to move his arm and then cut his throat, and after the first one falls, another comes from behind, but quickly that guy uses his enemy as a shield, and they told him that approximately 10 non-combatants need to be eliminated, and they estimate that there will be more than 20 combatants, and he asks how many agents would be needed to enter the hotel, and he says that 3 agents, including himself, and that guy asks if that is not too many. But Sen says that there are 3 exits. So there is no other way. After all, it is an extermination operation. It is while he thinks that it really does not matter how many enemies are there. No one can defeat their brothers who are stronger than most, and one of them says that this was too easy, while the man thinks that they are the black agents, the elite survivors from hell. This limb tells them to focus on the mission, and once they join up, they are getting closer to the target, and the man says that inside everyone will be drugged, and now there is only one exit, which is there, and they must block the exits and kill all of them. And as he starts to open the door, that Snow White inside just stares at the door while she holds a girl, and quickly the 3 of them stop, and that is what he is asking. What the hell is that? And his friends back there ask their boss what the hell happened there, and why they are all dead, and if the one in charge orders them to find the target now. First he should close the entrances and lock the door. And as they close the door, someone turns on the lights. And after the lights come on, that Snow White says the entrance is closed and the door is locked, which surprises the 3 of them a lot. And she quickly asks them what comes next. A guy is wondering what the hell this woman is, and even now staring at her, he can understand why she is basically holding that girl's head saying that she should kill them all, while Soyok thinks that if he had run away with his brothers, maybe they would have had a chance. They thought they were the strongest, but now they are face to face with death. But before continuing, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. It helps me a lot. And an important notice is that this Saturday there will be an event on our Discord where you can win prizes. So the link to our server will be below in the description and in the first pinned comment. And then she calls the guy on the right and tells him to grab that and throw it at that girl's head. And that is how he grabs her head. Quickly that Snow White throws something that pierces the girl's head and tears her neck, making her fall to the ground, and the 2 scream for him asking, "What the hell is that?" And the guy is really pissed, runs at her, calling her a bitch, but he tells her to stop, saying she is not an ordinary person. Yet at his feet, she simply with a little cap makes a huge hole in his skull, which shocks Yoke once again, and she starts laughing, saying it does not matter how many insects joined. They are still just insects, and she asks what he thinks he can do now, and he, filled with hatred, says she is a bitch and deserves to die, while he thinks he needs to keep calm. This entity is beyond his capability. But they can tee back down now, and once again she throws something at him, and he realizes it was a tooth, and seeing the tooth coming in his direction, he manages to dodge. But still, she grazes him and she says that then she is really something, already with other teeth in his hand, and he starts throwing everything at him. But he manages to dodge, and with a big leap right next to her, he goes to attack him, telling her to die. But quickly Anna grabs his head and throws him far away. Well, he thinks this is impossible, and what kind of power this is, but to his surprise, she makes a big leap and falls right on top of him. And she quickly lands on his 2 legs and easily crushes them while he starts screaming in pain. And with a psychopathic look, she says she really liked him. This makes her even more excited. And she asks him to entertain her more while he wonders how he could entertain her, while she continues to stab that knife deep into his hand. He asks if this is fun for her, and if taking lives is her entertainment, and he starts yelling at her, asking if she thinks this is fun. And he quickly lifts up to bite his neck, tearing a piece off. and she, startled, is quickly hit by a shard of glass that he grabbed, and she stares at it, very surprised, and simply falls on top of him, and he thinks that in the end, he managed to kill her and the revenge was a success, and in the end, he survived alone. He asks for forgiveness from all his brothers who died, and soon he will join them. But at that moment, he feels something strange in his body and starts spitting blood, while she quickly gets up again and says that this was unpredictable for and even though he is a human, biting his neck was really impressive, and after she takes that glass job off her neck, she starts to regenerate. Meanwhile, he in his state wonders what kind of crap that is. Just then, he feels something in his body and starts to scream in pain, while she tells him not to try to understand, because it does not make sense. And he is the first one she meets who is like this, while he starts to twist and spit more blood and scream more and more, and she says she hopes he manages to get that knife right in the palm of his hand, while he keeps screaming in even more pain. And after he wants to pass out, she says he really is pathetic, and at that moment, the woman's henchmen burst through the door asking if the boss is okay, but they glare with a lot of anger. And with that same tooth she threw at the other guys, she pierces his skull, and the others just see that scene and are horrified, while she, very angrily, just tells them to clean up the bodies, saying they will be going back to Japan now, and in this way, it is said that the manner of death evaluates life, and some go into coffins, and one guy asks how many they have, and one of his agents says 33 urns, while it is also said that others go into urns, and he does not know who evaluates life, and this way those guys keep preparing the urns, and the man inside one of them wonders what kind of life he led, and how he ended up there, and now at the end of the afternoon he rises from his urn, shocking all those guys wondering what is happening. But the one who wants him smoking just stares at our boy, and they go over there asking them not to worry, because for sure he is just dead, and they ask what the hell that is, since they have never seen anything like it before, and what kind of grudge would make him do something like that, while he just thinks that he refuses to die, and that guy with his cigarette is just going right down his throat. And Suk wonders what kind of assessment he is going to get, and that cigarette mark keeps regenerating easily, while that guy looks pretty surprised, and stares at our boy like he is pre. And the two think that he survived then, and Suk thinks once more that he wants the assessment of his death. But he is sure he will get it after he takes revenge on that bastard, and in this way, Sukyok has a dream, remembering that moment when they had not yet entered that room, and all his friends were still alive, but quickly he felt a tremendous emptiness and wondered what that was. But due to two hands grabbing his head and pulling him close to a woman with many hands, while she stared at him and said that he also made it. And he just tried to escape from that woman. But she kept saying that he is welcome, and that he is a golden child. And at that moment he opens his eyes to a scorching sun right above him. He wondered what that was, and his head was hurting a lot, and he wonders what he is doing. But he faces that scene with several dead people right in front of him, and he wonders what the hell is going on. And he is completely shocked, but GB right next to him calls his name, Team Sayok, and says they are from headquarters. And he asks him to please come with him now in a car. He asks both of them what happened on the ship, and they say they are investigating too. They heard that he completed the mission and ask if he is not tired. But he says he is fine. And the guy in front says the trip is not short, and he should at least try to sleep during the journey. Already looking at him with the gas mask on, and he realizes that in the end, they used a sleep gas on him. And at that moment he passes out, and that guy with the mask calls another person, and says they captured a specimen, referring to the guy on the other end of the line as director, while he tells the two that they did a good job, and he should bring him to his lab, because they will start this immediately. And he starts shaking with excitement, and with that crazy look on his face, he says he finally did it, and that thing, he got what he wanted. And after a few hours, the car shows up in front of the lab, and the director starts running toward those guys, calling for the researchers. They go to the trunk while he just asks them to hurry up, saying they have to conduct several experiments. But as soon as Corinne opens the trunk, he is completely shocked to see that Sok is not there, but rather the two agents. They wonder what that is. But quickly he gets shot right in the forehead, and two more agents are gunned down one after the other. And even the director gets sprayed with blood right in his face, and he is frozen in shock, wondering what the hell just happened. But to his shock, Soyok gets out of the car and he starts shaking in his boots, and after he recognizes him, he starts running away, calling all units, ordering them to kill that guy with Soyok slowly approaching him, reloading his weapon, and he sees several agents rushing to attack him. Well, he first takes out one, then two, then three, and a guy with a knife comes at him from the side. But he manages to dodge and shoots him right in the arm, and when he is screaming in pain, Sok shoots him right in the head, and quickly two more come running at him from the right, and he manages to dodge the first, grabbing his arm and dragging him back. At the same time, he just has the other guy's face, and when the guy hits his head hard on the car, he takes that same knife and stabs it into his neck while he quickly senses danger, and realizes he has been shot in the head, and then a director walks by saying they got him, and he wants them to check him, while two agents slowly approach Soyok. But quickly he disappears from there, and is right under the car, and with a leap, he takes one down, while Karen starts screaming that she was sure she shot him in the head, and how he could still be alive. But quickly Soyok disarms him, grabs him by his arm and puts him in a chokehold while he begs for mercy, while Skei thinks that he and his team dedicated their whole lives to the country, and he remembers a few hours ago, when he killed the two agents and read the mission information, and he, filled with rage, thinks that now this bastard sacrificed them to get what he wanted, and he wants to show him what he abandoned. Who is that guy in that scene with Soyok cutting off an agent's head? He is completely shocked, just seeing Soyok looking like a demon slowly walking towards him, and as he gets closer, he remembers that he was killed 2 or maybe 3 times almost on the same day, and he does not know what is happening to his body. But what is clear is that as an agent, he needs to gather information and eliminate enemies, and if the law says that, please the team leader is me who should calm down saying, that will explain everything and help him with his next promotion while he asks him to please lower that, but his guy does not care about him, shoots him in the leg, and the old man starts screaming in pain asking him to wait a moment, but the guy glares at him with a lot of anger and tells him to shut up, answer his question, and tell him what he did to him, and the director says it seems there was some misunderstanding, but he should listen to what he wants to say, but once again, he shoots his other leg, and he keeps screaming while the guy stops this useless conversation, and the director says that even if he dies, he comes back to life, and his wounds heal quickly, and some of Anna's subordinates were like that too, while S is quite surprised, and the director says that this guy reaches the top of Japan, even as a new force, probably thanks to this technology, and they also wanted to obtain this technology, so that is what the question was about. That is why they sent their agents. But instead of getting any information, they all ended up dying, and with that, the plan was revised. And not with those mediocres. They decided to send a reliable agent. And he was the chosen one, and as soon as she entered Korea, she brought this technology, and from now on, even on dangerous missions, they do not need to worry about the injured, and the director says he worked hard. The Keisu looter saying he is a hero, but quickly he gets shot in the arm. And he says he told everything, so why? He keeps shooting him. But his guy tells him that he talks like he is a hero and asks if they do not plan to use him as just a test subject, and he wants to know if they at least knew what that woman was, and if there were more deaths. They should have gathered more information, and they all died because of their greed. And his colleagues could have been saved, but Ju says that they will assume he has some strange abilities. Those damn Yakuza are just people too. And he says he would not beg those people. But in the end, that is his job. And still, he lost, and they only died because they were on a death wish mission. And they even gave them medals when they died, and he asks why he is causing this scandal by calling me a bastard. But the guy simply kicks the old man's face, and with him bleeding and crying a lot, or if you tell him to shut up and not say anything else, and he grabs your knife and tells him to feel the pain that the agents felt because tonight will be terribly long. While he is desperate, he just asks him to wait for a moment, but in that way, someone shoots right at his weapon, and when he realizes it, there are other agents in some cars telling him to drop the weapons and surrender, and the director asks, why did they take so long to arrive? And there are several armed guys with our boy. While he thinks this is dangerous, he needs to find cover quickly, but when he starts to run, those guys start shooting at him and he gets hit several times, and after he stops firing, he falls to the ground, apparently dead, and rightfully laughs, saying he looked all-powerful. But he ended up getting what he deserved. He just needs to stay trapped forever, and willingly give his blood since he can resurrect and heal the wounds too. And the director says whether it is him or the Yakuza, he just needs to dominate with firepower. And laughing, he says that the team leader Soyok worked hard, but to everyone's surprise, a girl appears right above that lab asking that old man if that is Soyok, and they wonder who that woman is, and she says she is the leader of the 7th squad, Yaka, and she is from the Yakuza that he just mentioned. While he is very worried, summoning everyone to kill her. But when they shoot, she makes a big leap and appears right behind them, and when they do not count, they ask when that happened. But easily she cuts each of them down with her swords. But other agents start their defensive formation and shoot at the girl while she just stares at them. And at a very fast speed, she begins to block the bullets with her swords, and the agents wonder how she uses swords against bullets, and if that is really impossible. Just then, she cuts the head off that agent, and then proceeds to cut the head off each of them, and with the last agent, she splits him in half. But there is a guy far away just aiming at the girl, and when he starts shooting, she sees the bullet slowly coming towards her head, but at that instant, with her super quick reflexes, she cuts that bullet in half, and he wonders what the hell that is and how she cut a bullet, and what kind of monster she is. But at that moment, she cuts the arm of the guy who just shot at her, and then with another guy, she rips off his head and he questions what the hell that is, and who this woman is. But he realizes that she is a monster he cannot defeat, but he does not even notice when he was cut, as it was a quick Perfect slice. And he lost half of his head and goes to Soyok and says he knows he is awake and asks if he is Soyok. And she says that Miss Anna asked for him to be brought to her while our boy, really angry, just starts to show his teeth, revealing his fangs. And he just tells her to get out of there. But she says she has a correction. She did not say to bring him there, but to bring him to me. And at that moment, she attacks him. But he manages to defend himself with his knife, while she says he is quite impressive, and he keeps defending her, thinking that he has lost a lot of blood and the longer it takes, the worse it gets, and he thinks that maybe this is his only option, already having to attack her. And she says he has resisted for a long time, but she quickly blocks and says this is his end, already driving the sword into his stomach. But to his surprise, he grabs her arm and looks at her, saying he got her, which shocks the girl a lot. And at that moment, she takes her sword and cuts off his arm, while he, with his knife, cuts off her head, and both of them fall to the ground. And he, with his arm and half of his body cut off, he only remembers that woman whose neck was bleeding a lot, which healed in a few seconds, while he thinks that this time he definitely cut off her head, and he surely won. But his mind is fading, and when he closes his eyes, he wonders if he is dying again. But to his shock, she says he is very impressive with his body holding her decapitated head, and he is completely shocked, wondering who this woman is. And so he sees her lifting her head and her neck, and after she fits her head back on, she says that Miss Anna would find that desirable. That is when he starts to tremble, thinking that his body is not moving and he is screwed now. And she comes over to him and says he did well, and when he wakes up, he will be in front of Miss Anna. Meanwhile, she thinks he should be more obedient now, and the blood supply was cut off, and he is still conscious, and she needs to come back now before it is too late. But to her shock, he starts to rise, and she asks if he can really still fight, to which she tells him that fighting is useless. But still, he lunges at her to punch her, and with his other sword, he cuts off his other arm, and with him having no arm, she says at this rate all his limbs will be cut off. But to her shock, she receives a punch and wonders what the hell that is, and where did that other arm come from. And at that moment, his other arm is reconstructed, and he charges at her with 2 new arms, while she thinks, so this is his regeneration, and this is a high-level regeneration at extreme speed, and if he jumps on her and bites her arm, sinking his fangs into it, while she thinks it is a drag. And at that moment he manages to rip off her arm, and with him sucking the blood from her arm, she realizes that things went wrong, and at this pace, she is going to lose it all. And in this way, she takes a few steps back, and with her arm cut off, she just stares at the soak sucking all the blood from her arm, leaving it completely dry and lifeless. And after her arm falls to the ground, she realizes that this is a mess, and just watches our boy turning into a monster and screaming loudly, while she wonders what kind of power this is. But to both their surprise, Soyok starts to bubble again. While she stares, she starts to block those bullets, but one bullet passes through and hits her shoulder, and she realizes she was hurt by the bullet and wonders what that is. But all of a sudden, she finds herself surrounded by several armed guys, and in the middle of them, a girl walks up saying, "Our Father, who art in heaven, we are sending these 2 up." And after saying that, the girl realizes she is in deep trouble because she recognizes all of them, and this woman in the center orders them all to shoot at her, and the man too. And Sai and that girl start to bubble, and when the 2 fall to the ground, the girl tells them to stop and orders them to burn that one, and with a strange weapon, several darts are shot into the Soyok, and he starts screaming in pain as they begin to electrocute him. And that girl from before realizes she is really in trouble, because the sun is already rising, and her skin starts to burn. And that girl asks if it hurts, and that the fires of hell will be twice as hot, and she is definitely exaggerating, while that assassin says they are mere humans and how she uses less to exhale. They have already moved to attack her, but the girl quickly blocked her strike with her leg and crushes her arm, while she starts to scream in pain. And she asks what she is talking about, because today she will die by her hands and soon her friends too. But to the girl's surprise, she looks back and wonders what that commotion is, and everyone is shocked to see him getting up even after being electrocuted. She realizes that he stands up even after being hit by that, and in fact, it is more than that. She does not understand why he is not affected by the sun, and that girl, noticing that she is distracted, realizes that now is the time, and she breaks free from her and starts to run, while this short-haired woman thinks it is crap, and she used all her remaining blood to escape from there. But still under the sun, if she chases her now, she can catch her. But at that moment, she starts to hear the screams, and the guys wonder why this bastard is not dying while he moves to attack them. And when he is about to grab one of them, that woman rushes at Sok, cutting his arm with her sword. She orders them all to fall back while they say yes, and he stares at her with his vampire eyes, and she says that one there seems more dangerous, and she, with her sword, commands him to die now. But to her surprise, his arm that defends him while she talks about how tough he is regenerated in an instant, and another one grows in its place, leaving her even more surprised. When that arm comes at her to attack, she just stares at that punch, manages to dodge, and realizes that it is a good thing, and it is good that she did not take this guy out earlier. With her eyes shining and a magic forming in her hand, She stabs Suyok in the stomach, launching him several meters away, and she says a guy like him is destined to stand out, and she asks him where he has been hiding all this time, that they have not seen him until now. But to her shock, in the midst of that smoke, she sees Soyok drinking the director's blood while she wonders if he is really sucking blood during the battle. And with his body lying on the ground, he starts huffing with rage and screaming in hatred, while she confronts him and says that he definitely deserves to be executed right there. And so with her sword, she activates her sacred art and commands him to come at her, hoping he would charge at her so she could finish him off. But to the girl's shock, he simply falls to the ground unconscious, and she wonders what the hell that is and what is happening there. And after he wakes up, he starts hearing a voice calling him Team Leader Soyok, and when he opens his eyes, it is his boss, and he wonders what the commander is doing there. And that guy asks, "Are you already awake?" And next to him, that girl from before says that now he is awake and, surprised, asks who they are. But when he realizes, he is chained up and does not understand what is going on. But that girl looks at him and tells him to pay attention. After assessing his behavior, they decided to kill him. A vampire. This surprises Suk a lot, asking, "What do you mean? And what the hell is this girl talking about?" And he asks, "What do you mean? Vampire?" And says it is a joke. And how could he be a vampire? Because that does not exist. But she asks if he really thinks so, and he asks her what she is doing. But then she bites his finger and shows him a drop of blood, which makes his eyes turn red, and he realizes he can smell the blood and becomes hungry for it, thinking he wants to drink it at all costs. But after he regains his senses, she asks if he believes now, while he, very confused, does not understand what just happened, and the commander says he can't believe it. But it seems to be true, and he has a video of himself causing havoc on the ship, and the bodies were exactly as that person described. He even wonders what he is teaching, and if he really did that in this way. That woman asks if they issued a removal mission without knowing who Anna was, and they really are very reckless. And our boy asks if she found out that Anna is a vampire. This is something even the International Intelligence Service did not know, but she says that, of course, killing vampires is the job of her Vatican squad, and according to the rules, they should have killed him too. But she is going to give him a unique opportunity to be her little dog, and he, confused, asks, "What do you mean?" And then she says that from what she heard, they have a common enemy, and she does not want to waste their strengths against each other, but rather join forces to kill Anna together. Just looking at him with that confident little smile. And now in another location inside a room, Anna says that some are taking control of the headquarters and absorbing the mafia. Then she asks why no one managed to capture a single insect, holding the remains of that girl who was completely dismembered, and she says she is very sorry. But Anna says that as expected, she should not have trusted Sayla, and in this way, she kisses the girl. And then the girl feels something in her body, realizing that this is Anna's blood, and her limbs start to come back. And after getting her arms and legs back, Anna says this is her last chance, and she must bring her in front of her while that girl leaves with blood in her eyes. But what she did not know was that there was a girl watching her from above, seeing each of her movements. And now inside a car, Sayok is copying that girl, but he remembers a few days ago, and it is telling him that he should die as a vampire by his hands, or he can be her little puppy, and they can work together to kill Anna. And the commander tells him that he must be careful, because no matter what, the agent he killed was from the director's faction, and they have no choice but to target him as well. But going back to the present, that girl says that her expression says it all and asks if it is really hard to believe that he is a vampire. But he asks her why she brought him there, and she says that if it were not for her, all the cows would have already marked you, and in this case, it would be better for them to take revenge together. But he asks her if she can trust him, and she says that of course not. But the enemy of your enemy is your friend, and for now, that is enough. And while he remains silent, she says that there is the main base of the squad, which is a sanctuary, but I am the one who asks if that is not a cathedral, and she says yes. And that way it seems more normal. While they are facing each other, he asks what the hell is inside there, and they enter while he asks if they should not have gone back. But she says that this is not his destiny, and besides that, since it was protected by sacred artifacts, he can't get in there, so he asks what he should do. In this way, she told him that even if he becomes a member of the squad, he is now just Anna's prey, and that is why she classified him as a special case, and decided to take charge of him herself. In other words, he will have to live with her. And now, entering the room, she says that this hotel is affiliated with the squad. It provides a place and does not keep records. And stopping to think, she says that they have not properly introduced themselves, and she says that she is a member of the Vatican's secret squad and her name is Mirror. And our boy says that his name is Kuyak. And then she says that he probably has a lot of questions, and he should feel free to ask anything. So the first question he has is about vampires, and he wants her to explain it to him. And then she says that it seems like he has already accepted, and she explains that as long as they keep consuming human blood, they will never die. And they have physical abilities that exceed those of humans, and some vampires have unique abilities too. most of which are made from the blood of ancestral vampires. And now Anna is the only remaining ancestral vampire, and he realizes that it is the vampire's blood, which was when he bit her neck. If he asks how they die, he says that vampires burn to death when exposed to sunlight, except for him, which is probably why Anna is so focused on him. However, by turning this point into an advantage, they can create an opportunity to confront Anna. But to do this, he needs to get stronger, and she will help him with that. And then she asks if he understands why she brought him there, and he says yes. He clearly understands now, and it is that she is afraid of him. This surprises many girls. While he says that if limited by the sun, he could become something worse than a vampire, and letting her go free is dangerous, and killing him means losing tremendous potential, and then using the common enemy as a pretext to monitor him and eliminate him if he becomes dangerous. And in any case, she has nothing to lose, and she gives a little smile and says that apparently he is not the main agent for nothing. And in the end, he is still a vampire and just part of her job as a squad member. But it is also true that they want to kill Anna, and for that, they intend to make him stronger. But if he has any complaints, he should feel free to speak up at any time. And Sir says he has been dead several times, but when he can kill Anna, he does not care about anything else. And he has no intention of submitting easily, while she thinks he revealed his true intentions, just like that. But even so, he is willing to obey. And what he is trying to say with your goal is nothing more than revenge. And she likes that boldness and will be very nice to him. And she says, well, now that the introductions are over, it is time to eat. And she asks him to bite her neck, and he asks, what do you mean bite my neck out of nowhere? And what does she mean by that? And then she says that whether he likes it or not, he is also a vampire and normally lacks blood for his movements. And he also seems to be seeking blood frequently in a unique way, and he would not want to kill innocent people, which shocks our boy a lot. And then he gets up and goes to her, and she says that her neck is starting to hurt and tells him to hurry up and drink already. And he gets really nervous, but quickly leans in and bites her neck, and his eyes turn red again as he starts to drink her blood, thinking that it is coming. And he wants more and more and more, and he wants to drink all her blood. But in that way, he feels something in his body, and a voice in his head says that as expected of him, he is really interesting. But in that way, he pushes her onto the bed, which leaves her quite surprised while he thinks that the urge for blood must be the instinct of vampires. And he gets up and says that he will be busy starting tomorrow, so he better sleep fast, and if he relaxes, she will definitely kill him. While he just watches her, thinking that he will have to drink blood every day, and his hands start to tremble. But he thinks that all of this is for revenge, and even if he becomes a complete vampire, his heart won't change, because he wants his brothers to rest in peace, as he will make sure to send that bastard to hell. If not, he changes and lies down right next to her bed, and he starts to sleep. But over on the girl's side, the mirror gets flushed, wondering why he lay down right next to her and what this guy wants. And then she stares at the room, thinking that he does not see there is another room right in front, and if she did not tell him there was another bed right there. But still, he lay down next to her, which is unbelievable. And like hell, sharing a bed with a man is a bit much. And she gets really nervous about this situation, thinking that this guy she did not know was like this, and he is really a depraved guy. And she wonders what kind of perverted thoughts he has. But when she turns and faces him, he is sleeping deeply, and she realizes that it was nothing, and she needs to calm her mind. And so she begins to pray, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be the name. But at that moment, our boy can't sleep in the same spot and simply turns over, putting his arm over her, while she just says she does not want to fall into temptation. But she notices that Kishuyoki is stroking her belly, which makes her even more embarrassed, and in that way, she starts to scream. And now the next day, in a private room, she says that today she is going to explain how to kill a vampire, and as he knows, regular weapons do not work on vampires. And our boy just stares at her with the mark of a slap on his face. And then she says, there are two effective ways to kill them. One is sunlight and the other is silver, and even touching silver can cause burns, and using silver weapons to decapitate or pierce the heart will deliver a fatal blow and kill a vampire. So he realizes that that is why she did not die that day, because her weapon was not silver. And with that, Mirror says that aside from that, vampires cannot be killed. And she asks if he has any questions before they start the training. But he asks if she does not say her name was Mirror, and he says that then he apologizes for last night and he has some sleep habits. Just then, she punches him in the face, but he manages to block it and asks what the hell she is doing. And she starts getting even more and tells him to stop stalling. He must have at least the basics down, so we should start immediately. And what he needs is combat experience against non-human entities, and through future battles, they became the strongest member of the special forces, while gaining strength as a vampire through blood. So if he understood, he should prepare. Already charging at him, but he manages to block, thinking there are no humans stronger than them. They believed this was true, but he was just a frog in the pond, taking a punch right to his face while thinking that it does not matter how hard the path ahead is, he will resist and survive until the end of this hell, because he is a secret agent. And in this way, she says that after several months of training, He started to progress and is gaining strength. But he is still far from enough. Just then, someone opens the door asking for permission. Miss Mirror, and she asks what the problem is while he apologizes for interrupting. But it seems she needs to go to the sanctuary immediately. While she wonders what happened at the sanctuary, she turns around and says she will be back soon, telling him to stay there by her clothes. Then she asks why the sanctuary is calling for her. And that guy on the side does not know the reason, because he does not have all the details. But she thinks she has an idea of which entity might have called her this way. And they definitely arrived. Now, outside the hotel, a car stops, and a girl in the apartment upstairs just watches that car and starts to smell something. She says she definitely Kakasok. He is right there, and so, that night, the girl introduces herself, saying she is Bishop Mirror, and asks if the sanctuary brought him there, thinking he is a direct envoy from the Vatican. And that guy said it is an honor to meet her. Bishop Mirror, and he thanks her for her hard work. They are always grateful to her. And he wants to skip the formalities, get straight to the point, and asks if she really brought a vampire. And now at the hotel that night, the man approaches, saying he is going to check in. And the attendant says of course and asks if he could pass his ID, and how many people are in his group. He says it is not many, about 200 people. And then pulls out a knife and kills the attendant because it shocks a lot of attendants nearby. And she starts screaming in fear, while that priest in the back says he will take care of it. And the two of them take charge of evacuating the service and reporting to the control room. But to his surprise, he saw a light in the back. And when he looked, there were several cars breaking the windows and entering the hotel. And that way several of Anna's henchmen get out of the cars and charge at those three priests, while the main one asks how he dares to come here and starts killing each one of them. But to his surprise, the cut he made on his chest has already healed. And that guy starts drooling, and with the knife in hand, he finishes off the first priest. And then they kill them all. Their boss says that he is a force with the Vatican school, and is really a nuisance. And that place should be safe. And if he managed that, there should not be any problems. And right behind them, that girl from before tells them to bring him there. While she says she worked hard looking for him, and she should leave the control room, and then join them. And this happy girl says that after this is over, she asks if they will eat until they are full. And this is the lady from the 6th squad of the Yakuza, Coco. And if that girl says yes, she says she understands and will see her later. And while she is going up in the elevator, she thinks that woman is also in her position, and the only ones left there are the small fries. But as a precaution, she brought in people who use that, and there is no way they can fail. But to her shock, as soon as the elevator doors open, she finds 4 dead people and wonders how those guys were defeated. And I thought, maybe there is a high-ranking bishop in there. But to my surprise, someone says it has been a while since she has been here. And when she looks, the one she was searching for appears. And the big girl moves to the cathedral with that guy asking if she brought the vampire for the Vatican squad. He does not doubt her decision, and he will check the details at the next bishop's meeting. But as he thought, she asks if she has seen that before, and she says yes. After closely monitoring for the last 3 months, there have not been any factors that represented a threat, and he has diligently undergone training at the Vatican. And she says she does not know if he will lead them to ruin or salvation, but she has already noticed that vampires with red eyes stand under the radiant light. While our boy tells that vampire that he will take care of it today, and after he says that, the two start to fight. And she thinks this is insane, and what has he been doing all this time to get so strong? While he continues to pressure her, and she does not understand how he became so strong. While she says he is going to return her words exactly as she said, because she resisted for a long time. And then he pulls her and sweeps her leg, and when she falls to the ground, he presses her down and says this is the end. But this way, she took his move, but to her surprise, he stops at the last moment. She wonders what the hell happened because he stopped attacking. While he thinks it is a drug, his body is not moving. But a new person appears in the back saying that they are all gathered, and this one with several giant snakes, even swallowing a priest, says that this is Soyak, and this woman is the leader of the 5th squad of the Yakuza, Katerina. While our boy wonders what the hell is going on, and if it is because of that woman, and so that girl stands up and tells Katerina to hurry and judge him, but she asks her to be calm, as she does not need to say anything, and she was planning this anyway, already with her snake biting the neck of that girl, while she wonders what the hell she is doing. And at that moment that snake starts to coil around her, and after she is trapped, the man wonders if she is not there to help. She asks why she is doing this, and in this way, Katerina says it is because she wanted a toy that is indestructible, while she thinks that it does not matter how beautiful the human is. In the end, they always die or become ugly, so she always wanted the male vampire, and he did not expect to see one so soon. And if she says it is me who becomes one there, well, he does not understand why his body is moving on its own, and if this is some kind of control ability. She simply places his hand on her chest and says he will be her slave, moving at her will forever. But that masked one says that Lady Anna won't allow it, But Katerina says she did. And if they secure Saya, there is no problem, and then she orders that she be eliminated. She is your useless friend, while the masked one asks how so, thinking it is a lie, and Lydiana would never say something like that while she simply faints, and the one who wonders what the hell is going on there. But Katerina approaches her and asks how something so simple dragged on for months, and she really held on for a long time with that useless talent of yours. But in the end, it worked for Doro, and this one orders that her snake is now given to God, but to her surprise, that girl from Anantic calls for Yaka and Katerina stares as the girl approaches. She is very happy and says she did everything, but to her surprise, she will have the snake and asks what the problem is with Yaka, and Katerina says that it was his fault, and to our boy's surprise, that little girl starts to cry, while he thinks that in the end the enemies have increased, and his way of dealing with this woman is already quite exhausting. Triner tells him not to worry, because they secured Soyuk and they will return to the law of Dina, with the snake on their backs, ready to attack her. But the girl asks if it was that guy who did this to Yaka, and Katerina says yes. Only she, dotting, asks why Yaka smells like her poison, glaring at her with a lot of anger. Katerina realizes things went wrong. And the scene shifts to the past with that Ika saying she is scared and wants to laugh for her mom. But to her surprise, someone appears right in front of her saying their name is Coco and asks what her name is. Name and back to the present. Yaka wakes up and asks about Coco. But she looks to the side and only sees Kin Sok, and our boy asks if she is awake yet. While she does not understand how he can move, and his quick recovery is really different. And she asks how Coco is doing. And our boy says her situation is not the best, but you get up and look and see your friend fighting against several giant snakes. But she manages to hold one's mouth, and starts screaming with a lot of anger and tears her head off, while Soyo says she is holding up well. But that won't last long. And because of the snake's poison, she wants to be able to get close to that woman. And her speed is decreasing due to her exhaustion. So Aka says if she keeps this up, she is going to die. They need to save her, but Sok said that with her body in this state, she will be dead weight, and orders her to share some information about that wretched snake. And she asks what he means, what our boy says that if it is her friend, and him, then they can win. And she asks if he really wants to form an alliance, and if he was not just trying to kill her a little while ago. But he says that at this moment it is the best option. But she tells him not to be ridiculous, and how can she trust him while he starts laughing, saying that then there is nothing more to be done. And this Katerina thinks that she ended up using more energy than usual, and wasted a lot of blood, especially with that useless unexpected one. She wonders why the hell she has not been poisoned yet, and how that little girl can detox from her poison. But she realizes that she held her breath, and that is why she could not poison her. And quickly she sees the Grotto approaching her, punching her in the stomach while she starts to scream, and is thrown out of the building. And after that, the girl finally breathes, saying she would have died if that fight had gone on longer. So she looks for Yaka and asks if she is okay, and then she sees Sayuk and Yaka back there and says she found them. But to her shock, she falls and sees her vision blurring, and when she realizes, a snake did not manage to bite her. And Katerina says she underestimated too much. So you mean they are close? And she approaches her and says it is really interesting, and she will make sure that she and her friend, whom she was desperately searching for, stay together forever inside the belly of her beloved snake, already heading for the mouth. But to the girl's shock, someone cuts the snake in half and Yaka says they will always be together. But in the snake's stomach, and Coco is very happy looking at her friend. Meanwhile, Katerin wonders how she detoxed the poison that only Anna could neutralize. And now the scene shifts to a few minutes earlier, with our guy ready to attack her, only to his surprise, he cut his hand. While she asks what he just did, he tells her that someone once said the enemy of your enemy is your friend. And for now, that is enough. And she must be furious and then give it her all. And so far she is almost losing her friend. So he understands that too. And there is his blood. And she just tells her to drink it while she remembers friends striking the same pose as him. And this Suki appears right next to her and asks, have you ever heard the saying that the most terrifying person is the one who has nothing left to lose? And so when he faces someone like that, it is inevitable that you die. And so back at the cathedral, a priest appears inside and tells Bishop Mirror that they have a problem. A large number of vampires have invaded the hotel, which shocks her quite a bit. And then we cut back to our boy attacking one of those snakes, while she says that she can transform her body into a snake and command the other snakes. And if he gets bitten by one of them and inhales the poisonous mist, his body will become paralyzed, and he will be easily controlled in a sort of hardened state. I think fortunately the mist does not last very long, and they need to close the distance between them now, cutting through some snakes. But he realizes that in the end they are like a hydra and keep growing non-stop. Just then that snake manages to stop his knife, and he notices others coming towards him, taking advantage of that moment. But Sen steps up and cuts them all, telling him to regroup, and if he really is going to die just because he lost his knife. And she says that his powers consume blood, and these snakes won't keep growing forever, and she is planning to drain his energy. So he is going to deal with the snakes somehow while he is going to help Coco, and he says he understands. While he grabs the attention of that girl, saying that they are temporarily allies, and he will detoxify her and tells her to drink his blood. And after that, help him and his friend, and if he puts his blood in her and says that this is the only way for them to survive. She finally recovers and punches him in the face, and right on top of him. He wonders if she is being controlled while she tells Yaka that she got her yoke, but her friend says they now need to kill Katarina along with him. She asks if he is serious and stares at our guy before running away from there, and now with the two of them together. Katarina thinks the plan to use these two to find her yoke was perfect. But breaking the poison and using them after detoxification is just what he expected. She definitely needs him for herself, and the man who thinks he is great. They are getting closer. And just a little more is needed, but to the surprise of the three, she increases her snow even more. And our pilot starts shouting that the snow is approaching. And everything holds its breath, and Yaka says that anyway. The snow will dissipate soon. And the reason for the smokescreen is that he is planning to eliminate them all at once, while our guy thinks it probably includes him as the target. And Yaka, who is quick, and someone who fights alone and trusts Yaka, the main target on her is Coco, who is already charging at her, and Katarina asks how she will get her hands on her body, because she will kill her first. But at that moment, Yaka jumped in her direction, protecting Coco, and her friend starts screaming, and Sok cuts those snakes and says he anticipated her reaction, looking at Coco. Surely one of them would be hit, and he just tells her to come quickly because he is going to give her a bit of blood. But she says she does not need it, but he told her that time is essential and urges her to hurry. But when they look, they are surprised because that snake that bit her had something special, and when Coco looks, she says it can't be, this can't be real, already with the silver knife from Sioki embedded right in her chest, and the thick one goes into another flashback from the past. Remembering that when she was a child, her father apologized to her, and she had to listen because this man had to say from now on. And he asked her if she understood while she thought she was sold, because her parents were drug addicts, and in a group of several children. A man was saying that this is Red, and they must be good friends of Red, while they injected vampire blood into the children, and she started screaming in pain after that operation. While she remembers that the daily repetition of experiments with medication made everyone start to become stranger, and one by one they died. That was terrifying for her, and with the passage of time, she thought it would be better if she were the only one to freeze to death right there, but to her surprise, someone caught her attention introducing themselves as Coco, and she remembers that it was fascinating. She was able to smile in the midst of that chaos even in hell, and because of her, she also laughed along, and every day they spent was hell. But they could endure it because they were together, trusting each other. But that little happiness did not last long with that talking about isolating individuals based on their dosage, with the control group to the left and the experimental group to the right, and it was on that day that they were separated. But Yaka threw her jacket to her and told her to keep wearing it, because she would make sure to find her, and that happy Yaka said she understood, and after a few years, with Yaka still trapped, someone told her that she would be there from now on, only to her surprise, she saw her old jacket and recognized Coco, asking if she was alive, and she thought she would never see her again, but when she saw her friend, she seemed like a completely different person, while Coco asked who she was, and she, quite surprised, said she was someone who wanted to be her friend, thinking that she saved her back then, and now she would have to protect her, and finally, they managed to survive that hell. But in the end, that was everything, and if someone told them that one side is physically unstable, and the other mentally unstable, then what is the difference between them and humans, and why should they keep letting them live? And why not just kill them? And that is how Yaka realized that another hell began, and she intended to die if she did not meet their expectations. She could be discarded at any moment, but as long as she could live with it, this level of humiliation would not make her fall. And if she remembers once again the conversation she had with Soyuk, with him offering his blood to her, and with his wife right in front of her, she thinks she finally understood. She thinks that for the first time in her life someone understood her. And in the end, it was by him, her enemy, with her body breaking into several pieces. She was going to say that to survive she dirtied her hands countless times, and could not do anything. But if it is him, he will be able to do it, and she asks him to listen carefully, and tells him some information, and simply kisses his mouth, and before she dies, she thanks him and extends her hand to Coco, asking her not to cry, because they will always be together. And after the arc disappears, only her clothes remain, and Coco, very angry, starts to scream and calls out her friend's name, and without Katarina, she says poor Yaka. She spent her life supporting her friend, but in the end, she ended up dying because of her. And she asks if they now realize that the resistance is useless, and they should go straight to Anna, because she will treat them well, unlike those other guys, and that is what she says she understands. And Katarina asks if it is serious, and he says he understands Yaka, and he figured out what he needs to do, and she realizes that apparently, he is talking to himself, but Goku told her to bring her back, and she wants Yaka back, already charging at Katarina, while she confidently thinks she is very weak. To the surprise of the three, a sacred light appears between them, and they ask what just happened. But they realize it is the Vatican, and the man thinks they finally came. And this power must belong to Mirror, and he asks Mirror to calm down now. Because the girl is not his enemy, but to his surprise, he sees a shot coming in his direction. And quickly he manages to dodge, and asks why they are shooting at him. But to the surprise of the three, someone says that she is full of vampires. But she tells them not to worry, as she will purify all of them, and Katerina thinks that the attack is full of divine powers, even with her eyes shaped like a cross, and there is no doubt for her. This woman is a bishop. And this blonde approaches, and says they have courage. Attacking a hotel near the Vatican like this, but Katrina, smiling, says that the only one with the courage to align is her, as she brought a bunch of puppets for herself, already casting her nerve over all of them, and Godyoke tells them to hold their breath and signal the fog. They will be paralyzed and will be her slaves, and quickly, Katerina advances towards that blonde, asking how she is going to block this, but to her surprise, it looks like a barrier and she asks, if she just needs to block like that while extending her hand and destroying the head of that snake, and our boy thinks she can handle those snakes easily. And that woman is really strong. While her eyes are shining, she asks who will be next, and when the fog clears, our boy thinks that woman has disappeared and there are no poisonous clouds beyond the snake heads, and that bishop from before starts to look quite sad, wondering where she went. And she asks her team members where that woman could have gone while they tell her to calm down. But our boy thinks the snake head she cut was a bit strange and she must have hidden and escaped through the snake's head. And the girl says she understands and thanks him. And she says they need to chase after her quickly. But before that, they should shoot at them, and quickly, Suki grabs Coco and runs to protect herself, while she says she will kill him without any pain since he was a good vampire. But Suk says he is not an enemy and he is an ally of Mirror. But she says the Vatican does not negotiate with vampires, and besides that, saying he is an ally of her sister Mirror is a bit ridiculous, while she thinks maybe the Vatican has not shared information with you, and how they can avoid misunderstandings. And he tells her he will prove it and mentions room 1701, and she asks what that was out of nowhere. And he says it is the room he is living in with Mirror, and she simply seems to sense her sacred energy. And she is very surprised, wondering if her sister Mirror is really living with a vampire. And she wonders how long this has been happening. And about Sills, that today Mirror is wearing black pants, which shocks that girl a lot. And after a while, that bishop heads to the hotel and realizes that he was really attacked, and she starts running, saying that these vampires are crap, so they took advantage of her absence and attacked the hotel. But she thinks she can't let them take Sok, and she screams for him, saying she heard that the strong vampire has arrived and asks what the situation is. But she faces the three of them and does not understand what the hell that is, and she says that then the Yakuza and three vampire leaders came in, and one of the leaders was killed after they split up, and one ran away and another was captured. And she says that they really escaped by a thread this time, and if he had fallen into Anna's hands, it would have been a disaster. This is what she says they discovered when she was absent, and then they came to attack her, and apparently their information network is no joke, and this hotel is no longer safe. She says that for sure they need to change locations, and they can't be apart for a single moment. And then she looks at him, and is quite pleased as she says that the guy who almost died is facing the vampire for the first time. And then she says he went against three and still came out alive. It is combat training that goes beyond human strength and speed. And of course, also getting stronger through blood consumption. Even if he is a bit slow now, if he keeps getting stronger like this, he will eventually be able to kill Anna. This means that from now on, she can't let her guard down, while she starts yelling at him, asking what he means and if he would not go if his superiors called him. But he says there is something she needs to know, and he has important information, and she asks what it is, and he says that as a vampire, he knows a way to get strong faster than even Anna, which shocks the girl a lot. And she says that the law of the 7th squad of the Yakuza, the Yaka, gave him this information. And she said it a little before she was killed, and the more blood vampires consume, the stronger they become. So even if he gets strong with the current method, it will still be impossible to fight Anna. But if it is vampire blood, that is a different story, and by consuming vampire blood, you can steal the power they have accumulated, and if you meet certain conditions, you might even gain abilities. He tells him to wait, and says he can't trust this source of information and asks what the conditions and requirements are to gain the abilities. It is not clear, but he says no, it is definitely worth a try, because after drinking Yaka's blood, the bullets seemed to slow down, and it was possible to use agility for a moment. This means that Anna has 7 vampires under her command, and now he knows exactly what he needs to do. He has to drink the blood of all her subordinate vampires. And she says she understands, so he brought that for this reason while she is stuck in bed. And Mirror says that you are that thing. You have several now, and the bishop's council is about to be held. And our guy asks what that is, and she says it is a meeting where the bishops of the Vatican gather, and they usually discuss your situation regarding Anna's forces. But meanwhile, over on the other side of the room, that girl does not want to believe it, because it can't be, while she hears them saying that she gives this to him every day, and what she means by reward, while she angrily asks, What do you mean every day, and what is this that she gives to him? In this way, our boy starts to consume his blood, and Mira said he has really changed since the beginning. And at first, he struggled to contain his emotions. But now he seems to be doing it with quite a bit of calm, and our boy just told her that if it hurts a lot, just let him know, which surprises the girl a lot. Thinking a lot of crap. Thinking that maybe they are doing something indecent, and she does not understand what the hell is happening with her sister Mira. But she overhears another conversation with them asking if she should call her sister Lucier too. But first she is going to ask for her opinion. What shocks the girl a lot is wondering what they are saying about calling her, and what they want her to do with them. And once again her nose starts bleeding more and more, and this Amira opens the door and calls for Lucia. And he only sees her in a pool of blood. Very embarrassed, and in this way, Lucia goes to Mira saying she saw her at the bishop's meeting. But Linkar our boy as well and already leaves in the car. And she says that Lu left too, and the problem now is her. And Ikokoku says she should not think so highly of herself, just because she is a bishop, since she still is nothing, and tells her to bring her fresh blood and a place to rest now. And then she will have the joy of being her servant. But quickly Soyuk punches her in the head, telling her to shut up, and he asks if this thing is really going to be useful. And Suk says that, as he said before, he needs vampire blood, and if we consider her an enemy, draining her blood before eliminating her is all they can do. But if they keep her as an ally, she will naturally keep asking for blood, and considering her ability to find it and her combat skills, she will definitely be useful. And she says it is true, but asks if they can really control her, while C hides behind him. She says that as expected from the Vatican. They are very violent, and Mira asks why she is nice to him. And Sue says she does not know. And he stares at her, and that is why he was consumed by rage when his companions died. He killed the director and his crew members who sacrificed him and his team. He killed all of them and a girl who lost her only friend. And she is definitely broken inside too. And he calls her and says they will kill her former master Anna. And it would be good to have her help in this process, but she is not absolutely necessary. And she can die like a vampire. The Inca seeks revenge for his friend along with them. And he asks her to choose. And she says she hated Anna, and that Anna always made things difficult for Yaka. And she hated the Vatican even more because they hurt Yaka, but she cannot forgive those who killed her, and if they killed that wretched Anna, she will do anything for them. That is what she asks what Mira thinks about it, while she says she understands. And she will make sure that this girl is accepted into their group, and now she is her responsibility. So if she loses control or hurts someone, they will deal with her immediately. And Mira thinks she should not have said those words, because this creature causes a lot of headaches, and like Guy who kills vampires, because she has to take care of this little puppy. But she thinks in the end it is because of Suyuk's power to consume their blood, but she wants to think positively for now, and all of this is for a greater good. But at that moment, a little bit of shampoo gets in Coco's eye, and when Silk is cleaning his knife, he hears a scream. And she starts yelling that that woman put poison in her eyes, and told Silk to run, and save her from the bathroom. But Miro grabs her and tells her not to leave until she is clean, while our boy remembers the past with his friends, them telling him that he should be the team leader now. But he just asked them to stop because it is embarrassing. But they happily say that he should treat them better since he is their team leader now, and he asks if he is only their team leader during these times. And the commander comes in and says they should go with him, and back then, our boy was really happy. But he wonders when that was, and when he was so loud. And now at the end of the day, Mira in her bed thinks this is insane for, and she does not have ears for her. But she listens well to Sayek, and there, basically, the little dog is telling her to sit, then to put on her clothes, and then takes her there and continues with her hair, and she wonders if maybe she is like this, because she hurt her friend before, and she remembers Coco telling her that she could not forgive whoever killed her friend. And if they killed Anna, she would do anything they wanted, so she thinks that having lost something precious to her, and being thrown alone into enemy territory, she can't help but be sensitive. And she should understand that. Only to her surprise, she felt a bite, and when she realizes, Coco adjusts her hand and she asks what she is doing. She just says she is hungry. And Mir gives a little smile. Then she grabs her sword. Meanwhile, our boy is sleeping peacefully. But he woke up with a lot of noise from Mir telling her that she is finally showing her true face. Telling that moron, but he does not even want to worry about that and just lies down again. He thinks about how grateful he is for her hard work, but while he sleeps, someone appears in his bed. And it is Coco saying that Sayek is hers. And now at dawn, our boy wakes up and notices there is something on his sheet, and when he sees, it was Coco sleeping on top of him. He wondered what she was doing there, thinking it was dangerous to be there, because of the sunlight, and that Coco wakes up, but at that moment, she hugs him once again, pressing her body against the bed, and he asks, what the hell is she doing all of a sudden? But he notices some strange sounds, and when he sees her crying, talking for Yaka, he realizes that he understood. He drank Yaka's blood, so he has her scent, and that is why she follows his orders. He is doing fine. And he understands what it is like to lose a precious companion. And he gets that too. He says it is okay now. Everything is fine. And he is there. And now back to the training. Our boy continues training with Mirror. And she goes to punch him. But he manages to dodge. Then he tries to punch her. But she catches his hand, saying that he suddenly improved and his reactions are definitely quicker than before. And our boy says he thinks this is thanks to Yaka's blood. And she says that is good, and she needs to use that to her advantage. And he asks, "What do you mean?" And she says today is the day of the bishop's meeting, which surprises our boy, and she says that her existence is still not official. But today will be the day to decide her official admission, and if he is considered unsuitable by the order. But if that happens, he asks what will happen, and she asks, "What do you mean?" Of course, he will be executed immediately. But she tells him to stay calm, because she believes he has enough potential, and is attracting hidden vampires with rapid growth to compete with the captains in a short period of time and contribute to the order with those two things. Since he thought to end the crusade by killing Anna, she thinks they will accept him, and she asks if he is not confident. It turns out he says he was strong enough as a human, and now that he learned how to get stronger as a vampire, killing is just a matter of time, and they have a lot of things to do. So they need to finish their bishop's meeting now, and they get ready and head towards the meeting, while Suk thinks it is Anna, the squad leaders and he who has become a vampire, to the Vatican. They are all demons from the same hell, and if the Vatican is going to use him, then he will use the Vatican, and he does not care either way, as he just wants his own revenge against that bastard who destroyed his life. He has already captured 2 of the 7 leaders, and now he is just 5 steps away from Anna. And he needs to drain the blood of all of them to get stronger. And now you did not send to Katerina saying that this is what she thinks, and she asks, "What do you mean?" And Katerina says that well, since his death was confirmed, the conquest is probably with the Vatican. But Anna says no. She does not want to know about her, only about Suet, and Katerina said yes. Exactly as she planned. He is growing well, and he neutralized the poison he had transformed. He gives a little smile saying that he will come to them, without even needing to intervene, and until then, she should focus only on that, showing a fresh blood sample to her, as her mission now is to focus on the bishop's meeting. Upon arriving at the cathedral, Mirror says that it will take place there, and Suk asks if this is the same sanctuary they saw before, and she says that this cathedral is below the Vatican, and she also lived as a regular cathedral to gather information, and since he can't enter the sanctuary with the sacred artifacts, it was agreed to happen there just for him, and our boy says he has the effort. But he asks why they need to go so far, while she says it is an order. She was instructed to keep him under control, and she can't do anything, and the true bishops will be X against him. But she says that still he is better than Coco. But to the surprise of both, someone taps his back calling for Mirror, and he asks if that guy is her vampire, and after she looks at him, he is copied from a little girl, asking once more if he is her vampire. She says it has been a while, calling him Bishop Dominique. Well, he says yes, and it has indeed been a long time, and he, glaring at our boy, asks if he was Kinsoki, a vampire who was a black agent, and he asks if now he is trying to enter the Vatican, and to our boy's surprise, he puts a hand on his shoulder and says that this is great news, saying that he will be a good addition to his combat power, and she really found a gem. Well, she says yes, it was during the mission, saying that he fought tooth and nail with the squadron captains, and that bishops faced our boy, and then he said he fought against those weaklings, and he says that he want to burn all the vampires. But it is really a shame he was not there, and after burning a bit of his shoulder, he just says he is sorry and apologizes and says that now it does not matter. It was nice to meet him. He sees them later at the meeting, and just calls Il to join him, while the little girl is very happy. She says yes and blames herself to Mirroring, saying that it has been a while since they have seen each other. He looks at our boy and says hi to him too, and he asks Mirror if that girl is really a bishop, and she says yes. It is a special case because she is a little different. He must have felt that too. But for most Vatican members, he is a thorn in their side, and there are people like Dominique. But some can be more aggressive. But to Mirror's surprise, someone comes running in her direction, and when she realizes it is that blonde girl, and she asks what Luz is doing there, saying it seems like she has run into her several times lately, and she happily asks if she does not like it. But then he looks at our boy once more, and then looks at Mirror and asks if she has seen Miss Cecilia, and the girl says no, and Lucia says she thinks she should be more careful with her, and Mirror asks and Laura says that she hates vampires more than anyone else, and no matter how much the Vatican was thought of, she will strongly oppose him, and Mirror puts her hand on her head, and thanks for the warning, but asks not to worry, as they both have different opinions. But he is still more qualified as a bishop. It is just that Dean Suyoki feels a presence, and he shouts for Mirror, and when the girl realizes, a trail of power goes in the direction of Kin Suyak, and Mirror goes there and defends that power, and Lucia asks if she is okay, and Mirror asks what the hell she is trying to do, just staring at Cecilia as she approaches, saying that she is fulfilling her duty as a bishop, and she asks what she is doing, and as a bishop who protects people from vampires, why is she protecting the vampire? And she ties her hair and says that she does not need introductions anymore. This tells her to get out of the way, but Lucia asks her to calm down, as they brought him there at the request of the cardinal. But Cecilia says that this is doing her job. This tells her to get lost, and then Mira says that this is getting interesting, and if she does not want to back off. She asks what she is going to do, and C, very angry, goes after her saying that she already warned, while Lucia is taking her power away by asking her to calm down. Mira just tells her to relax, and says with her sword that she will pay her back in the same coin. With the two already charging at each other, and with the clash of their powers, a huge explosion occurs. But what they did not expect was that someone was right in the middle of them asking, "What is this mess?" And Mira is really surprised. And Cecilia also sees that she stopped their powers with her hands. Meanwhile, Z wonders how she blocked that impact and if it is really that easy. He does not know who this woman is. And as they all kneel in front of him, they welcome Your Majesty Cardinal with this new woman just staring at the three and calling her Helena, and without her asking. The girl apologizes for her bad behavior earlier, and he says it is okay, as she can clearly see the reason just by looking at our boy. And then she turns and asks them to enter the meeting room, and they say yes. But Cecilia next to her calls for Mira, and says she thinks this won't just be a meeting, but an execution trial, and if she does not have a good reason, that guy will die by her hands today. And after she leaves, Lucia calls her to come along, and Mira just stares at that girl thinking she needs to stay focused, because if anything goes wrong, Kenziok and Coco will die there. And now inside, Alina says that they will start your meeting of bishops, and she says it has been a while, and hopes everyone is doing well, and Cecilia raises her hand and asks if she can interrupt for a moment, and he does not ask what it is. She says she is sorry, but she needs to ask why a filthy vampire is present in this sacred place, and Mira realizes she has gone straight to the point, and Alina says she is sure everyone is surprised by the agenda, and this topic is the main concern for everyone present there. And they were all informed, and she would like to hear each of their opinions. And Cecilia, very angrily, asks how there can be a vampire in the Vatican, and that is absolutely unacceptable. And that guy says he can trust him. They are easily controlled by anger and desire, and the assurance is pretty sad. Says he is not sure about that, and they ask about Lucia. They heard she talked to him, and Lucia says yes, and the first time she talked to him was when he from Anna's squad attacked the hotel, and at that moment Yoki risked his own life to defend the base, and he also helped the allied members, and since they did not receive information about him, they ended up attacking him. But even if he had the ability to fight back, he never fought against them, and Dominique is quite surprised, as he did not expect this, and she just says that besides that, her is under the control of Bishop Mirror, and she says it makes sense for those two. But she keeps thinking strange things, and blood starts coming out of her nose, once again saying that with this she concludes her testimony, and now it is Mirror's turn, and she says she believes in this. But she still asks because she thinks he is necessary from the Vatican, and she says it is because she saw his revelation, and Cecilia starts laughing saying that she was thinking about what she would do to defend him. But she is deeply disappointed with herself, and revelations show two things: the birth of one of them, the chosen ones, and the warning of an imminent threat, and this revelation clearly means they need to kill him. And if this guy killed his own comrades without hesitation, he starts saying that they attacked his team, and he and Cecilio angrily tell him to shut up, because scum like him do not have the right to speak. They are glaring at her with a lot of anger. But in another place Coco is opening her eyes, and she wonders where she is, as she is very hungry, and because she is so hungry, she says she wants to drink blood, but Deer says that, therefore, Suk was the one who was really betrayed. The lives of the agents would continue to be sacrificed. But Cilia angrily says it does not matter, because he is still a vampire, and the will passed down by them is clear. Exterminate their race. And Mer says she is right, to exterminate the vampires. They need to deal with Anna and her subordinates, and she asks if anyone there can make them come on their own. Since the Vatican was established by St. Peter with 2,000 years of history, and thanks to the dedication and sacrifice of the Vatican members, it only rejects Anna from the ancestral vampires. However, Anna cleverly hides in the shadows, expanding her power while fleeing from them. But suddenly those who were hiding started to appear thanks to the appearance of Kinya, and since his arrival, the leader of the 7th squad has been annihilated. Besides, I do not know if the squad joined them, so everything that was still now started to move quickly. They now have the opportunity to end the tough race that has lasted over 2,000 years in their own generation. And sometimes he asks what she is talking about, and is it really nonsense? And how did the 6 join them? She completely lost track of things, and tells the cardinal to exile the mayor from her position, and immediately execute 2 vampires. But Lana says that this declaration is somewhat brave. However, it is worth considering because of this man. Anna showed her weakness for the first time, and maybe this is an opportunity. She is ready for the formation of an experimental unit, and Cecilia asks what she means. And Helena says that DB cannot ignore the legitimacy, and if more than half of the bishops agree, it will be implemented. However, those who supported this decision have to take responsibility for it, and Mer says she understands. While Cecilia is furious, she says she can consider 100 times that what she still does is acceptable. But Anna's subordinate, she is a completely unacceptable woman. And he even said he heard she is a bit aggressive and can't be controlled. and she wants to see her to play for herself, and orders them to bring someone from the 7th squad. But quickly a guy enters the room saying that they have a big problem, and he apologizes, but it is urgent, and he does not ask what is going on. He says that the vampire known as a law from the 7th squad, Coco, just escaped. And after he says that, it shocks all of them, and Cecilia, very angry, asks what just happened. While Mir says that capturing her is the priority, and during the day she can't escape. But Dominic says that if she escapes from the base, it will be a disaster. And the places she could go could be here, or at the orphanage where there are several children. And a child who was sleeping is opening the door, because he wants to go to the bathroom, but to his surprise, Coco was right there in front of him, but the girl next to Dominic just tells him to wait a moment. And angrily she asks where she went. Meanwhile, Tsuyoki just stares at that girl, wondering what the hell is going on, and the atmosphere around her changed, and Domenico just asks to calm down, because his brothers will be fine and she has to control her emotions, but he thinks it is too late, and only stares at a magic circle in front of him, thinking he is about to explode. He tells everyone to be careful with that. And from that magic circle, a hand with a gigantic sword emerges, which surprises Lucia as she calls for her sister Mirror. But she asks Bishop Mirror, everything is okay after defending that large sword. She says yes, thanks to Cardinal. And Lucia asks what happened to her arm, but Cardinal tells Lucia to go to the orphanage first, and then Bishop Dominique. He should take care of the bishop, and since you are someone she trusts, it may be possible. And the rest of them will go to the orphanage, including Mirror, and if that vampire causes any trouble, she will hold her accountable. And Mir says she understands, while Cecilia just stares at them and starts running to the orphanage, thinking she knew this would happen. And that girl is a vampire of the level of a Yakuza squad leader, and her true nature has not changed, and if something happens, only to her surprise, she sees the light up ahead and wonders what she is doing standing there, but she has a strange feeling, thinking that since she is standing there, they are all dead. She runs ahead asking what the hell the vampire did, but to her shock, that little boy is right on top of Coco, and he stares at Cecilia and asks if she wants to join them and play too, and they wonder what the hell that is, and if she really is a member of the squad. And Mir steps in front and asks what Coco is doing and what happened to the kids, but at that moment, Coco sees her arm cut off and jumps in front of her asking for just a sip of her blood, but Miro says no and angrily explains that it is obvious. And that is how the vampire teaches. Coco asking for a sip of her blood, and this kid angrily says she is going to eliminate her right now, and Kuku asks what she means by that, since Soyok said not to drink others' blood, which surprises many of them, and Cecilia wonders if she really is in control and how the vampire could be like that, and Em asks if she can drink hers then, and at that moment, Dominique grabs Cecilia's arm and Cecilia calls him master, and Dominique has kids watching and must deactivate his power, and without the little girl from before, approaches everyone asking if they are all okay, and they call her sister Idy. She says she is happy they are safe, and the boys say that sister played with them, and it was a lot of fun. She asks which sister and he points to Coco talking to Mirror, and he says that that sister with the red eyes let them climb on her back, and they had fun playing together, which really surprises the girl and makes her quite happy about it. And if she goes up to the Mar and hugs her, apologizing, saying that she got hurt because of her, but Mir just says that she was only worried about her brothers, and it is not a problem, because it was not intentional, and so she just stares at Coco. He thanks the girl, but Coco just says she only wants a sip of her blood, but quickly, Soyok punches her in the head, telling her to shut up. And now back to the meeting. Alina says it was established that 2 vampires can be controlled, and with the majority of the bishops agreeing, they will proceed with the operation of the experimental unit, that includes vampires, and she asks if they have any objections. But Cecilia is quite sad and says she has none. Aina speaks very well here and says that with this, Bishop Mirror will be appointed the leader of the Mirror Team squad along with Kishuyuki and the vampire Coco. After the meeting concludes, that girl and the bishop are leaving, and she waves goodbye to Mirror, and the blonde on the other side tells her sister Mirror that she is hurt, so she should not exert herself too much, and Mirror says yes, and Losai asks her to let her know if those guys do anything, because she is going to run away from them, so she asks her to be careful. But back there, Cecilia shows up arguing with Mirror, and when Lucia turns around, Mirror asks what she wants, and Cecilia says that the true mission of her crusade is to save people from vampires, and if one day these trash violate this noble mission, she will kill them all to fulfill her duty. So she leaves now and asks them to pay close attention. And now in Russia, in Vlad, inside a bar, a hooded man approaches an old man saying it has been a while since they last met, calling him Ivan and saying he needs his help, and the old man says he only contacts him in situations like this. That is a bit disappointing. But anyway, he asks if he forgot that it was he who ripped his eye out, and this is the mafia boss. And he says he will never forget the day he lost his boss and his eye to him. And he really has the guts to show up there calling him what? Yeah. And our kid just stares at him while the old man asks why he came to Russia, while remembering the meeting with that bishop talking about how recently the Yakuza invaded the hotel and showed signs of vampires. and they are performing an autopsy. But contrary to what they thought, they were all human, but they had a peculiar detail. And it was drugs that seemed to be related to the abilities detected in their bodies. And a month ago, the Russian branch was destroyed by the mafia. And the same drug was found in the mafia bodies at that time. And the Yakuza's activities in Russia were also tracked. And an investigation into Anna and the drug is necessary. And he secured a place to stay, so they should start the mission immediately. And he signed the hotel allied with the crusade at the Vladstock branch. Mirror and Coco are in the hotel room. And when our girl shows up, she asks what this is, thinking he would come back after causing a big commotion. But he seems clean. The man says he received the location of the hideout where negotiations with the Yakuza are made. And he already planned the operation, so he is going to explain it to her now. So he responds attentively and says that he ripped out his eye. And still, how did he give him the information so easily? But our kid asks her if she would not want him to do this business. And then Kuss and Riven are hostile forces, and she responds attentively to his operation. And after he explains it to her, she says it is as expected from a special agent. And she is very excited and asks what she should do, but to her surprise, she is dressed completely differently and asks why she should wear something like that. And Sil tells the bishop that this is essential for their squad, which is made up of disguised vampires, and asks if she really wants to keep the priestly mantle while carrying a long sword to enter a club. And considering her injuries, this is the best option, and she says she can accept the wig lenses. But she asks if there is not a better outfit. While a security guard steps forward for her and mentions that her company's attire made entry difficult according to regulations. And Muir, listening in, asks Sil what they are doing, and our boy tells Coco, overhearing her, to handle this situation, and so she unzips her shirt and shows her cleavage. And the security guard just stares at them, and then says that they are both cleared, which surprises a lot of Mirror, and our boy listening in, says that now they have entered. So they expect each of them to finish as the operation has started with Mira inside. Very surprised, wondering if this is really a club, and looking around, she wonders if these people are not corrupt bastards, and she is very shocked by the situation, wondering how she is supposed to blend in with this. But just behind her, someone touches her shoulder, calling her beautiful, and M wonders if this is English, and the blonde guy says they have a room there and asks what she thinks, and she gets really embarrassed and asks, what do you mean? Room? And she says it is all good. Then the guy grabs her arm and says they are going now, but she just asks him not to touch her. But in the meantime, our boy thinks there is no need to send in many troops, but he can't see a single ant at all, and this place is completely dead, and there is no one around until you reach the deepest point of this location. But to his surprise, someone appears behind him, and when he looks, he says he understands, and it is several armed guys with red eyes, and our boy says so this was a trap. And back there is Ivan saying he waited a long time for this day, and the law of Katerina promised. She said that if he brought him to her, he could be the boss of this place, and it would be better if he accepted quietly. And they are all somewhat equipped with silver ammunition, and he should not worry about his girlfriend, because her drink was also spiked, and Mira is already completely asleep with that guy moving in on her. And even Coco is dancing alone out on the dance floor, and if Ivan said so, he is completely finished. He takes off his hat and says that before killing him, he asks if they still would not have issues to resolve with his one remaining totally red eye. And now it shifts to a few hours earlier with him explaining to Mirror about their operation, saying they will filter in that location, but that is what they want them to think. And what he wants to do is make it seem like they were tricked into going to the location. And they are going to ambush them and say that he is finished. And after our boy confirms everything, he thanks them for following the plan, and the old man, quite surprised, asks what he means by that. And our boy says that when he was assigned to eliminate Anna, he investigated them. And when they distribute their products, they do not cooperate with other existing forces. Instead, they just absorb them, and these products were being traded in their territory, and it is worth noting that he knew all about this organization being swallowed up by the Yakuza, even about their trap. But he says that even so, he can't do anything, and they should turn him into dust. And they already start filling our boy with bullets. But Soyuk is going to run in his direction while Vaz asks if he is really planning to attack directly, and Kim is loaded with silver bullets. And if they hit him, he is going to end up dead, just that the bullets are very close to him. But our boy, quickly using the skill he recently acquired, is able to block them, while Vaz asks if he was really reflecting the bullets with just a simple knife, with sweat already right in front of that shooter. And V is completely shocked, asking himself what that is. Find it there on the dance floor. Coco keeps dancing, but she gets a call and asks what is up, and he says it is time to act now, and he smells the blood of the mirror, and she says everything is fine, and just takes off her clothes and steps outside. And now back to our boy. That old man says he made a mistake, and it seems like he is trying to understand what he was planning to do by kidnapping that woman. And they sent a buddy, especially a woman, straight into enemy territory, and he is really an idiot, and they should not know what they did before the supply. And no matter what they do, at this moment his girlfriend must be unconscious, completely overwhelmed with cuteness. But he just got shot in the shoulder, and our boy asks if he forgot who he is, and he is certainly calm. And this is not the time to be worried about others, while thinking there is no need to worry about Mela. And what if he falls forward? Says she is really charming, and with her mom, he is going to touch her. But at that moment she grabs his hand, and he is surprised, asking what that is, while he starts to twist his arm, and the guy begins to scream. And when the other one looks, he wonders what is happening, but receives a kick right in the face, throwing him against the car, and several guys inside the cars are saying it is an ambush. They should duck, and they ask how a bastard dares to do this. But to their surprise, Mirror, very angry about that and with her foot glowing, kicks the car, sending all of them flying, while she remembers Sayek's words, saying that these bastards will use tricks to make her lose consciousness. He just has to pretend that he fell for their trick, and then they will take his body to the real negotiation site. And at that moment Coco is going to track her, and she has to wait for them. But I ask if he is sure they will get close to her, and our boy says that is why there is something she needs to wear, and she very says that she really has nothing to say right now. But with her arm still injured, she says that just walking is still bleeding a bit, while she remembers once again Sukuk telling her that she is hurt, and she should not overexert herself, and just wait for them. She thinks that according to Sayek's plan she should escape, and she definitely heard that guy saying it would be the last time, and she thinks there are probably more people who were captured before her. And maybe they are going through something horrible right now, and she mentally apologizes to Sayuk and remembers Cecilia's words, saying that her mission is to save people from vampires, while she thinks that even if there is hell down there, she needs to save people because she is part of the Vatican. This leads to a door. They ask why they are kidnapping these people, and many cars left the club. But only a few are there, which means there are more places where people are being kidnapped, and she does not understand what their purpose is, and why there is an operating room there, so many cells. But because there is no one there, only on the floor she notices a vial and wonders what that is, and there is something written that it was blood, and to Mira's surprise, someone behind her says it is really interesting and asks how she got there, and all the human women should be in coffins now, and she asks who she is, and in that way, Marl thinks she came up behind her without making a sound, and she is definitely the law that would give the order. And if Katerina asks who she is once again, the bishop says that going after the leader now while she is unarmed and injured is really something bad. But even if your life ends according to your wishes, you must fulfill your duty until your last breath, and in that way, she turns and starts taking off her wig, saying that she is a bishop from the Vatican's special task force, the Mirror, and Katerina says that it is her, the damn one controlling Sai, and Mirror thinks that if she dies there, Suuk should take care of the rest. Already looking up at that pile of snakes, and in that way, Coco outside senses the smell of Mirror and thinks she found her, and our boy understands that this is the true base, and now that he managed to reunite with Mirror, they can continue the plan. But Coco says she is not sure from here on out, and Sue asks if she can't smell her blood, but she says it is the opposite. Behind that door, is exuding the smell of blood, and our boy, quite surprised, wonders what that is, but he realizes it is Mirror's phone, and there is a voice message apologizing for interfering with the plan. But it seems there are hostages there. She can't just stand there watching, and the mentioned task force is to save people from vampires and save people from their own lives, or from the task force. So he hopes he can handle the mission without failing. And as his companion, she believes in him. And Suki says they need to speed up and find Mirror. But in that way, Coco grabs Suk and says that is the smell. It is the same smell as when they brought in Red, and our boy asks what Red is. And she says there is a vampire there, and our boy asks if she is really saying that the leader is there. And he asks how many there are. And she says 2. And the other one is a leader too. But she does not know, while our girl watches her totally panicked with anxiety symptoms. He opens the door and says there is no time. He does not know who is down there. But the Mirror is in danger, and as he walks, he thinks something's wrong, and these facilities show no signs of recent use. And right behind him, Coco says they should go back now, because she does not like this place. But he just asks her to hold on a bit longer, because he is going to rescue the kidnapped people, and also the Mirror, and it might be tough. But she has to try to detect, but to his surprise, he sees blood on the floor. And when he looks, there is a trail of blood leading to a location, and these are marks of a person being dragged and with no signs of resistance, which means the hostages were drugged, and he tells Coco that they must have more people. But Coco, very nervous, says that this is Mirror's blood, which shocks our boy a lot, realizing that means she was captured. And they both start running following the blood trail, and he wonders if she went after the leader, and he tells her not to push herself too hard because of her injuries. And at that moment he opens the door, and with his gun, he calls out for the Mirror. But to Soikik's shock, he sees several women in a water capsule. They ask what this place is, what the hell they are doing there, and if they are really conducting human experiments. But Goku says they are taking the drugs. This hurts Yak, and she also hated those drugs, and our boy asks if that is where they received the drugs. And now he understands these bastards are kidnapping people to use as guinea pigs to create more vampires, and the substance being injected is probably what they are investigating. If they rescue everyone there and investigate this facility, they might find out who these guys are. But first, he needs to find Mirror, and he asks Coco to keep looking for her. But taking a step forward, someone asks if he is looking for her with the mirror in front of him held by Katarina, and our guy asks what she did to her. But she tells him to calm down, as she does not intend to kill her right now, and what she wants is not that bitch's body, because she is going to connect it when she is ready to swap her body with hers. But he tells her not to talk any nonsense, only for a woman beside him to hit the capsule. And Katarina says they were going to meet again anyway, so he should not follow her. And instead, he should not try to save them, and now her location has been exposed, and the hit squad will come. And they have already done everything they needed to do there, so she is leaving now to blow the facility to bits. But she says it is a shame and sees him next time, her Kinsoki. But he only sees Mirror leaving and tells Coco to wake up while thinking that if he chases her now, maybe he can save Mirror. But even if he can save her, those people are definitely going to die if he does not save them now. They ask what he is doing, but he remembers Mirror's message telling him to save the people, as that was the priority, because she believed in him, and if he starts shouting really pissed off and breaking those capsules. But at that moment the whole place explodes, and a few seconds before, our boy runs toward the door, counting down to the explosion, and at that moment the countdown hits 0 and the building explodes. But our boy is outside, completely covered in blood, apologizing to Mirror, and he only remembers that scene of her being captured by Katarina, while thinking that they were very close, but could not save anyone except for this woman who was the only one alive among the test subjects. But she also became a vampire, and after she wakes up, she thanks him for saving her, while she, very sad, crying, asks him to kill her, and she was a nun serving God. But now her body has been emptied, and if she has to drink blood from other people, she prefers to die, and she pleads, because she is begging, but he says no, as they protect the world from vampires and they do not kill victims. And she says she understands. Then she takes that glass and says that she will do it herself, already pointing to her neck. But this way, he stops her, saying that it can be confusing to become a vampire overnight, as he also felt that way until a member of the order appeared and gave him a reason to live again. And she tries to save others' lives before her own, and the life she struggled to save was especially her own, and he is sure she will find her own reason to live because of him. If nothing else matters, she should not give up. She starts to cry and hugs our boy, while thinking that they saved at least one person, and as she said, she should also be safe. And this way, it goes back a few hours, with Katarina talking. They should kill her, and by keeping this woman alive, they already caught her, so they could finish the job, and with that, they can lure Scave and capture him too. But a hooded girl says she must just do what she said because she has a plan, and unlike her, she can use her brain, as she is just a woman crazy for men. And Katarina, well, attacks the girl, saying she should not dare underestimate her. But the girl takes Katarina's snake and crushes its head, saying that she is the one talking here. She should stay quiet. And Katarina very tells her not to underestimate her again and charges at her with her snakes. And the hooded girl says she got arrogant after drinking a bit of blood, but she softened up while she was not looking, and if it were not for Anna's orders, she would have already killed her. And Katarina asks if she is serious while the snake is biting her leg, and she says it is really good because she has never received those orders. And the hooded girl gives a little smile seeing several snakes attacking, and Katarina says anyone who annoys her will die. But behind her back, the girl says that thing on her arm is just decoration, as she wonders when she showed up there. And the girl, very angry, asks what kind of crap leader of the 5th squad dares to underestimate her. With this scene, Lily, the leader of the 3rd squad of the Yakuza, and Katarina realizes that she is on another level, and she is a vampire at that stage, and she is really a bastard, and the Sayuk was promised to her, so she must keep acting until then. And in that way, she asks what to do with that woman. And the girl says that when you try to control a plague, you should not just go grabbing them without thinking, and if she wants to exterminate her entire race, you first need to attack right at the nest. Already with a disguised bishop aiming a weapon at Soyuk, and that guy tells Kinoyuk that this message is from the law of Katarina, which surprises the three of them a lot, and he says that the woman is in a place only she knows, and he must come there tonight, and if he does not come alone, the woman will die. And when he aims the gun, he says that the message has been delivered, and she will be waiting, already aiming the gun at her own head and shooting at him, while Suk thinks he has destroyed the evidence, and besides that, they know his location. They have no choice but to follow their demands. And Coco tells Soyuk that the man Katarina used has a scent of Mirror, and he thinks he understands that by using this agent, they must have moved Mirror, so he asks her if she can find her. And Goku says she can smell her and confirms that is right. So he will attack Katarina to get to Mirror. And she comes to him, but Coco says he can't do that. And she goes to Katarina because that woman was the one who killed Yaka. But you, sir, tell Coco that she understands she wants revenge. But without Mirror, the task force will try to kill them. And only Yako was precious to her, but now she and Mirror are more valuable to him, and he asks if she can save Mirror. And she says okay and leaves, saying that she will be the one to kill that woman while asking them to please investigate the identity of the member who touched her earlier and pass the information to Coco. Because he will rescue Mirror and Mirror will decide how to deal with that vampire later, and for now, he should just keep an eye on her, and he asks her to stay there, and she says okay while he thinks that Coco probably wants to go after that woman who killed her precious friend, and if that is the case, then she should hurry because she also wants to make sure that woman does not stay alive. And now at night in a church, our boy opens the door and Katarina says that he really came and that he is late for their wedding, wearing a dress with several vampire guards watching the ceremony, and she asks how her husband can be late, while he, pretty pissed off, just tells her to and starts killing all those guys, and right behind him, there is a guy with a knife, but he manages to dodge him and punch him in the face, slamming him into the ground, and several other guys come shooting at him, but Suok manages to kick the chair, making him fall, and at that moment he shoots right at your head, and then he falls to the ground. Our boy uses him as a human shield and starts taking out several other guys, but his bullets run out and the last one can't hit him. And his ice grabs and cuts his neck while he takes his knife and stabs it into the other guy's head, and he says that now the fun is over, and pointing a gun at Katarina, he asks, "Where's the mirror?" And she says he is really intense, but he should calm down because she did not call him there to fight. And if he kills her now, she will die too, and the only way to save her is by spending their wedding night together, with her making this really strange expression. And if Katarina thinks that when she was human, the reason for her life was just to have relations with men, and that was everything for her, to feel the other person's body and their heartbeat, and with that, she felt alive and would give her soul if someone asked, because she wanted to keep doing that forever. But suddenly she found herself covered in blood, and someone talking about immortality, and if she wants that, she can give it to herself, with Katarina facing Anna, and Anna saying that, of course, only if she can handle it, and that is how she became a vampire, gaining eternal life. But even having eternal life, she could not satisfy herself, and in anger she would rip out the hearts of others, and then drink their blood, going completely insane, letting out a terrifying laugh. But after she returned to normal, she said she ended up killing one more, and it was always like this, and that is not what she wanted. She wanted something like before, because now she does not feel alive, and the only thing that can complete her is another vampire. But even though the experiments are not progressing, she still thinks she can make it. But to her surprise, someone knocks on the door calling for the law of Katarina, saying they finally found him, the male vampire, which surprised her a lot as she thought about Sayuk, wondering what kind of man he is, and being a vampire, he can definitely satisfy her, and she hoped his face would be her type, and that way she ended up finding him, the handsome face she wanted so much. And she says that eternal life is eternal boredom, so he should give up on revenge and be with her forever, and she will take the lead because she is really good at it, and he does not need to be shy. But he says he refuses because someone over 100 years old is too much for him, and she says he is really spoiled, and she especially wants to make him her husband, but she will use him as a toy forever. And now back at the hotel, some guys say these are the orders of the law of Katarina. They will defend this corridor and not let anyone pass, especially those from the Vatican. But to their surprise, Coco shows up, and he asks who she is and if she is a dog from the Vatican. But she does not understand what they are talking about, and if it is in English, and they ask if it is just one, and she looks stupid, but to her surprise, she smells the mirror and says that she is right there, and that way, those guys grab their weapons and start shooting at her, but she quickly slits their throats, telling them to get out of her way. Just then, 3 more appear in front of her, and with a big leap, she manages to dodge the bullets and quickly cuts off one's head. As soon as she opens the door, a doctor tells her to protect it as much as possible, as this is an important sample, and to the doctor's surprise, Coco says she found it and it is right there. But the doctor asks what she is doing there, and that she needs to leave immediately, but Coco punches him in the face, saying no, and she grabs the mirror and walks away, bumping into the two, asking what they want, and the 2 big guys say nothing, while she says that she needs to go now. And if it were not for Sayuk, she would not have come to save her, because she is the one who will kill Katarina. But to Coco's surprise, someone appears in front of her saying it has been a while, and she does not know if she remembers her, and Coco really does not know who she is. But the hooded girl asks what she is trying to take, and when she takes something that belongs to others, she should ask for permission, already showing her that psychopathic look. And now I go back to our boy already shooting at Katarina's snakes. While he thinks about that time, she plans to prolong the fight until he gets tired, and this way he will only wear himself out. And once again he shoots at those snakes, while she, with a little smile, thinks he seems very desperate. And that is really good. With the poisonous fog rising and the snakes getting closer to him, his body must be at its limit. And this is precisely the perfect moment to strike, already with her appearing right behind him, asking him to spare his efforts, because he already belongs to her. While he says that she will pay for this, And they ask, "What do you mean?" Since he is slashing at her, cutting through those snakes. And right in front of him he is trying to chop off her head. But she steps back and wonders who this guy is, and she was sure of his mental state. But it seems she was wrong. What our boy charges at her, saying it is over. But she puffs her cheeks and jumps at him with a poisonous gas, and with her face bleeding. She feels very thinking that this damn cheeky guy is already playing with her, and the random shots were to disperse the poisonous clouds, and act confused to create a gap. It was all a trap. From that fight in the hotel, he understood her entire strategy. He tells her to give up. But she has nowhere to run, and she says he is a jerk and how his uses left cards on his face, and above all that, he won't heal. And she won't have mercy on him anymore, calling out his name, while he realizes the snakes are gathering in his direction, and he thinks that, as he thought, all these snakes are here to collect blood. And he does not have time before she absorbs it all. But when he lunges at her, a snake quickly bites his arm. And she says this ends now because she is going to rip off each of his limbs if necessary, just to make sure he is alive while she tortures him. And he realizes the snakes behind him are surrounding him and biting his neck and already choking him. She says it is a bit early for him to be suffering, since they have not even really started yet. And that way she rips off his arm, and he starts screaming in pain, thinking that it sucks he can't move. And she starts throwing him away and slamming him against the wall while he stares at her, and thinks he needs to hold on. But if he falls there, he won't just fail to avenge his comrades, but he also won't be able to reach her. He can't stop there, already we're stabbing something into his chest, while he thinks he can't hear anything. That question of whether he might not be strong enough. He apologizes to Coco and also apologizes to Mirror, and she asks if he can see. He should have listened to her when she was being nice, and because he was worrying so much. But he should not worry, because he is not going to die anyway, and that scar still has not healed, and she says it is fine. She got Kishuyoki and the sun is about to rise. She should go back and enjoy her meal. But she looks at him and says it is a surprise. He is still conscious. And that is what she wanted. He must be strong like this to satisfy her. As he starts to grunt, she wonders why the hell he is doing that, and our boy, full of anger, just stares at her with that look. And she does not understand how he has those eyes, and our boy, full of anger, has his arm regenerated, and she is very surprised at what that was. And at that moment, he was much faster than her, which means he is much stronger than her now, and this guy is a complete monster. And she never wants to accept that. But quickly, her arm is torn off by our boy, and she is very shocked. Wondering what that is, she can't even react to his attack as he punches her in the ribs, sending her flying. And she thinks it is impossible for him to have become so strong in just a few months. He really is deafening, and if she had received such a good ability, she would have awakened a long time ago, already with a gigantic snake, ready to attack him. But he destroys the snake its head with his punch. She wonders if he can really handle her technique so easily. Screaming out of rage, charges to attack her, while she thinks there is no way to win, not in a direct fight. And she throws the poisonous gas up at him. But first she needs to create some distance, already fleeing from him. However, he manages to pull her foot and throw her to the ground, and she, very exhausted, just stares at our boy standing above her, thinking that he is strong and she is still a level below him, even though he is a recent vampire. And when he is ready to attack her, she grabs that iron from before and tells him not to mess with her, stabbing it right in his eye. While she says it does not matter how strong he is, it is still fatal for him. But he looks at her with so much hate, completely alive, and already shoves his hand in her stomach, and she thinks he is a monster. He definitely is a monster, and starts to tear her body apart. And she realizes she can't win against him while she remembers the past. Very shocked, staring at a girl saying her name was Lily, and she is the new leader of the third squad, and she asked them to please take care of her from now on. And Katerina asks who she is, and why she introduced herself as the leader of the third squad, and if she really has that eye. And she asks what does she mean by that eye, and asks if she has not awakened yet. And Katerina punches her, telling her not to be arrogant, being a rookie. But the girl says she was just saying. But she asks who she is and if she is a squad leader too, and already throws her to the ground and punches her, saying that power is order and the weak do not deserve to live. And if she understood what she said, and Katerina thinks she understood just from there to her eyes, so it does not matter the situation. The strongest always wins, while our boy keeps shouting, already glaring at her body. She says he is really a cheeky little brat, and he should not underestimate her with those eyes. And so several snakes start to bite him and force him to the ground, and she says it has been a long time since she has used this, and she does not like doing it because it ruins her appearance. But now that he has seen this, he needs to die, because this is not something that can be seen by others. And with his teeth clenched in anger, he charges at Katerina once again, while he invokes a power saying that this ends here. And this is the acid poison already being thrown at him, while she says that even if he regenerates quickly, she will completely destroy him, since he turns into her arm completely skeletal. And she says that the poison that dissolved his body will turn to gas and melt him again down to his last cell, and he must die engulfed in agony, because that is what he deserves, and he starts screaming in pain, being engulfed by that gas. And she says that now they are finally face to face, and even with the abilities he gained. She asks if he really thought he could defeat her. He is really pathetic. But to her surprise, she looks back and sees our boy standing up again, screaming in rage and charging at her while she does not understand what is happening. He should have rotted to the bones by now. But how can he be alive, and his regeneration is even faster than the corrosion of your poison? And now in the middle of the road, Coco asks me what to expect, since she is almost there. And inside the car she says that Katarina will be dead, and the driver tells her not to stick her head out, while she is behind. Miru wonders what is happening with her head, and how long she has been out. She can't remember anything, after finding that woman in the sub, and if what Kokoko said is true. Suk went to face the squad's law alone, and he is in danger, and this has to wait a little longer, and without Coco. She gets out of the car and Mur tells them to stay back for now, and she enters the church and asks if she has defeated that bastard yet. But she stops right away, and Mir thinks that this is the ability of the 5th squad, and it is better if they do not get too close. And most importantly, she does not understand where Sayek is, and they're in the middle of that fog. The two continue their battle with him shouting for her to die, while she faces him in that form, and Coco calls for Sayuk and starts screaming for him. At that moment, Katarina realizes they are there, but she does not understand why they are there, and Leela should be watching them. And she says it is bullshit. She let her guard down for a moment, and Sue took advantage of that and punched her in the face, while she says that not in the face again. He is a damn bug that makes him die once and for all, already throwing his corrosive poison at him. And Mur shouts for Suyuk, but Katarina tells her to shut up because she will be next, while Katarina thinks she does not know how. But they escaped Lily, and she will kill all of them and think about it later, and accumulating all the power. She wants to defeat this guy quickly with the highest concentration of poison. She will take them all out. And she screams that this is the end right in front of her, but at that moment, before the poison hits him, she is very surprised, wondering how he escaped, and right now, that was not Sayek's ability, and this ability belongs to someone else as she looks up and sees someone staring, and that someone is that hooded girl, while Katarina understands that Lady Anna gave her permission to eliminate her and her useless friends, just as Lady Anna planned. The juice is growing a lot, and power is order, and the weak do not deserve to live, and the girl asks if she understood what she said, signaling for her to pay attention, and when she realizes, the juice is by her side biting her neck, and in this way, Katarina thinks that just like them, she was abandoned too. But she can't let everything be taken from her like this, and if she tells Soyuk to let go of her by biting him with her snake. But she thinks it won't help. Everything is being emptied very quickly, and they ask if this is really how she is going to die, and she just wanted to live a happy life, and she thinks of Anna and what if that were to happen, because she gave her blood to her, and she does not want to die yet. She is not ready for that, but Soyuk simply throws her to the ground, and Mem, surprised, realizes that he defeated the squad's leader alone, but if Suk is in that state, he could hurt someone, and she wonders what she should do, but in this way, Coco charges at him, calling for Suki, and jumps on him, asking why he did not keep his promise. Only this way does he extend his hand, and it is my worry, tells Coco to step back now because it is dangerous. But Suki puts his hand on her head and apologizes, but he had no choice, and he tells Mira that he is happy she is okay, and then he falls to the ground unconscious, and Coco wonders if Suk is dead, and this way he will open his eyes and hears Coco calling for him, very happy that he is still alive. And she asks where he is, and Mur says he is at the task force hotel facility, and he asks about Katarina. And she says she is being transported for the autopsy, and Harrow has a chance to get a squad law in Sicilia, and the other members are escorting her. So he does not need to worry, and he says he understands. Amisi looks at him suspiciously and tosses a bag of blood at him, and he asks what that is. And she says she is just trying to cheer him up, and he defeated a squad milk on his first mission, and saved someone too, and he did really well for a rookie. But he says it was not his first time. He encountered vampires before and lost his precious companions, and of course, he took the squad lead in the end. But all he remembers is losing to the vampires again, and if he had messed up everything, he could have hurt them, his companions again, what surprises her a lot. But she says no. He ended up changing. And Yaka was right, and Kuku asked, "What do you mean by Yaka?" And Mero says she saw him conscious even in his angriest state, and he probably got stronger after drinking Katarina's blood, and in his furious state, he displayed immense power. But he was uncontrollable and unaware. However, after drinking the squad law's blood, he showed signs of awareness. And if he can control that power at will, he will definitely become stronger, and that is just a hypothesis. But she thinks his growth is evident, especially in his eyes, and he asks, "What do you mean?" And she says that unlike before, his eyes are now like a rising vampire, and they have definitely changed, and based on that, the next stage of his growth will be red eyes with black sclera, the reverse eyes, and he asks, "What do you mean?" Black eyes. And to their surprise, Kuku says she has heard of them before, and he says that is right. It was when she was the squad law. And he asks what she knows about it. But she says she does not know anything. Then Cuckoo asks why she said she saw them if she does not know anything. But she says she just spoke for the sake of speaking, and this Sook thinks that even for a squad leader, vampires at this stage must be rare and can regenerate the arm he ripped off as quickly as he can. A common ability, considering various circumstances. He was staring at Coco fighting with Mirror, and he thinks her deduction seems plausible, and he believes she is not a bishop for nothing. And if he thanks Mirror, she asks where this gratitude came from out of nowhere. And he thanks her for trusting him and following the plan. What gets her really excited is him saying that anyone would think he is the leader there, but he says that of course. Someone as individual actions complicated things, which makes her very embarrassed, and she asks if they should really abandon the hostages. But he just tells her to relax. He is just joking, and anyway, things went according to plan, which leaves her feeling pretty, and he says that besides that, they know this method too, just by staring at Coco. Meanwhile, in the hotel, Lucia thinks that her sister Mer told everything, and thanks to Sook's plan, her sister Mer almost died, and how dare he put her in such danger. Only he overhears that conversation and wonders what it is, and Coco asks if he wants her blood and she says fine. But just asks him to be gentle since it is her first time. What surprises Lucielle a lot is hearing the phrase, be gentle. It is your first time, and once again, she thinks of some obscene crap and imagines that her own sister Mirror, while she is in the hospital, is there doing these strange things. And Coco says she feels strange and asks how long he is going to keep this up. What surprises her once again is that she is thinking about something strange again, and Lucia starts to bleed from her nose, while thinking that after all the problems she went through with Tsuyuki, he still does this, and she starts screaming, saying he is a monster, and that she is going to tell her sister Mirror everything. And so a month passed, and now I notice from the task force at the Korea branch that Mirror orders him to wake up, because he was lucky against Katerina. But to face future enemies, he needs to fully control his abilities, and if he only relies on luck, he will never improve. And if he can't bring back his reverse eye, he won't get stronger, with her already cutting his arm, saying she needs to force him to get stronger. And then with the sword piercing his chest, he starts to cough up blood, while she says that based on when the reverse eye appeared, the trigger is probably blood loss. And so Coco and Lucia will only face it in that fight, while the mirror consciousness, if he wants to control the reverse eye, he must hold on tight. But this boy is going to feel a lot of pain, and then he gets really pissed off with his reverse eye activated. But she thinks it was another failure while he charges at her, regenerating his arm, and she calls for Lucy, and Louis, the brilliant one, surrounds the two. And when our girl wakes up, Myron asks if he has already gotten up, and he asks her how many failures there were, and she says there were 10, and the light with the barrier says they are running out of blood pockets too. And she asks if it is really okay to continue. She says they need to get the reverse eye before the next mission, and Miro says that to avoid leaking information, Katerina blew up all her labs in Russia. But before that, it seems she moved all the drugs and Kobar out, and the task force has already started tracking them. And when they find the location, Silk says a squad will be sent, but Lucia says that even so, speaking of two, there is that nun they rescued in Russia. And Silk says that even though she is a vampire, they determined she is not dangerous. So Dominique agreed to take care of her until they confirm her records with the church. And Lucia says that when she is leaving, she learned to tell them both that she is very grateful for being safe. And that is what she said. And this guy says that saving a life is a good thing. But if he had been stronger, he could have saved more lives, and Mira would have been safe too. And the next enemy will be stronger than Katerina. And so he needs to get stronger at any cost. And this Amiro gives a little smile and says that is the spirit. And they continue their fight training, while Coco's watches them very annoyed. And now back to your rooms. Our boy thanks Coco for her hard work, and she says it is nothing special while he keeps drinking her blood. But he asks why she insisted on taking off her clothes, and she just says that she feels a little better this way. But he apologizes for going after Katerina alone, and she should want to kill Katerina more than he does. But he told her to save Mir instead, and then she said she has a favor to ask, and he asks what it is, and then she jumps on him and says she also wants to drink his blood, and he asks what she means, and she says that when he went after Katerina alone, she was really mad. But if she had gone with him, she would have died right away, and she also wants to get stronger. And he says that Mirror and she are precious to him, so she will make an exception for Sayuk, and she will turn him into her servant, since Coco will protect him while he looks at her not knowing what to say. I think that after her fight with Katerina she felt powerless, and even with the enemy in front of her, she must have felt frustrated for not being able to do anything. So those words mean she wants to make him her friend. And then he says okay, thinking that they are already friends, and he tells her she can drink his blood. He is very excited, thanks her, and starts drinking his blood while he thinks that sharing his blood might delay his growth. But he asks if maybe he should just let it go this time. Only that outside the room, Lucy hears that and feels very embarrassed again with his bleeding nose, wondering what is going on there. And now in another place inside a truck, some doctors say that the vital organs have disappeared, and they do not understand if this is really a corpse. And they, very nervously, say that the girl from the 5th squad is alive somewhere, and they need to contact Cecilia immediately. And now in another place at night, a hooded person approaches some armed men, and they ask what this child is doing, and tell her that this is not a place for her to enter. But she just tells them to climb up, and they stare at her with those eyes. She just tells them to inform her boss right now that Katerina is there, and thus in some hidden place. A girl says she has changed a lot since the last time she saw her, and this is the vice captain of the 4th squad, Natalie, and next to her is Baroness, who is also a vice captain, and another vampire says that she should not get too involved, relying on her vampire abilities, and she needs to train her body too. And this girl is the leader of the 4th squad, Nanayama Gumi, Abigail. But Katerina tells her to shut up, and if it were not for Lily, this would not have happened to her now as a child, and she almost died from the train blood, and she could not escape hiding in the poisonous snow. And if Beigel asks since she is there in the lab in Russia, she talks about that, but the girl interrupts her saying that Katerina exploded, and there was an order from Anna to destroy the facilities, eliminate the evidence, and all the data is being transferred to her lab. And Abigail says she understands. And Nadal next to her says that whenever she sees this, she really thinks she is very competent. And Catherine looks at Baroness and says that it was her who created the bloody snow. And Bigu says of course. And that is why she personally chose her as her subordinate. And everyone there is elite and right above Katerine. That other girl Natalie starts drooling over her, and Katerina asks if they are really elites. And Berna says she finds it fascinating to see her being drunk. And anyway, she asks why she is there and if Yaka is close to her, and Katarani says that is why she came. Because her disciple Yaka is dead, which leaves Big Eye very asking who killed her. And Katerin says who else would it be? It was that guy who did this to her. He is undermining the squad leaders. And since she attacked, she is probably next, and she asks if they should not take countermeasures, thinking that for sure she wants to avenge her disciple. But in reality, it was her who killed her. That is what she really could not think she would be safe after doing that to her. And unlike her, she is a walking weapon and has been through countless wars. She is a living weapon, and she will use it to kill Soyuk and also Anna. She will completely ruin that bitch's plans. But this way Bega gets up and says it does not matter, while Katerina asks if she really is not going to avenge her. Bigale says anyone can die on the battlefield, and Ek died because she was weak, and instead of attacking recklessly, it is more advantageous to defend there. Meanwhile, Katerina wonders why this crazy combat maniac is doing something like this, and she says it does not matter, but Beigel asks if that guy is really strong, and she says he was not strong. She just was not expecting a newly turned vampire. She did not think he would have those eyes, which surprises Big Eye a lot. And Katerina asks when she said that. But at that moment, Bigale grabs her by the neck and Katerina asks why she is suddenly doing this. But Bigale just tells her to shut up and answer her questions, and asks her to say where that guy is right now and back at the base. Lucia tells her sister Mirror that Katerina is alive, and the autopsy result they sent said she was alive somewhere out there. And if Kokobi is surprised, it is because he really is alive. And Mir says, stopping to think, he said he could not use Katerina's ability, so it could be that Katerina is alive, and that is why he can't use it. And our boy says it is a possibility. And considering he managed to keep his consciousness in reverse, it is clear he stole the power that Yaka mentioned. But to gain the ability, there are certain conditions to meet, and Mir says that unlike Yaka's ability, he can't use Katerina's ability, and she asks what the difference is between the two. But at that moment, she feels something strange, which is the smell of blood, and she goes on alert. And our boy asks what is wrong, and she says it is the smell. She has felt it before. It was with 2 guards. I am entering the building, but someone stops behind them saying they have a question. And he asks what it is, and the girl asks if he knows Sayek. They realize she is a vampire and ask how dare she come here. But she already punches him, exploding his head with her telling him to shut up. And when he was about to attack her, he gets very excited thinking he hit the heart. But the blade only grazed her and did not penetrate. While she very asks what he is doing. She is not interested in small fish. That is telling him to shut up and answer her questions, and breaking his blade. She asks where Sayek is, and now back to the building. Miros asks what this is. But at that moment someone opens the door filming through the mirror and Lusai is, saying that the Nanayama Gumi is attacking, which surprises everyone, and she asks what the enemy's strength is. But the guy says it is just one person. As she enters the building, she asks why they attacked if they are so weak, and she came knowing all about them. So she is going to ask one last time where Sayek is, and with those nervous guys pointing their weapons at her, she asks if they really won't tell. Then she says that it does not matter until that guy shows up. She will kill everyone in there, and as she walks among many dead, she says that this is what they call the strongest squad fighting against vampires, and she could wipe them out with just her army. She calls for the soldier and tells him that in his next life, he must make sure to be born strong. And when the blade was about to strike him, she sees a light right in front of her and realizes that it is holy power and understands that these are the bishops. And so Lucia tells Miro to attack now, and the friend with his sword is already ready to attack her, telling her to die. But at that moment, Biga manages to defend while thinking that it really was a strong blow, and the best question is if that guy is okay, and he says yes. And she asks what her abilities are, and he says he does not know the details. But after cutting his own arm, her sword is created instantly, and she realizes she has weapon creation, and she says she understands. Tells him to fall back and report this to Sancton. And he says he understands. But on the other side, Abigail says that finally the bishops have arrived, and it is starting to get interesting. And she finally ended up finding him. Kinsuki, and she says that she saw from Katerina that he was kissing the captains. And besides that, he already has that eye. And she does not know why he has it. But now that she knows, she can't help but confront him, only to her surprise. Coco on the side calls for Abigail, and Abigail asks why Coco is there and you are not her enemies, while Moore asks if they know each other, and Coco looks at her weapon and asks if she is there to capture Kinyuk too. And she can't do that because he is the subordinate, while Big asks what she means by subordinate, and she says she appreciated what she did for Akka. But she won't take anything more from Coco, and she won't let her do that, and Big L says that the friend she went through so much trouble to protect joined the enemy, and her life is certainly a tragedy. But Mirror says it does not matter what her rank is as a captain in this state. They have 2 bishops and 2 vampires at the captain level, and she has no idea who she is dealing with and still committed these acts, so she does not even think about dying peacefully. But Abigail says that just because Pocona is a captain does not mean she is like everyone else. And does she really think this is going to be a joke? So she asks her not to worry. Because in a battle on an uneven field, she is unstoppable, already putting her hands on the ground and appearing with multiple blood blades. They continue to dodge them, while asking what those blood spikes are. And is not just a weapon creation ability, but Lucia back there tells me to be careful. And those spikes are coming from the blood post. But to Lucia's surprise, right next to her, Big asks if she is really going to stay there and simply hits her right in the ribs, throwing her away. And Mirror already shouts for Lucia, and if Miguel said her observation skills were really good, she should have controlled the distance better and very well. Now she wants to see the next. And Mirror, very angry, asks how she dares to hurt Lucia, but to Bigel's surprise, Coco holds her down, and Argoja goes over and attacks her with her knife, while telling Mirror to calm down. If she does not want to end up like her, she will buy some time and should take care of Lucia first. And so Mirror goes to her and realizes part of her body has been cut, and that is really bad. The wound is very deep and the bleeding is too severe, and he will try to stop the bleeding as much as possible, with whatever sacred power he has. But that will delay her death, and at this point, until the reinforcements arrive, what needs to be done has taken too long, and Abigail says she hit him just to be sure. But now it is confirmed. He still has not awakened, and it seems he manifested once. He was waiting to face someone strong for the first time. Meanwhile, the girl wonders how he could awaken. And she says they will do this from now on. She is going to kill every human in this hotel. Which really shocks our boy, while she said that showing the eye means he used the awakening ability. And if he wants to stop her, he will need to use that ability somehow. And she asks if they should then start with the sword handling, and he, facing her, thinks that she is a formidable opponent. And due to her tough skin, even silver knives do not work against her, and as expected, he has no choice but to use that, and if he hesitates now, he could hurt Lucia before the reinforcements arrive. He has to buy as much time as possible, and he rushes at her along with Coco. But Bigayo says that if he does not take this seriously, she is not interested. But Coco passes by her and Big is really surprised. And our boy thinks she really got faster. And maybe it was because she absorbed his blood, and compared to the first time he saw her, she is incredibly faster, and if she starts to attack from all sides, while he thinks he and Coco will take her down together. At that moment he manages to block her strike and punch her in the face, and she asks if it is really Krav Magar, and if he keeps hitting her with all his strength. And she tries to scare him with the spear. But he manages to dodge and then kicks her in the face, and when she throws herself back a bit, our boy thinks he can handle this. And her main ability is weapon formation. And the fighting style she just used belongs to humans, so he is not going to lose to a human opponent. And he definitely can win, just to his surprise. Her weapon comes really close to his neck. But he manages to dodge at the last second, and she wonders what the hell that is, and his movements are different from before. He needs to want some distance. But the weapon is already pressed against his eye, and after it pulls out, he starts screaming in pain, and she says that the choice belongs to the strong, and she is not interested. It is someone who can control their own power. But Goku goes there to attack her, asking how she dares, and she says she won't forgive her for threatening Soyuk. But Bigayo says she certainly got faster and her patterns are predictable, and Coco realizes it is too late. She is going to be pierced, but this way. Suk pushes her and Coco says she thought she going to die, but she saw Soyuk with the weapon lodged in his chest, while Big L says that even after everything, he still can't use it. After she takes the weapon out, he falls to the ground on his knees, screaming in pain, while Coco goes to him telling him to wake up, and so he talks to her, which makes her very happy, and he tells her to take care of Mirror and Lucia and stay far away from him, and so Abigail is leaving there. But she notices Coco's movement and says she is not interested in her, and he is just sparing her in the name of old times, and she is really foolish as always. But as soon as she turns around, she sees our boy charging at her, and she is thrown back, and they ask what that is, and his power has gotten stronger, and what in this world he has done. But she says that he finally brought her to her awakened ability, and if our boy with his awakened ability activated goes after her at high speed, well, she says yes. He has to give it his all now. Agent Kinsuya. And now back to Mirror. She is healing Lucia and realizes that her condition is very serious, and she needs to go to the medical facility immediately. But the moment she takes her hand away, Lucia will, and without Coco. She says that something bad happened and Sok went crazy. She realizes that without a chance, he will really use that, and it is very dangerous. But at that moment, she can only hope that Suki wins, and if he keeps punching her in the face. She is pretty surprised by his strength and stepping back. He continues to go after her, while she with her spear throws it right at his eye and even hitting him. He keeps running, and she jumps to dodge him and pulls the spear from the other side. But when she looks, he simply went there to punch her, and she managed to block the blow with her spear. But he keeps punching without thinking twice, and she thinks that his strength feat are incredible until that monstrous regeneration. This is an awakened vampire. But she manages to block his blow and says that without a chance even his attacks are careless, and he is not even defending himself, and he is no different from a beast. And she throws him away and grabs another blood weapon and cuts several parts of his body and continues to mutilate him. But he manages to block her blade, and after he grabs it, he tries to attack her, but she dodges, grabs his hair, and knees him in the face. And after he is thrown back, she runs toward him and plunges her hand into his stomach, and then, with his own blood, she creates several spikes, saying that he is a pathetic bastard, and he starts to spit blood and feels a lot of pain. And she says that he can't even control his power, and she says that since he can't control his power, he might as well not have one. And now back to Mirror. Abigail appears saying she had high hopes because of those eyes, but he turned out to be another disappointment, and Mirror thinks that even if he lost all sense, she did not expect Tsuyuki to fall so easily. And Koku in front is smirking at her, and she thinks this means that to face the other enemies, he must learn to control the reverse eye. And to Mirror's surprise, Abigail says there is no chance of her coming back like this, so she should grab her weapon, and she won't last long anyway. There is no point in being held back. It is someone who is already dying, and they should have fun together themselves. While Mer thinks it is a drag. If she faces Lu now, she is going to die. But Big tells her not to think too much since she has no other choice and charges at her. Only to her surprise, blue flames appear right beside her. But she manages to dodge in time, and she wonders, what are these blue flames? And then, a voice says that this time Mirror should not interfere, and the bishop, quite surprised, came to Cecilia right in front of her saying that now she is going to incinerate the vampires. And if Beigel says that then she is a new bishop, and she also seems pretty strong, and Mirror tells her to be careful because she is using blood as a weapon, and Cecilia, if she gets serious, goes after Beigel, defending herself with a weapon, and Cecilia says she does not care. She is going to be dead soon anyway, and Beigel is quite excited, saying she likes her, and in this way, Cecilia takes a few steps back and then activates the blue flames, throwing them at Big A. But she manages to cut through the flames and charge at her, and to Cecilia's surprise, she stepped in blood on the ground, and Big Eel says she fell for that, and Cecilia only sees the blood thorns in front of her. But in this way, her feet start to emit that purple flame and burn that blood ability, and with a big jump, she is ready to kick her and launching her fire at her. Abigail finds her spear spinning and blocking her power, and this Abigail says that even with good ingredients, there is a different world compared to the weak ones. While Mirror wonders what the hell she is talking about, Cecilia says the sun is almost rising, telling her to shut up and attack her already, and Big Eel, trembling with excitement, says that alright, she is going to pierce her now, and if she grabs another blood weapon, and that scythe with her flaming fists charges at her. But to both of their surprise, a gas grenade is thrown, and Cecilia asks what that is, and Mers says it is the poison from Katarina, but Big L says she warned her to never interfere during a battle, no matter what happens. Facing Baroness. But Baroness says that if there is an order from above, she must stop her individual actions immediately and return to await further instructions. And Big is very saying that she is a damn insolent, and she turns around and is leaving now, and Cecilia realizes they are escaping, and Cecilia asks if they really thought she would let them go like that. But at that moment, Miro tells Cecilia to wait, saying saving Lucia is the priority, but Cecilia says to leave it to someone else. But Miro, desperate, says no, they need someone who can handle the sacred power, and Cecilia is quite just standing there, and she starts yelling that it is a mess. And this way, in the Naniamagumi group, at the Korean branch, Bernice is standing right next to Bigel, with her saying it is starting to get fun, and she asks why she ratted her out, staring at Lily. But Lily told her to shut up, because Anna's patience has its limits, and if she knows how many problems she caused for her today. But Bigel said that is not her problem, and he asks her what she means. And Bigel says it is not her mission, and why she should deal with that, and in fact, She interrupted her fun, and she asks if she should not take responsibility for that, and Lil keeps asking if she really does not know her place. And that Miguel goes after Lily asking what she is doing and tells her to do her part, and really fight her. And Lily tells her to take it easy, because fights between squad leaders are not allowed. But Abigail says it is always the same story, and she should be honest and tell the truth. And he is scared because he is weaker than her, but at that moment, Lily gets angry and grabs Bigay's weapon, and to the girl's surprise, she gets punched in the face. But even so, she smiles, saying that she saw the truth and she also wants to fight her. This Kul is scared because she is weak, but just then, someone calls out to Abigail, and when Bigay looks, it is Bernice in front of her, startled by her attack. But when she realizes, Bernista is over there on the other side, so the person in front was someone else, and so he calls her an idiot and quickly punches her in the face, throwing her against the wall, and she says that she is a stupid woman, and realized her disguise and beg, with rage in her teeth, tells her to stop with her pathetic tricks and fight her for real, confronting her head-on and quickly going after her. But she feels something strange in her body, and starts spitting a lot of blood and falls to the ground on her knees, vomiting blood while Lily wonders what is happening, and what she did to be like this. But at that moment, to Lily's surprise, someone behind her asks what this commotion is, calling for Lily, and when she realizes, it is Anna's voice, and quickly the three of them kneel down, and Lily says it has been a long time since they have seen each other, looking directly at Anna, and she says she will hold Bigay accountable for her individual actions, while Bigay, very angry, calls for Anna and says this is different from what they agreed upon, and she clearly says she could do anything. But at that moment her eye explodes while Anna says she did not ask her, and Bigay falls to the ground screaming in pain, and Anna, very serious, says she almost ruined her plan, and as far as she remembers, she only allowed this in the shadows, and Big starts screaming in pain, begging for forgiveness, and with that, Anna deactivates her power and Beigel realizes that the pain has disappeared, and Anna says she just needs to do her job right, and next time her punishment won't be so light, and Big says she will keep that in mind, and then Anna calls Lily to come with her, while Lily stands up, very smiley, and goes to Anna. But before that, she gives Bigayo a slap on the head and walks over to Anna with a smile. But before leaving, she turns around and with a sadistic little smile, she waves goodbye to Abigail, leaving her with even more hatred. And now at the hospital, in the operating room, the two bishops are there waiting for Lucia, and Cecilia asks about Lucia's condition, and Mira says that luckily she survived, but her ribs and lungs were severely damaged, and they will need to monitor her for quite some time. It could be urgent, and Cecilia tells her that it is not too late, and they should kill Kinyuk now. But Mira says they already concluded their discussion in the meeting, and she needs to stop. But Cecilia, very angry, stands up and asks how much longer she will protect him when her base has been exposed, and all her members died, because of the guy she brought in. And what if Lucia had died? Just then, Mira grabs her and tells her to watch her words and stop talking nonsense, and she knows that her decision sacrificed many lives. But without a Suyuki, humanity will suffer longer at Anna's hands, and she saw his revelation and knows that Sokraya will definitely kill Anna. And Cecilia, very angry, asks how many times she needs to say. Revelations show the birth of the Chosen One or a threat coming, and this revelation, to the surprise of both of them, Cecilia suddenly has a realization and Mirror has this vision too, and their vision is of a church with the bodies of the agents cut in front of it and Lily smiling at that scene. And after the revelation fades away, they look at each other and Cecilia asks Mirror if this is what she thinks it is, and Mirror says yes. This is definitely a revelation, but the vampire she saw in the revelation looks familiar. Just then, a priest appears telling the bishops that they have an emergency, and the sanctum is under attack. And now at night in the task force of the sanctum at the Vatican branch in Busan, the same scene from the revelation has happened, and inside the church one of the priests says it is just impossible, and as they entered there just to have their cutter quickly. This one talks about confirming while talking to Anna, and Anna says yes. Soon the task force will fall, and now the next morning still at the branch in Busan, Cecilia finally arrives there, but to her surprise, she sees a horrible vision of several bodies on the ground, and she wonders what is this. But soon next to you, someone calls for Cecilia, and the girl recognizes that voice coming from beside her, and she goes to her. Cecilia asks what happened there, and the girl says they are still investigating, and tells her to leave it to her, and go straight to a sanctum that will be waiting inside. This leaves Cecilia quite worried. And now inside the church, Dominique is already there. At that moment, Cecilia opens the door calling for her master, and he recognizes her calling her Cecilia, and she asks him what happened, and if the sanctum was really attacked, and Dominique, very seriously, says this is the second time after Russia, and if one thing is different from the last time, it is that there are no bodies on their side, and only their allies were killed, and she asks if they developed a stronger drug. But at that moment, one of those fallen guys wakes up out of nowhere and calls for the bishop, and this Cecilio corrects him and starts shouting for the medical team, saying they have a survivor there. This priest says it was not them, and she remembers last night with someone coming through the door saying it is an enemy attack, while the others wonder what happened, and they run to the entrance. While one of the priests says they must regroup and asks how many enemies there are, but to the surprise of the priest, that injured priest who entered the church was none other than Lily herself in disguise, saying the enemy is just her, and if she cuts that priest's throat. While the others are very surprised by the enemy invasion and run to kill her, and there he goes asking if that is all they have, while they quickly cut a body with their claw strength. And so she says that if she is not sure, she should just kill first and nothing else. But quickly one of the priests shoots at Lily, but she manages to dodge at the last moment, while the priest asks how she dares to do that. And it does not matter who she is. She will die. But he tells her to wait and says that guns are cheating, and that there is only one sword there, and they should have a fair fight. A hand-to-hand fight. But the priest asks what she is saying. But at that moment, a hole appears right in the middle of his forehead, while Lily says he should not let his guard down either, already using a gun to kill him. And so she laughs, saying that Sanctum is truly the best, and no matter how many she kills, more will always appear, as a crowd of priests appeared around her. She smiles and says they keep coming for her blood banquet. And at that moment, that wounded priest watched the whole fight, and saw several priests dying before his eyes while he apologized to the bishop for not being able to protect Sanctum. And in this way, he closes his eyes and takes his last breath against Cecilia. He yells for him to pull himself together. And Dominique in the back wonders if this story is really true, and if the vampire managed to enter the sanctum, which should be impossible since it is protected by sacred relics. He asks if another priest will have Dominique, and says that they have an emergency. And Dominique asks what happened, and he tells him that the sacred relic has disappeared, leaving Dominique in shock, asking if this is really true. And the priest says yes. The altar where the relic was is empty, and Cecilia asks if that relic was the master's weapon. And Dominique says that is not the important part, and that they have nullified the protection of the relic, so that means the sanctum is not safe either. Which also means they have a spy inside the task force. And Cecilia asks if there really is a spy inside their force, and Dominique says it is exactly the vampire that attacked the sanctum. Only task force members have access to it, and in other words, someone removed the relic so that the vampires could enter, and it must be someone from inside the sanctum. Leaving Cecilia even more wondering who the hell would do something like that. But Dominique goes up to her and tells her to calm down. He is just discussing the possibilities now. But nothing is confirmed, and he thought he told her. Don't get carried away by any little thing, and emotions and low rational judgment. And he asks if she will send her members to their death because of her emotions, and she just quietly apologizes and says she will strengthen the security at the sanctum of his and at the relic. And smiling Dominique says that this is better, and he asks if, by the way, Miro has arrived yet. And Cecilia says no. She is taking care of Lucia, and Dominique asks her to please report this to her. And Cecilia asks what she should report, and he says she should report the destination of the next mission of the Mirror Squad, leaving Cecilia worried. And so he says they tracked the data from Katerina, and the location is in Mexico. And it is an organization dealing with drugs completely in public. And it seems they are waiting for products there. And the barracks are under their control. And the one in charge is the leader of the 4th squad, the vampire Abigail. And back at the barracks, Katerina thinks that Abigail is late while she kicks that vampire's face. But she thinks that surely Suki must be dead, and at that moment, Abigail and Baroness enter the room. And Abigail says that the more she thinks about it, the angrier she gets, and Katerina asks if she came back. And she asks about Saya. But Abigail tells her to forget about him and asks if she ended up like this because of Lily, leaving her quite surprised, saying yes. And if it were not for that wretched girl, this would not have happened. But she asks why she mentioned her. And Bigel says she ended up running into her, and Catalina asks if she really found Lily. And she thinks that not even Lily could kill a squad leader on her own. This must be an order from Anna. And it seems that the lower-ranking squad leaders, deemed useless, are being eliminated first. And considering this, the next one can only be her, leaving her very worried. But she thinks it is no problem, as she is faithfully following her orders, and above all, she won't just stand by and accept this. And so, she calls for Katerina, and Katerina asks what is wrong. And Beg says that from now on there is something she needs her to do, looking at her with that psychopathic look. And now the room is locked and monitored. Dominique says that she has been through a lot, and now her church records have been confirmed. They determined that she is not a dangerous person, and she will be able to live under their supervision, with their members always positioned nearby. He is counting on her, Lisa, and Lisa says she will do her best. And Dominique says very well. They should get straight to the point, and the reason he called her there is because she is the only survivor who escaped the vampires from Russia. Leave her very worried, and this Dominique thinks that they not only attacked the branch in Russia, but also attacked nearby churches and monasteries, and therefore, her convent was also targeted. And since similar incidents have happened in Korea recently, he called her there hoping she could help him, and he knows it must be a painful memory. But he asks her to please And she says yes, and he picks up the laptop and says that this recording was made by the security cameras at the branch in Russia and asks if she has seen this before. And when she looks at the screen, she is horrified and falls off her chair in shock, while Dominique, concerned, asks what happened. She just asks for forgiveness and pleads with him to spare her, but he tells her to go drown in the sea. And this is just a photo while they ask what in this world happened to her to provoke such a relationship. And she says that it is a vampire and points to the screen. And Alyssa points to that vampire, who is lit, and she starts remembering the past, when that vampire massacred all her followers in front of her and in the end even kidnapped. And Dominique asks if she remembers her face. Elise says yes. But it does not matter because her appearance keeps changing, and Dominic thinks that changing appearance fits the report of that deceased member, and that one who attacked Sancton, the one Cecilia saw in her vision. The coming threat must be this woman, and he wonders what Anna is planning to do with Mela, and what the hell is going on in her head. And so, in Anna's office, Lily says that Buzen's stew has fallen. They successfully removed the sacred relics and the Vatican is practically done for, and Anna says she understands and that she did a good job bathing in the blood bathtub. And she then asks what the next step of the plan is, and he tells her that just as she instructed, they planted that in the Vatican, and if they use it, they can end his sanctu, just like they did in Bazan. But the sacred relics are much more powerful in there, and they will need time to prepare. And with this ability, she interrupts saying that it is fine and he is not ready either, and this is something she has been planning for a long time. But if it takes time, they will be fine, and it will be soon, and soon she will fulfill her wish and surely take down the Vatican. And his role in this plan is crucial, and he is counting on her. And Lily, smiling, tells her to leave it to her, calling her Lady Anna. And now back at the hospital, Mira is with Lucia, and she is looking at Lucia very worried while Lucia is hospitalized. And she remembers Lucia calling her sister Mirror and being very happy and excited, asking her not to get hurt, and that if she needed anything, she could definitely call her. And then she remembers the fight she had with Cecilia, saying that she should kill Kishuyuki now, and he looks at Cecilia very sadly and thinks about many things. But the main one is that he wants to apologize to Lucia, and it is like Cecilia said, if she had not brought Sayek, she might not be hurt, and none of this would have happened. And the scene reminds us of Abigail grinding her teeth. She thinks she is definitely going to kill that woman, only to her surprise, she gets a last-minute call, and as soon as she answers, the call says that the squad's next mission has been decided and their next destination is Mexico, where Abigail is, and Mirror, hearing this, goes into shock right away, and Cecilia says she will give the details in person and she should go to the hotel. And the girl says she understands. She is going there now, but before she leaves, she tells Lucia to wait just a little bit longer, because she is going to show that one who did this to her, she is definitely going to make her life hell. And as she is leaving the hotel, she thinks that no other teammate is going to fall in front of her, and on this mission, she is definitely going to finish off Abigail once and for all. And as she heads to the car, she gets another call and tells Cecilia she is on the way. But on the line is another person. It is Suyeon, and she is quite surprised and asks when he recovered. And our boy says he is going to send her the address, and she should gather the bishops and come there. And Burr asks, how so? And this is not something she can do at any moment. But Soyek says he found Anna, leaving her very surprised. And he discovered their base. And before they escape, he is definitely going to kill her now. A few days ago Sok finally opens his eyes and Coco is on top of him drinking his blood, and says he finally woke up, and he wonders if this is the hotel's medical facility, and he wants to know how long he has been there. And he asks Coco, where's Abigail? And Coco says that Benissa took her away, and our boy thinks that even after using his last resource, he still could not beat her, and this woman is really strong and he could not even overcome her, and with the strength he has now, he should not even dream of his revenge. But right next to him, two guys are talking asking if he saw the news and last night Bizon's sanctuary fell, which surprises our boy a lot, and the other guy says he heard that the sacred relics were stolen. But then he goes to them and asks when the hotel was attacked, and the guy says it was last night, and our boy calls for Coco, and she asks what is wrong. He runs out of there, thinks that the tracking fell just now while thinking that it has been a day, but since it is her blood-based ability, Coco should be able to find her, and after her distraction tactics, there is a good chance they will regroup to form the next plan, and at the very least they will secure Abigail's location. And if they stopped in front of a building and Coco says that Abigail came there, and in the story it says she did a good job, and she says the smell is fading and she is not sure if she is still there. But at that moment she smells something strange and realizes something, and she tells Sue that this smell is Anna's. Coco is really our guy, and he tells Mirror that through Coco he confirmed that her things are still there, and probably that is their Korean base. So she should call all the bishops because they will fight tonight. And this way two guys are talking, saying that an IAMAS group is quite impressive, and they have a strong grip on the international drug market. And he heard that they took over a cartel. And the other one asks if it is serious. So that is why they can supply the best quality items. And from what they heard, The boss took a strange order this time, and it is to report if they see anyone with crosses in their eyes, and they ask where they should find these people. But at that moment an explosion happens right behind them, and when they look, they get worried wondering which organization sent her. Meanwhile, Cecilia angrily asks, "Where's Anna now?" And the two say that they are the ones with crosses in their eyes, quickly channeling two powers through their bodies, and Cecilia says that working for vampires. They are really pathetic, and Dominic says that they will meet one more time before going in. According to Coco, there are at least 2 vampires in there, and since it is a big building, they will move in pairs. Cecilia, Mirror, So, and Coco, and as soon as Anna is located, they must regroup immediately, and they have members waiting outside, and there is no chance they will lose, and if they speak to the Vatican's forces, and at that moment, several guys appear saying these are the ones your boss mentioned. They must take them all out quickly. But Dominique activates his power, and Il does too, saying it is time to work, and he starts fighting them with tremendous ease, while Cecilia rushes twice into the crowd, calling for Mirror, who says she understands. And with her sacred sword, she activates her power and cuts through several guys, while she calls for Sayuk and tells him to be careful. And our boy says she should be careful too, and he sees them running in the other direction, thinking he finally found her, that damn Anna. But it is different from that day. He has weapons and companions to kill her, and today he will definitely finish her off. But as they go up the stairs, 2 guys appear telling them not to go up, but Sook wants to grab his hand, and with his knife, he cuts into his body, thinking he will definitely take her life, and then he runs to the other side, and the guy tries to stab him with a knife. But he dodges and supports his arm and throws him to the ground, while our kid tells her to enjoy the feast, leaving the guy pretty worried, and right on top of him is the bloodthirsty Coco, staring at him like he is food and already drinking his blood, and he says that they searched every corner of the route, but there was not a single vampire anywhere. And the only place left is there with most of them gathered, and our guy asks Dominique about Ild, and Mirror says they will take a while, and they are also in charge of the entrance, and Cecilia says they do not have time to wait, and if she is not there, they will gather anyway, and he says that then they will go in now, walking towards the door. And he remembers that this is exactly what happened to his 2 brothers, but he remembers that terrifying scene of his brother losing his head, and when he opened the door, Anna was holding a girl's head, and in that way, he opens the door all at once, but to Soyuk's surprise, a hand quickly grabs his head, and Bracha Cecilia says someone has appeared, and they wonder if this is Anna already staring at our kid, and the scene cuts to the entrance with 3 more agents going after Id. And the girl uses her power with her eyes shining, and from the magic rune, a huge hand crushes those guys. And Dominique asks what they think about surrendering now. It is that I have a blonde guy calling him boss, and this is the boss of the international faction, a subordinate of the Nanayama organization, and Dominique tells him to say where Anna is now, and he can spare his life, and the boss laughs in his face and asks who is sparing whose life. They will be the ones to surrender, and he gave his faction a gift that will make them the pinnacle of the underworld, and Dominique, worried, wonders what gift that is, and the boss says one of those gifts was this, already grabbing a syringe and injecting it into his neck, and he says it is a serum that can turn an ordinary person into something as strong as a squad leader. So now he says goodbye to the bishop, injecting that blood drug and completely transforming, and now we go back to our boy with the vampire grabbing our boy, but he grabs her arm and throws her away, making her hit her back against the wall, and Mara and Cecilia wonder if that is Anna. But they think it is not, and our girl tells her to be careful, as it could be a squad leader instead of advancing recklessly. But Cecilia quickly tells him to stay back while this vampire goes towards Cecilia, but to her surprise, Cecilia lands a big punch in her face, knocking her to the ground, and she starts spitting blood, and in this way, Cecilia grabs and asks the vampire where Anna is, and the vampire starts feeling the shivers with that power, and Cecilia asks if the low-level vampire can't even talk, and with her flames, she starts burning the vampire's body without thinking twice, and says that she will find her in person, while the other 2 look at her, satisfied, and Cecilia says she will turn you, that damned Anna, and all the vampires she created into dust, just with her flames, and as her body burns, Sile asks, what now? And Anna is not there. And he told him that he was there, and our boy says she was definitely there. But Coco says the smell has aged a few days, and it seems she knew they were coming and fled hastily, and worried. Cecilia tells Mirror that she told her these guys cause more trouble than help, and they should kill them right now, our boy's buddy, but the arm tells her to stay calm, and Cecilia asks if that did not prove anything. And they brought all the bishops considering what he said. But they achieved nothing, only to everyone's surprise, Dominique appears saying that it is not entirely true, and this guy is the boss, and he told everything when they promised he would be safe, and what they received was the bloody snow, a drug that can temporarily turn them into vampires or, he said, artificial vampires, and Mirror says that now that she stops to think, she remembers seeing that bloody snow when she went to Russia, so that explains how your ferments were cured so quickly, and how they expanded their influence through the underworld. And our Grotto says it must be that after all. And your superior creates them for the same reason. And since they were still injecting into lab animals, that must be the main piece for the vampirification. And Dominique says that this means that at this very moment, there are people going through experiments against their will, and they do not have time for this. And there is your new mission. They have to stop their experiments as quickly as possible. And Glenna cuts to Baroness' lab with Baroness writing down various things. And it is one of the hallways. That vampire who looks like a zombie, along with Katerina, walking through the corridors while she thinks this is killing her, and she wonders why she has to be doing services for that crazy woman. And she starts kicking that zombie and says that now she has a lot of work because of her mistress, and she vents her anger on her. And Big appears asking if she said that because she knew she was coming, and Bigo starts teasing her asking if she is her daughter. Aren't you going to listen to mommy? And Katerina tells her to shut up because she is not her daughter, and Big asks what the problem is. And both are targets of Anna, and now she can only count on each other. And besides that, she asks if she did what she asked, and now she has another plan. She is going to get Keisuyoki, which surprises Katerina, and she asks what she means and how she is going to do that. But she, smiling, says that in the end, she is also a woman and is attracted to him. But Bigue says it is not like that and mentions that this girl is crazy, explaining that Anna said she almost ruined her plan, and it is probably because she tried to kill Soyuk. And since Soyuk is the main piece of Anna's plan, if he is in their possession, they have something to bargain with Anna. And besides that, she also has other matters with him, since Tirana realizes that she wants to get Soyuk for them, and she thinks that if she does this right, she might finally get to have a night with that guy. And that crazy, psychopathic girl says she will definitely get Soyuk for herself. And if she tells Bigel that talking might be easy, she asks and tells Lily what they will do with her, and Bigel tells her not to worry, because she will be busy for a while. And you yourself said, Isekai is after the leaders, and he will definitely come to her. And Katerina asks about the bishops, and if she almost killed one, and they must be furious. And Bigel says that is right, calling her little girl, and she says that she already ran away after seeing a single bishop, leaving Katerina very confused, asking how so, and Bigel just says who cares about those idiots from the Vatican. She actually wants them to come if they have the courage to do so, because she has her loyal lieutenants and also an entire army at her disposal, an army of artificial vampires. And Indominio says that now that they secured the Bloody Snow and the head of the international faction, they immediately started the mission, and they need to calm down. He plans to analyze the Bloody Snow for a few days, and Mirror asks what he means by analyze. And he says that, as they have seen so far, they are spreading the Bloody Snow in the underworld, and by insisting on this substance that can be used as a weapon and experiment, they might learn something about them. And anyway, he tells Soyuk that in the end he did well to warn him about this place, and even though Anna was not there, thanks to him they managed to get their hands on the Bloody Snow, and prevented the vampires from being unleashed in the shadows. And in the story, it says that it is nothing and says that still, she let Anna go. But Cecilia interrupts saying that she let her escape spectacularly, which surprises Dominique, and Cecilia says that she had already left when they arrived, and he dared to mobilize all the bishops based on unconfirmed information. And Dominic tells her to calm down and stop saying those things, but she does not care and keeps saying that. However, the source of that information was a vampire who used to be the leader of a squad, and she asks how low the level has dropped for the task force to need help from this little thing, only with Myra stepping forward and saying that no, even though Coco is a former squad leader and seems a bit stupid sometimes, the fact is she is tough. But to the surprise of both, Coco goes up to Dominique and starts staring at him and calling him sir. She asks if he is a vampire, leaving Mirror confused, and Cecilia just walks away saying she does not think so, and she tells her master that she is going ahead. But before leaving, she tells Soyuk that if anything like that happens again, she won't let it slide so easily. And Dominique says that Kid is really stubborn and he apologizes for her, and our boy says it is fine and it is all good, and Dominique says very well, so they can all go back and rest. He will analyze the Bloody Snow and call them when he has results. And now back at the headquarters, Dominic says the preliminary analysis is complete, and as expected, they managed to influence beyond the underworld of Japan, and it was worldwide thanks to this Bloody Snow. And as the head of the international faction said, it guarantees vampire abilities when consumed. But the side effects show up when the effect wears off, and not only does it guarantee vampire abilities, that is also why they were acting that way. And Dominique says that this is just your hypothesis, but the main ingredient of the Bloody Snow is most likely the blood of a vampire, and components of drugs and blood cells have been detected, and judging by how it destroys human tissue, it is definitely vampire blood. And M says that it is already difficult to transform humans and vampires, but it seems they found a way to give them powers without fully transforming them. And Dominique says that in his opinion, it seems to be a byproduct of vampiric transformation research. This surprises both of them, and he explains that no matter how much vampiric power this gives them, it can be compared to a real vampire, and they have the technology to produce vampires in the worst case scenario. This means they can create squad leader level vampires, and Cecilia says that this is really bad. And Mirror says that the rate of vampirification is extremely low, which is why the numbers are few. And she asks if it would even be possible to produce vampires with the bloody snow, and Dominique says he does not think it is impossible. And if they manage it well, the bloody snow gradually. Furthermore, the aggression and the drugs significantly decrease compared to before, and judging by this, it seems they have an excellent researcher, who happens to be Marin. And they do not even know it, and he says that is all he has to report. And now he is going to give them a new mission. And its objective is to destroy their laboratory. They must not forget the duty of the task force, and even now, people are suffering because of their experiments. So he asks that they please be saved. And now the scene cuts to Paris's laboratory, and Mini Katerina says she finally succeeded while thinking that Biga is a B*tech, and how she treats her like a child. And she used to live in abundance. But now she is like this, and she calls that zombie to go see her master and orders her to carry her. And so she goes to the door and says she did everything she asked. But when she tries to give her another order, she is not going to accept it, and Biga says she did a good job, calling her little servant. But Katerina watches that scene, and is quite surprised with Biga asking if she finished her tasks, while getting a message completely naked, and Katerina asks what she is doing. And Bigayo says that in the last few days she has been working hard and needs to relax too, and Katerina asks if this is serious, and everyone is working there. But she has been living like a queen, and Miguel just says that she threw all her work for Christmas there, and anyway, she asks if she brought that, and Katerina says yes. It is right there, and Miguel says she did a good job, and that takes another worry off her mind. And little Katerina asks if this really works, and it might just make them more aggressive. But Big tells her not to worry about that, because she has everything planned. She just needs to trust her and follow her orders. And Abigail said that is all for today, and they should go. But little Katerina asks what she means and tells her to say what she wants. But Big grabs her head and asks why she is screaming like a newborn baby, and it is time for her bottle. Meanwhile, Katerina tells her to let her go, saying that she said she does not like girls. But Bigo tells Katerina that this is all they need, and with that even Anna 1T be able to ignore her. Ultra-secret incendiary. And so Suk and Mirror talk that thanks to Dominique's efforts they got help from the Mexican army, and they are not going straight to the Mexican military airbase. And she explains to him that since the task force is an organization above the national level, it was not hard to get cooperation. But he needs to be careful with his own identity, and the existence of vampires and bishops is extremely confidential, and that is why he had to leave Coco with the rest of the team. While she was arguing a lot because she wanted to go with him, and Mirror says that on the surface they are there with secret agents to help take down a cartel, and their goal is to find Abigail's space. And our boy says that this probably is not going to be easy, and these guys have a pretty crafty plan, and one practically abandoned by the government, where numerous cartels gather. The border region, he and the cartels reign above the law, and they commit atrocities without any hesitation. And it is a place where disappearance and death are common, and finding them won't be an easy task. But the Mirror asks him not to worry, because this time they have support facing a person right behind them, who is Cecilia, also dressed as a secret agent, and she is very annoyed telling them to shut up, because if she keeps talking, she is going to leave. And this scene goes back a few days when Mig was asking her what she was doing on this mission. She was asking what he meant and what the hell he was talking about now, and he tells her that he saw her skills are good against that squadron leader, and her power will definitely be a great help. Meanwhile, he asks her now why she had to work alongside the vampire, and she hates that feeling. And Mur says that now that they are here, they will do their best together. And at that moment some guys show up saying that they are them, and he was informed by his superiors. And his name is Diego. And he will be working with them on this operation. And Diego says he will escort them and asks them to follow him. And so he says they must be tired from the long journey. But as they know, this place in the war zone is dangerous every day because of the cartels. And the moment they let their guard down, they will be dead. And he won't sugarcoat his words because he can't trust them, which surprises everyone. And he says he was ordered to share information with them, but he can't help those with uncertain identities. And Murja stares without saying anything. And Zes gets closer and asks if he is challenging the orders from above. But Degofalax is being cautious. And there have been times when people lied about their identities and killed military or police officers. And one story thinks that certainly from their perspective, they can be anything but trustworthy, but they can proceed with the mission this way, without their help. And this is a guy who says he understands, which surprises Diego. And our boy asks how he can prove they are allies. And Diego stands up and says they should follow him. Meanwhile, the two back there did not understand anything, and the best question about what they were talking about. This girl just tells her to shut up and stay quiet. And so, inside the car, they are heading to the isolated location, and Diego says that the mayor was kidnapped a few days ago by a cartel and shortly after declared war on all the cartels. And the two still do not understand anything he is saying. And Diego showed the recording saying they have already executed the supporters closer to the mayor, and now they are about to execute them. And their mission is to rescue the mayor and any equipment or people they need. But our boy says that is enough. They are heading straight to the scene now, but Diego asks if he wants to go with just these people. And now inside the prison, Those two are talking like everyone has been killed, and now there are only 6 left, and they have to stay strong. Especially in moments like this. With the guy talking to the perfect lady. And she apologizes saying it is her fault, but the guy tells her not to say something like that. And they were doing the right thing. Just then, they hear a noise from outside, and the door slowly opens. And who appears at the door is one of those criminals. And that guy tells them to leave the mayor alone, and not to mess with her, but to the surprise of the two, that guy falls dead on the floor with his eyes still open. And a voice from the door asks if she is the mayor or Livia, while our guy remembers he told Diego that they do not need to kill more people, and that just he is enough. With Nasa coming through the door and saying she is there to rescue them, and she must follow her in silence. And she is very surprised, saying that this is unthinkable, and they took care of the headquarters that even the special forces had. Difficulty. Using only knives, and Olivia says that the members of her team are impressive, and she asks when they will join them, but he tells her that there is no team. It is just him, leaving her even more surprised, saying that this is nonsense. Just then, 2 criminals appear pointing guns at them, telling them to stay still, and Olivia panics, thinking that these are 2 armed men, and this is really the end. But quickly our boy throws that dagger and heads towards one's head, basically an insta-kill. And another points their weapon at our boy, but soon after dies, and now holding 2 ikas. The mayor wonders if these are even movements a human can make. This lady tells him to grab that, and the man asks why there is a weapon out of nowhere. And the senator says he is going to protect the mayor, and they will arrive soon, since they heard the shots, and he should wait in the room until the situation is resolved. And that guy says it is too much for him to handle alone, and he is going to fight too. But our boy tells him not to worry, because he does not need to, and he should just speak well of him to Daigo later, and no matter what happens, he should not leave under any circumstances. Already pulling the pin from a grenade and throwing it down the hallway where 2 more thugs appear. And so that guy pulls the free one inside and says they will find cover for now, while she gets really scared, watching our boy in action, killing each one of them. And now outside, the agents talk that the gunfire has stopped and it seems to be over, and Diego should also know. And at least 1 platoon should have been dispatched. And what could he do alone with just his fists? That guy is crazy. And it was an impossible operation from the start, and Diego is really serious about this. And that other guy smoking. So after taking all the credit for himself, he is nothing. But to both their surprise, someone calls for Daigo and says they brought them as promised, and our boy says that regarding the orders from his superiors, he must provide all information about the cartels in the border region, and if he refuses, he will treat it as insubordination, calling him Soldier Daigo. And now tonight at the town hall, after being saved, she thanks our boy and says that thanks to him, she was saved, and with the person beside her, they can put an end to the cartel war. And she says she has accumulated work, so she goes ahead and tells her assistant to please take care of these people. And the assistant says yes, and that they will take them to their accommodations, and he asks them not to worry about the costs, as they will cover everything, while our boy stays serious and just stares at them. But interrupting them, Diego appears in front of him telling him to take that, and they have the data he requested about the cartels in the border region, including estimated size, location. Everything is included, and our boy asks what that device is. And Daigo says it is a retrophone. He asks him to please use it to get in touch with him. And he also apologizes for yelling at our boy, and he asks for forgiveness for suspecting them. And from now on, he will do his best to help. And our guy says it is okay. And given the situation, it is understandable. And the assistant in the car says it is getting late, and they should come now. But before Soyuk leaves, Diego says okay. Then he asks why he is not coming in. He is already on his way out now. But our boy says he mentioned he would do his best to help. And he asks, "Are you serious?" And Diego says yes. Of course, and he tells us that very well. Then he wants to ask him a favor, and so the assistant took them to a hotel while saying that the security there is very good, so they can rest peacefully, without worries. And now he is leaving, and he thanks for the hard work today, and Mirror says they finally have some help now, and first based on the materials they received. But our hero interrupts her and tells her to grab that, and she asks what it is, and he tells her to go to the room with Cecilia first, and she asks what about him. And he says he has something to do with Daigo tomorrow. He will just set the meeting point and join them later. But she tells Suyuk that he seems to be trying too hard alone. And he tells her that this amount is the least he can do. But right next to him, Cecilia says to keep things small with that guy, and they have to focus on capturing Big Eye. And that woman is very strong, and not only has the physical strength of a vampire, but also has combat instincts and refined techniques. And even with the 2 of them, capturing her won't be easy. And Mira looks at her very seriously and asks if there were not just 2, but 3. And Cecilia asks, "What do you mean?" And Mira says she heard Abigail talking to Soyuk, that he was a weakling even with good ingredients, and the only allies Coco had were the 3 bishops. Which means the ingredients she referred to were the bishops themselves, and if Soyuk drinks the blood of a bishop, he could become a great resource for them. But Cecilia, very angrily, tells Mira to stop and says that means she is saying she wants to offer her neck to a vampire, and Mira tells her to calm down, and that there is nothing concrete yet, but Cecilia tells her not to joke with her, and even if it is true, she would rather die than let that happen, and Mira says they are not in a position to be picking and choosing things, especially without Lisa, and it is definitely worth considering. But Cecilia tells her to forget it, and she does not want to be near a vampire ever again, and she is going to her room now, and Mira says, this girl is so stubborn and never listens to her, but she goes to the reception, while the receptionist asks what kind of room she would like, but of course in Spanish, and Cecilia over in the corner looks at Mira asking for help, and now it is a cartel situation, so we have people asking how he can never be on time, and he is late, calling him an aide, with the mayor's aide telling him to shut up, and the blonde says he told them to do exactly as he said, and they could kill the mayor, and how the hell did this happen, and the aide says there was an unexpected inconvenience, but to the surprise of both, our guy in the back asks what inconvenience he is talking about. In fact, he is aware that Diego is a huge pain for both of them, and a story is a big pain, saying it is just as he thought he was an undercover spy, and this blonde guy says the first floor should be full of men. And still, there was no noise, and the assistant asks how he suspected this and since when, but he does not say it was from the beginning. This surprises the assistant a lot, and the man asks if he does not find it strange too, unless he was with them. Why would they leave someone like him, who is not the mayor, alive until the end, and just to be safe, he handed over an unloaded gun, and for sure, he tried to pull the trigger behind his back, and that is when he realized he was planning to kill him and the mayor together, and the assistant thought he had heard that, and the lady knew he would meet someone from the cartels this way, so he asked to have a piece planted in his car. And Daigo's team will be there in a minute, so this is his last chance to get out of there alive, and he asks which cartel he met. And Diego asks if he is not going to answer, and the assistant says he will answer, and a few weeks ago, a cartel delivered him, and that blonde guy asks if he is crazy, if he is really going to talk, and he says that if the boss finds out, not only him, but his whole family will die. But Suk tells him to shut up and to keep going, and the assistant, sweating cold, says that the cartel was a bit familiar. So he looked into them, but there was something strange. Unlike the other cartels, they work with drugs, and at that moment, those two get shot. One in the forehead and one in the heart, and Diego says it is a sniper, and our guy thinks they eliminated their own members, just to prevent information leaks. And in his walkie-talkie, a signal is being transmitted, and the lady thinks it is a radio. And a voice talks to him saying that he arrived there, and the information he got from his assistant was very useful. And it is a shame that it had to come to this, but still, thanks to this guy, he will be able to handle things more smoothly. And Diego asks what he is talking about, and our boy wonders what he means by handling things, and who he is talking about. But at that moment, he notices something and gets really worried, and the person on the radio says they are going to take care of the thorn in their eyes, which are the bishops, with one of them taking a shower and several criminals surrounding the bathroom. And the voice says they will see him soon, which makes a lady very angry, thinking it is a mess. Even the accommodations were a trap, and they had been after the bishops for a long time, and they definitely won't just send the small fry, and there is definitely a vampire of the United Squad level in there, which is Natalie, that half-zombie vampire, and these agents are in front of the bathroom, and their leader tells them to focus, because the boss says they have to succeed, and their only goal is to kill the woman in that room while Cecilia is taking a shower, unaware of anything outside, and they say they were going to finish this and come back later, and definitely the woman came there. But the other one asks why he is asking the obvious, but he says, so he can't see her with Cecilia right behind him without him knowing, and at that moment that guy is already gone, and the other masked one wonders what is happening, while Cecilia appears right in front of him running in his direction, and he asks how she dares. But before he can shoot, she kicks him, making him fall unconscious, and she asks who sent these bastards, and the guys did not even let her finish her shower, since she is totally naked in there, and that other armed thug wonders what just happened, and where those flames came from, with Cecilia punching him in the face, and that guy hits his back against the wall, and she pins him down and says she is going to ask one last time who sent them, and he gets really nervous, not knowing where to look, at her face or her body, but then she remembers that they do not speak the same language, and just punches him, and after she puts on the robe, she wonders if that mayor was the one who planned this, but at that moment, the fire alarm is triggered, and she wonders what that is. All this commotion just because she let out some flames, and she wonders how to get rid of it, but Natalia is behind your back without her knowing, and Sue runs towards the building, thinking that everything was a trap, and that they brought them to this hotel from the beginning to eliminate the bishops. He notices a guy coming out of there, but he falls dead on the floor, and Mira comes out of the room asking if he finished his work. Nasa asks if they were all enemies, and she asks if she got her anywhere, but she says no. From what he can see, she is fine. He asks about Cecilia, and she says her room is upstairs. He runs there while thinking that playing with Bigayo was a disadvantage. He does not know who that woman sent when she had her knife fighting against Cecilia. Cecilia just tells her not to make her laugh by punching her in the face, along with her flames, and the two of them run over there, and Cecilia says that noise is coming from her room, and she opens the door and asks if he is okay and where the vampire is, and Cecilia says she arrived just in time, and they ask if she is and if this vampire is on the level of a squad leader, and Cecilia says she is just a low-level vampire with no skills, and she asks if they have been suffering against these weaklings all this time, so she will take care of that for now, but a communicator with Nadal there tells them he is surprised that she managed to create a vapor with her ability, and even with her power reduced, it is still quite effective, and now that your colleagues have arrived, it seems like there is no hope left for them, and she tells Natalie to back off. She allows her to use her skills, and Natalie starts laughing with that strange smile while Cecilia wonders how she can back off, and who she thinks she is. It is just that in this way, Natalie with her knife cuts her arm that was being held by Cecilia and takes a few steps back, and Cecilia runs after her saying that she is really trying to survive, but Sug notices something strange, that the girl's hand is moving on its own, and that hand follows Cecilia while she is not there. She just jumps off the building and Soyok tells Cecilia to wait, and Cecilia asks what she means by wait, and they can let him escape again, but to her surprise, she sees a flash behind her, and that hand starts shining like a bomb, and Mira calls out for her friend Cecilia, and then an explosion happens, and so at dawn, our boy opens his eyes and asks if that is Cecilia and wonders how she is alive, but the girl on top of him asks if he woke up and says that he is fine. Then she asks if he could take his hands off her since our boy is holding her all over, and he releases her and asks what happened and why he is like this. While she asks him if he does not remember, he saves Cecilia, and our boy wonders if that really happened. And in that moment when Cecilia saw Natalie's hand shining, our boy quickly pulled Cecilia back and ran toward the bomb, leaving her very surprised, and that explosion happened. And the mirror says that after that she brought him to her room and helped him recover, and it gets really serious, not saying anything, and she says that if they are done, they should hurry, while Mira does not say anything and just stares at her, and Cecilia turns around and says that more of them might show up, and they need to go somewhere different, but Mira tells her to wait and says that they saved her life, and what is up with her attitude? She could at least say thank you, but Chia says what do you mean saved your life, and she asks if she should kneel down and thank for that, but Mira says that is not what she meant. Only Sin stares at Sayuk and asks why he jumped into the explosion instead of leaving her there, but he says that is fine, but Cecilia interrupts him and says he is going to say it is because he is a vampire and won't die, which surprises our boy. She looks at him seriously and says it is really considerate of him, but it is disgusting, and he might think he is a sacrifice, but all she feels is deception, and if he were truly human, she asks if he would have acted the same way, which really surprises our boy with her calling him a vampire, and if she is going to change when he stops pretending to be so noble, because it is really repulsive, and she never needed his help in the first place. And anyway, she is going ahead now, and when they get ready, she leaves too, and Mira says that this girl is really temperamental, while our girl does not say anything and just remembers what she said, thinking he never stopped to notice this since he became a vampire. And so Mira says that the fact that he made an effort to fulfill the mission, even being a vampire, is proof that his humanity remains, so he should not think about it and continue with what he has been doing, and she places her hand on his hand and asks if he understands, while he does not say anything, but then he stands up and says he understands. And now at night, in the middle of the cartels, Cecilia says Abigail must have noticed they were around. This place will also be discovered soon, and they have to take some measures, but they are very short on information, and she asks how they can fight those guys, and Mir says they are not completely without information, and they have the cartel data that Diego gave them. But Cecilia tells her to wait and asks if she came there to get the quarters, and what they do there is get the vampires, and she asks if that guy is even trustworthy. This is what says that at the moment they have no choice, and can't he get support from the task force immediately. But at that moment our boy feels something strange and sets one of the houses on fire. Biga asks if there is a bishop around there, and until he shows up they should kill everyone, and this abomination says that approximately 100 members had Nelly's abilities forcibly injected, and without the bishop's intervention, all the civilians will die in 5 minutes. But right next to her, Natalie tries to say something with her arm still cut off, and this Abiga starts screaming for the bishop to show up right now, and the longer they take, the more innocent people will be infected, and she says with a smile that you finally came, and without Lily and Anna there is nothing that can stop her from going into complete ecstasy. And this Amira says they are really bastards. It happened that I had to wait, because it could be a trap. But Mira says there are many civilians out there. Only that Cecilia says this sorts things out, and they can take care of the civilians, and the small fish. And she will take care of their leader. Already quickly heading out the window towards Bigale, and so Bernice tells Bigai that at 9 of the clock. And when Bigai looks, she is quite surprised, saying it is the Bishop of the Blue Flames, and that girl from before. And Berenice says she is at a disadvantage against her, and should be more careful. But hearing this, she gets even more excited, waiting for a big fight, and jumps down heading towards Cecilia, saying that she was waiting for her, and she finally showed up. And the two clash their powers, causing an immense explosion. Meanwhile down there, Myra is killing each of the enemies, and you think that thank God they can handle these guys before the explosion, and they are no longer targeting the civilians. I am heading straight for them, but there is one thing that still bothers me. That crazy girl who fights like there is no tomorrow, even while feeling pain. And after a round of sword strikes, Myra thinks that if she remembers correctly, she has the ability to self-detonate and cut off parts of her own body explode whenever she wants. So in that case, she has to eliminate her all at once. And with that movement, she knocks her to the ground and drives the sword right into her heart. While thinking she can't give her a chance to cut herself out of nowhere, and Natalie starts spitting blood. And Myra quotes Matthew 16:18. And I also tell you that you are Peter. And on this rock, I will build my church. And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Only Natalie is holding her sword, trying to pull it from her body. But she notices a glow, and this amber activates its God's blade ability, with a gigantic fire sword appearing in the sky heading towards her. And this is the pad that delivered the verdict of judgment for the sinner, which surprised Natalie a lot as she saw that gigantic sword turning in her direction. And this ability is called God's Oath, and that power falls upon Natalie, causing an explosion and a crack in the ground. And the best part is that she was Natalie, and she dared to challenge a bishop with only that level of skill, and she should not be disappointed, as she will send her boss to her side soon. And when he was trapped counting his head, Eski grabbed her and ran away while she asked what he was doing, but after a moment, she saw an explosion and the man who says he is the sniper, and she was the one giving orders to Natalie when Cecilia attacked with Baroness up on the house, aiming at them with her sniper. And she keeps shooting from various positions. While Skay says they have to take care of her first, and Mer says snipers are very annoying, while our boy says that more importantly than that, she is their commander, and to protect herself. As soon as the battle started, she positioned all her subordinates around her, except for Natalie. She is still controlling subordinates while watching the battlefield from a high, clear place, which means that yes, if they take care of her, only Abigail will be left. And now a few days ago, Abiga spoke to Baroness saying that it is like Katerina said. Silk will be there soon, and they have matters to discuss with him, so she should bring him to her. But besides Soyet, they have to eliminate the bishop who wields a sword. And this Bernice thinks there is nothing to be done, and our boy talks to Mirror, which is still good, thanks to her taking care of Natalie, and things would now be much easier. Only to the surprise of both, Natalie simply stands up and starts regenerating her body as if it were nothing, while he recognizes that it is the one she just killed, and Mirror says that this is impossible and she can't believe it, and she clearly was a low-level vampire without regenerative abilities, and there is no way she could have survived her technique. And Baroness up there says she is right, but Natalie is a little special, and as long as she is alive, she will never die, already appearing as two Natalies. And this Abram says that now, from this point on, the second round will begin with her already manipulating those half-dead vampires. And Tsuyuki with his silver dagger thinks the situation is not good and this woman alone is a pain in the neck. But Baroness is there, focusing on the shooter, but his aim is off, and the girl runs over to our boy. But he puts his arm out to stop her attack, and knows he will definitely take out at least one target quickly with the cat girl pushing her arm against Natalie's body. But he is just wondering, what is this? While that Natalie holds onto her body and simply self-destructs, causing a massive explosion, and half of his body was destroyed, and he thinks that damn it, he got careless and thought she would jump and self-destruct like that. It is really crazy, but at that moment, another Natalie appears charging at him while he can't react fast enough and is about to be attacked. But to both of their surprise, Mirror appears unleashing her sword power destroying his body, and she asks Sook if he is okay, and says they are not easy opponents. And even though she cuts his body with a critical hit, through regeneration, they multiply infinitely, with two more Natalies already appearing, and she says that this combat style is not compatible with them, especially with him. And Our Lady gets very serious and takes off her shirt. And just when you think it is true for him who uses knives, his skill, the terrible counterattack, and besides the support behind, and the regeneration makes it hard to attack, and he does not fall easily. And besides that, Mirror's attack can't finish them off, and at this rate, it will just be a war of attrition. And if he tells her about a change of plans, and the same question, what do you mean a change of plans? And he says that he will deal with Natalie, and she goes straight for the sniper. But she asks if he hears what she is saying, and that their compatibility is not right. But he says it does not mean anything if they do not deal with the shooter, and she should treat this as a priority and not worry about him. Because anyway, he is a vampire and won't die. And he keeps remembering Cecilia's words, that this is a completely disgusting thought. And so Mirror is really in doubt and asks if he really wants to do this. While facing Natalie, our boy quickly punches that vampire and tells her to get out of here, and Mirror runs to the other side and tells him to be careful. And without Brennis, she faces that scene, seeing Mer coming toward her. And from what she can see, she decided to attack her first, and she starts throwing at her. But she can't hit. And Mira is right there, ready to finish her off with her power. But Banan calls Natalie, who steps forward and absorbs the blow, and Mira thinks that to use her own companions as a meat shield. Without even blinking, she is truly a monster. And there is no choice but to keep insisting, but to her surprise, she is already right in front of Baroness's weapon aimed at her. You think she finally closed the distance. And with that, their coordination is over. And she tries to attack her, but Brennan dodges. And M wonders what kind of movement that is, asking herself if she was not just a simple shooter. But Ben wonders if she really thinks that just closing the distance would be enough to kill her. Interrupting her observation and information gathering, and jumping to conclusions about her opponent. That is why she lost, already aiming her gun at Mirror, firing a powerful shot that destroys the whole house. But when Mirror realizes, the shot was not aimed at her, and she thinks she did not expect that, and that is because she is a sniper with healing abilities. Naturally, she thought she would be weak in close combat. But from now on she needs to stay alert. And this plaything thinks that this bishop is certainly strong, and if it were not for Yaka's serum, her neck would have been cut from that previous attack. But her abilities are all within expectations, and based on her data about the bishop and the information Elle gave with Natalie and her cooperation, they can handle it well enough. And she will finish this soon, if she calls Natalis to gather. The Natalis appear there in the corner of the wall while she asks what they are doing, and where the rest is. And she points forward, still trembling. And Bernice looks at her and asks, "What is that?" But when she realizes, our oral says that this works perfectly, what scares Baroness a lot. And when Mira looks, she is surprised. And as Goto says that if those are the guys, he won't be lacking blood with his skeletal body walking towards them. And Mira asks if I am Yuki. And our boy tells Mira that he already told her before that he is a dead man, and it does not matter if he is human or a vampire. He is just taking his revenge. And he will definitely kill that woman. And now being taken to Sayek, facing two Natalis, and remembering Anna telling him that he made it, and saying that he was really an interesting guy, and also remembering Cecilia saying that if he were a human, he would not have acted that way. The thought of yours is disgusting, and in your field of vision, there are already two Natalis advancing toward him, while Syl grabs the two, and only thinks about wanting them to be quiet, and it does not matter what he is. If he could just kill her, he would be happy being a vampire. But at that moment, he feels two breasts right in his face, which is Mirror, saying he can stop for now, and they have already pulled back, and our boy wonders if he lost consciousness again. And she apologizes to him, and because of her, he pushed himself too hard. But he told her she does not need to apologize, and this operation was his fault from the beginning. But at that moment, he feels something strange in his body. And she says it seems like he pushed himself too hard trying to keep his eyes inverted, and she says for now he should try to recover a bit, and soon as well. But at the same moment, an explosion happens, and he realizes it is a blue flame. And she says now she is going to help Cecilia, and Abigail is very happy saying that this is real strength. And she loves fighting strong people, and especially when she is on the battlefield. She really feels alive, and on the other hand, Cecilia is still really staring at her in twice. She takes the big leap and goes for Bigil. Now Big asks if she does not feel the same. But Cecilia says she does not know about that. But on the other hand, she wishes she would stop feeling like that and just die already. And this Cecilia throws a tremendous punch at Abigail, and an explosion happens and Bigil thinks that guy is an idiot. But still, she is really strong and notices the tear in her chest, and if she had reacted a little slower, it could have been really dangerous. And the smiling Beg says she is really good at this, and maybe because they have fought once before. But she does not even head towards her puddle, so in that case, she asks how she can block this. As several blood claws are heading towards Cecilia, and Cecilia thinks this is a long-range ability, and even if she does anything, if she just increases the distance, it might work. But to her surprise, Bigil manages to trap her, tying up her whole body while she thinks she is such a pain. Those tentacles came up from under the ground and Big, excited, starts laughing and says she let her guard down and thanks to her, it was, and she would be happy to take her blood as a trophy. Just then, Mirror's sword appears, cutting through those things, saying it will help Cecilia, and Big recognizes her as that broad bishop. Equo. You think that Baroness Natalie was not enough, but she looks back and remembers that guy, Kin Suyok, and he can still keep his eyes inverted. But at that moment, Mirror interrupts her thoughts and calls her Abigail, asking if she remembers the blonde bishop, and she made a promise to her. To the one who made her this way, she will show true hell by activating her power, while B, with a psychopathic look, says that is good, but she does not remember the weak ones. So she has no idea who she is talking about, and Cecilia says that her composure ends there. And from now on, why does not she try to face two bishops alone? And she starts laughing, saying that so there are two bishops. And then what does she think about that with an entire army appearing behind her? And Mir asks if there really are two vampires like that, but Cecilia tells her not to exaggerate, as they are probably just test subjects. Like those they saw before, they are all level vampires and pose no danger. But at that moment, all those test subject vampires start falling to Abigail's claws, dying one by one, and Mira wonders what they are suddenly doing. But our guy interrupts her, telling her to be careful where she steps, and when Mira looks, there is already a pool of blood, and that place is her territory, and Biga, smiling a lot, says that it does not matter if the enemies appear right in front of her in a blood-soaked battlefield. She is completely invincible, already creating a barrier of blood, infesting everything in red, and thus, the mirror activates her power, and says she does not know what kind of ability this is. But she will destroy it before she finds out, striking that blood barrier, but to her surprise, there was not a scratch. And she is very shocked by that. Abigail welcomes her to her battlefield, and they are trapped in a cube called the blood battlefield. And Abigail says that the amount of blood she can control in this space is infinite, already showing several blood spears. And she says this ability does not disappear while she is alive. And tonight they will fight to the death, and in the middle of the fight, Mer thinks it is a drag. She is really strong, and since she was trapped in this space, the attacks have not stopped. She is dodging each one of them, but think that right now she wanted to help Cecilia. But she can't get there, and this situation is also not good. Ilan, who was our boy trapped, is bleeding while several of them are trying to attack him. But Mira quickly cuts them all down with her sword and manages to save him. She asks if he is okay, and he has to keep moving, or he will get caught by the tentacles. He thanks her a lot while you think he is trying to keep his eyes closed. But his condition is not good, and if he keeps doing this, he is going to get caught. But quickly, Mira cuts 2 more tentacles, while she just asks Ceci to wait a bit, because she will get there somehow to help her, and Abiga, smiling, asks what she is doing, and now is not the time to stop them, already charging at Cecilia, telling her not to leave like that, and the girl's feet are trapped. But she manages to push off and jump to the sky, while Bijal says she should try her previous attack again, but it is not going to work this time. But Cecilia asks her not to rush, because even if she does not want to, she is going to kill her right now, already activating her flame attack. But to her surprise, the tentacles appear from both directions, and she dodges at the last moment, while she thinks that unlike before, when she only had to worry about the ground, in this enclosed space from all directions, she is being attacked and the flow is endless. Attacks from the sky, attacks from the ground from all directions, and right above her, Big appears with 2 blood spears saying hi to her, already attacking with both spears, throwing Cecilia away. While she thinks it is a drag, she ended up hurt, and Mara asks if she is okay, and Cecilia says that not much. But more than that, that ability is not just complicated, and the whole interior of this space is her attack range. And Mira says that the Sunborn is not too far away, but she does not know if they will be able to last until then. And S just observes that and thinks that Mira is trying to cover for him, and is already exhausted. And Cecilia is also alone dealing with Abigail and must be at her limit now, and he does not want to interrupt the two, and says that then they will do this, and he will be their bait, and the two should get out of there. But M says that it is nonsense, and how does he plan to stop this? And our guy says that anyway he won't die, and somehow he can buy some time. And this space was also created by the solidification of blood, and it may be possible with Cecilia's flames and her ability. And Mira says that this is very dangerous, and our boy says that this is the best option. Just at that moment Bigo says that this would be problematic, and she has not even reached the fun part yet. A tentacle is already appearing right on our boy's shoulder, and several tentacles from the ground are crossing through his body. And after a while Sok wakes up again, and opening his eyes he realizes that he lost consciousness, and he does not know where Cecilia and Mira are. But when he wakes up he is trapped by tentacles and wonders what that is. He can't move at all. And this Abigail says that he does not like this method, and our boy, following the voice, is quite surprised, and the girl says that for her purpose, she needs his blood, and our Sora realizes that in the end, both of them were caught, and that is a bummer, and he does not know why he always has to get help. And he feels very powerless for not being able to do anything, and he has to save those two. And he tries to move while Abigail heads toward Mira, and our boy, straining hard, tries to break free, and at that moment, Abigail stops and wonders what that light is, and when she looks back, everything around our boy is shining, and Beigel wonders if this is from Natal, and then a big explosion happens, and after that big explosion, our vampire feels very tired, while he wonders what that was, and he wants to know if Mara and Cecilia are still okay, and he realizes that thanks to Abigail's abilities, they were not caught. But at that moment, the blonde approaches Sayuk and asks what was that he just did and how he did it, and while Sayuk thinks it is a bummer, this woman has completely lost it now, and he has to move to save the others. But he can't, and he has used too much of his blood and can't move his body, while the blonde thinks that skill absorption is evidence of awakening, and this guy is quite dangerous. And then she quickly tries to attack him, but at that moment she does not attack him, and simply to the shock of our boy, she cuts his hand and his blood is spilled, and she says that now she wants to talk a little with him, and she wants to know if he can understand her, because they are both different from the others, and he is not her enemy. So she has a proposal for him, and she wonders what kind of proposal and where this crazy girl got that from, and she smiles and says she wants a little help, because together they can kill Anna, which shocks Soyuk a lot. And now the scene shifts to the past, in the middle of a desert with several huts. There are many dead spearmen fallen on the ground, while someone is saying that there are many dead soldiers, and they were killed before arriving, and she asks why she does not run away and if it is out of pride or because she is just really stupid. And the one saying this was Anna, and in front of her was Bigel, saying that it is simply impossible to escape. And after several fights, she gets upset for not having found someone so strong, but finally, he found someone strong to fight against her, and at that moment, she charges at her with her spear, while she asks how she could let such a good opportunity pass by. But to her shock, with a simple movement, her body is split in half. It is when she wonders what this feeling is and how it happened. And she did not even need to move to defeat her, but the blonde keeps saying that she is someone really fun, and that she liked her, and after a few hours, Beg finally wakes up again, very nervous and scared, wondering what happened, and she sees her hands shaking while thinking that she is sure she died, and how could that be possible? But right next to her, Anna says that she is alive after receiving her blood, and she asks if she liked it, and she is creating an organization, and if she comes along with her, she can fight against many strong enemies, and can fight non-stop. This surprised Baige a lot while Anna asked what she thought about it, but after a few years, very irritated, just kept asking how many times she should say it, that it is still not the time, and she is sure she told her that she would let her know when the time came, so why did she attack the Vatican alone? And she starts to press Abigail's body while Abigail screams in pain, but she forces herself to say that she told her that she could fight against several strong enemies. But at that moment, Abigail's body starts to crack, while Anna, very angry, says that she can't do this, and from now on, her activities will be limited to the area with no one from the Vatican, and she must not forget her place. And back in the present, Big thinks that Anna, that bitch, won't be satisfied until she leaves her in pieces, and Beigel says it is not a bad deal, and if he comes with her, she can give information about Anna, and will also help him grow as a vampire. And Abigail says she has information gathered by Katerina and Baroness, and maybe they can figure out her weakness with that. And to defend herself, she will help him with what she knows about complete awakening, and this is a trade for him to become her assistant, which surprises Sai a lot, but she keeps saying that now she is sucking the blood of the bishop, and to escape Anna's control, they need divine blood, and when the time comes, he must join her as a vampire. The only thing he has to do is get their blood, and he has probably already noticed that he is also increasingly resembling them, and in any case, they were not understood, and now he is with them because he is useful. But when they achieve their goal, they will get rid of him without pity, and then she tells him to forget about them and come with her, because she does not abandon her companions. And so she stays silent for a few minutes, while Abigail says she thinks he needs some time to think. And well, then in the east of the Sonora Desert, our vampire interrupts and asks what is there. And she says there is a basement, and that is her laboratory. And our boy is quite surprised and asks why she is telling him this while she says it is to gain his trust, and is not a very important place for her. And if he wants to prove his loyalty, he must take the long-haired bishop there in 3 days. But he doubts and asks why Cecilia has to go there. And Miguel just says it is to destroy her in battle. Of course. And also because she wants to eat her. So she starts to get up and says she wanted to have a little more fun. But dawn is approaching. So they ended things there. And she really hopes he considers her proposal. And she just asks him not to do something he might regret. And now back in Belenus's lab, Abiga walks around thinking that now the seed has been planted. And he clearly felt that battle, the grandeur, and the pursuit of the power to awaken. And as soon as she opens the door, excitedly, she says that Natalia and Belenus did a good job and the reinforcements arrived right on time, but to her surprise, the place is empty. And they ask where they went, but at that moment she hears a voice saying she is quite cheerful. And she does not remember giving any orders to her. And she asks where Abigail went. And the one asking this is Anna right behind her, startling Abigail, and very quickly, Bigil kneels, saying that the lady is welcome, Miss Anna, while Anna puts her pressure on her. And Bigu is feeling cold. She asks what she is doing there, while she looks very serious, because she thinks she would not come there without a reason. And obviously, she came for something. But Anna walks past her and asks what happened, and she just came to see her and asks if the investigation is going well. And she also thinks she lost something while she grabs a capsule, and at that moment, Bigu goes into shock and wonders what she is doing, and this is the information about her that she promised to Soyuk, and if she finds out, she will definitely kill her. But she puts it back on the table, and says it does not seem like anything special there, while Bigo thinks it is a good thing she has not found out yet. But Anna says that, by the way, she found a bishop, which shocks Bigayo. And Anna quickly asks what happened because she wants to know, while Bigayo thinks it is a mess. And in the end, she knew. And she says of course, she will explain. And she found out that they would come there, and before they attacked the lab, she attacked first, and thanks to this lab. But at that moment, Anna makes a move, which leaves Bigai in shock again. as she thinks she will kill her. And she starts shouting for her not to do that, and they came. And the only thing she did was protect the lab, and to protect her work. She starts shouting apologies, but to her surprise, Anna grabs her shoulder, surprising Abigail while Anna says she did a good job. And big eye, quite nervous, just thanks her while wondering if she was just testing her, and is not typical of Anna to act like that. But Anna says that these bishops are so annoying that it is pathetic. What really shocks Anna is that she starts talking about how the time has come, which surprises her, and she asks, "What do you mean?" Anna says that the time has finally come, and she will get her wish on the battlefield, which gets Biga really excited while she asks what she is talking about, but Anna asks if she is interested while on the other side of the door. Minnie and Katerina are watching their conversation, and now back to the bishops. Cecilia starts talking to that bishop, and after they chat, Mirror appears right in front of her and asks what Dominique said. Cecilia replies that he told them to wait, and even though Abigail had the advantage, she was very strong and even killed her companions. She was the only one who thought she could use something at that level. And Mirror says it might have been an impossible mission from the start, and that the two of them were not enough. But Sayuk, she asks how he managed to escape, while our boy is over there on the other side of the room, just staring at them. He says it was probably because he got Natalie's power, and she told him that absorbing abilities is proof of an awakening, since she also wants him to awaken. She let him live because it was better for her, and the best question is whether he really absorbed Natalie's abilities, and our boy just says that, well, he thinks so, even though he only used it while having black eyes, and he starts staring at his hand and says he thinks he knows how this works, and Mirror says then it is true, and our boy asks what, and Mirror says it is what Akka told her before, and if he drinks a vampire's blood, he can steal the accumulated strength, and if he meets certain conditions, he can also steal their abilities, and since he was not awakened yet, he could not take Coco's and Katerina's abilities, but now he is about to awaken, and Mirror says he only absorbed Natalie's power, and our boy says that this is really interesting, but over there, Cecilia says she still does not understand. And by sucking the blood, she gains strength because Abigail did not drink Sayuk's blood, and just letting him escape shows that she has other plans, and so Tsuyuki gets really serious but stays silent while remembering her telling him that he was not her enemy, and he just wanted a little help to kill Anna, and our boy says that well. But at that moment he notices something in the hallway, and something is running towards them, while Mirror herself wonders who it is and how someone knows their location. But quickly the door opens, and someone rushes by, and Mirror gets scared, shouting for Soya, thinking it must be an ambush, but to her surprise, she recognizes the voice. And someone jumps on top of Tsuyuki, while saying they finally found him, and that she thought she would die waiting, and Coco gets very excited to reach Soya, and at that moment, other priests come in apologizing to the bishops, saying it is their fault, and Coco, very excited, asks Zook what he thinks they will do with that. It happens that he wonders what she is talking about, and Coco gets really excited, telling him to hurry up, but Sue says not now, and she can get more dark. And obviously she is talking about sucking his blood, and she starts to say that then she will take first, but when she starts taking off her shirt, our boy just tells her to put it on, and Cecilia herself feels embarrassed about what they are doing, but another priest enters the room calling for the bishops, and says that this was thrown at the front door, and Mir asks what it is. And the priest shows them a capsule that contains information about Anna. Now it goes back to Anna and Abigail tall talking while Katerina is on the other side of the door listening to the conversation as Anna says that soon she will see a great battle, and she needs a leader who can handle the bishops, so she will leave this with her. And Abigail stays quiet. But later she asks if she is absolutely sure about that, and Anna asks, "What do you mean?" While Abigail says that she just said it is definite this time, and she only wants to know about that. But Anna starts laughing, which surprises Abigail, not understanding why she is doing that, and Anna says it is true. In a woman like her, she is really amazing, and when she saw her for the first time, she did not even run away and was so eager for a fight that she attacked quickly, and maybe she was very different with her. But this time it is real, and there will be a battle very soon, and she is sure of that. And it is real this time. Just snap your fingers, while Katerina gets really nervous watching them. She thinks Anna is a very cunning bitch, and she does not know what she is planning to do now. But to Katerina's surprise, that other girl comes in bringing something to Anna. And little Katerina wonders what it is. Just then, Beagle goes into shock and asks what the hell is this that was delivered right in front of her. As soon as she uncovers it, Anna says it is the compensation that might take a while to fulfill her promise. And when Abiga sees that, she is really surprised, and Anna asks, "How about that?" And with that, she can be sure to unleash chaos, making Abiga even more excited. Meanwhile, on the other side, Katerina is getting nervous and thinks that girl is definitely an idiot, and she can't swallow this lie. And she can't stay there for another second. Mentally, she says goodbye to Biggle, and it is a shame. But she has no other choice and needs to think about herself now. And since when were they so close? But she remembers their conversation with Abigail saying she only has one another, and in the message, They were very excited talking to each other, and after Katerina gave the information to Bigil got very fierce, saying that with just this, she is sure Anna can't ignore her, but when she runs, she finally stops, remembering her friend and thinking about what she should do now. And now it cuts to a private project of the Vatican's secret service, and inside, Coco gets really excited saying that right now they are flying and she loves to fly, and she starts looking out the window and says she wants to stick her head out. Then the priest stop her, saying she can't do that, and while they play on one side in the other room, the other three are gathered. Meanwhile, Mira is very serious, remembering what happened a little while ago when she received the message that she should withdraw immediately, which was a surprise for her. And on the phone, someone was telling her that they underestimated the enemy, and Cecilia then asks if their mission was suspended. But on the phone, someone says of course not, and there are still people suffering. And what is happening in Mexico will soon be resolved personally by the bishop. And now, back on the plane, our boy asks Mira if Dominique will be okay alone. But Mira tells him not to worry about that, as he is the most powerful bishop right now, and our boy says okay. But Mira stares at him and says that whatever it is still a relief, and he asks what she means by that, and she says she thinks he has grown a lot, and when he saw Big for the first time, he let his emotions take over and lost control because of that, but now he can control himself better, and even though they failed the mission, at least they have a clue about his awakening. But on the other side, Cecilia breaks the table and asks what is good about that. They could not do anything, and how this could be good, and they failed in their mission. But they also failed to defeat the weakest leader there is, and what kind of bishops are they, and how could they fail the Vatican like that? And she gets really nervous saying that they are failures, and they did not help at all, while Mira herself does not know what to say, and our guy only realizes that she is pretty nervous too. And after a while, the plane lands and heading towards the secret base. Mira says maybe it is because he gained divine power through his blood. The sacred relics affect him less, but with the cock it is very different. She is almost dying, and our vampire says he did not expect that, and he asks about Dominique and what he was thinking sending them there. And this is the Holy See of the Vatican's death squad. And upon arriving there, Mira says she does not understand either, and they themselves do not come here often. But at that moment someone stops them both and says it has been a while, and quickly both kneel as the woman approaches asking how they are. And our guy is surprised staring at this woman and recognizes her as the Cardinal. The Cardinal is Helena. And Helena says that they told her that the two failed miserably on this mission. And it seems like they are both taking the bishop title lightly, and that is why she mentioned it to Dominique, that the two need to be reeducated again, which surprises Mira a lot, and she concludes by saying that is why he sent them to Lel. But before starting, she will check the current drills, and with that, she asks them to please follow her, as the training will begin. And now in the underground training center of the Vatican, Mira is training with her sword, with her beautiful sword movements, already attacking Helena, but Helena says that she is very slow, and with a simple movement, she cuts Mira's power while also cutting her chest, while Mira thinks that she did not even see her sword, and could not escape the attack. But quickly Helena sees Cecilia and is ready to attack her, but she manages to dodge at the last moment. But Cecilia does not give up and already makes a zigzag to attack Helena, but Helena manages to dodge while saying that it is over, already cutting her arm, leaving Cecilia in shock while she wonders how that happened. Helena says that her movements are very obvious, and she prepares a punch, which surprises Cecilia a lot. She has already received a punch in her chest and is thrown away, and Helena is walking and saying that they should stop playing and get up now, because they should know that in this place any wound heals easily, and this new generation of bishops seems like they really were too lenient this time. And Dominique and she won't be there forever. How could they be so complacent? And Lucy is hurt and Ed was born with more talent, but she is still very young and can't fully fulfill her role as a bishop, and right now, the two of them are the oldest bishops in the squad, and she seriously asks if that is all they have, while Miron stays quiet. But then she says that she knows that too, and the positions of the previous bishops became vacant because of this incident, and that is why they were hastily brought into this role. And due to her lack of power, she can't protect Lucia or anyone else, and that is why she feels ashamed of herself. But she asks once again, please, to teach her and help her be stronger, and she begs for her help. It little surprises Helena with her sincerity, and Cecilia right behind says that their duties as bishops are important and just hangs over the same veil as those vampires, and it makes her grind her teeth, and she feels that, and the two stand ready while Alina is surprised by this determination and says it is excellent, and they are good, but it is a shame they lack competence as bishops. But she sees that they have a lot of willpower, so they go straight to training, and at that moment, the two kneel thanking the Cardinal. While Cardinal said they are fine, they will take it slow and start with some basic physical training, and they have to run 10,000 laps around the training field, and that is just the basic mode. And Cardinal keeps saying that she would teach them everything from the beginning, and the one who takes longer to come back will have to run an extra 1,000 laps, and they should not forget that. And she quickly asks what they are doing, and they should stop wasting time and start now. And the two quickly start running, because they do not want to fall behind each other. while someone up top observes everything. Norgoro thinks that a cardinal is really a cardinal, and the bishops have greater respect for them, and Helena looks up and asks if his name is Sayak, and she wants to take a look at him for a second. And so the two meet in a room, while Alina says that Bishop Mirror is taking good care of him, and Sigurdo says yes. She is very attentive and responsible with everything, and Lena says that is right. But then she wants to know what he thinks of Bishop Ilia, and Soyuk becomes very serious, but still. He starts to say that he saw her some time ago, so he must know that she deeply hates vampires. And that is why they might have had some very strange moments, but he should not hate her. And she can be a bit stubborn, but deep down she is a good person. And anyway, enough talk. She asks if she watched the training, and our guy says yes. And she says he probably has not seen many bishop battles. And she wants to know what he thinks about them, and our guy says they do not know how to work as a team, which surprises Helena a lot. And the gentleman starts to say that although individually they are quite skilled, when they are together on the battlefield, they do not know how to make the most of it. And from his point of view, the teamwork issue is the biggest problem at the moment. And after he says this, Helena is surprised, gives a little smile, and says she thinks the same. And due to the rush to fill the vacant positions, it seems they only focused on individual skills, and so she intends to teach them properly this time. And they said he was a secret agent, so it does not surprise her that he has a good eye for details. So she wants to ask him for something. Starting now, she would like him to lead the Mirror Squad, which surprises our guy a lot. And Helena continues saying that this means he won't be under surveillance anymore, and he will also be considered a member of the Death Apostles. But Asuke asks if she will ask him to participate in the training too, but she says no. It would not mean much to him since he is a vampire, and Mirror talked to her, and he needs a large varied amount of blood. Or rather, blood with divine power. But that is not something she can just give away, and there are some conditions, and if he completes some missions for her, then he will be rewarded with a request, and that request can be anything he wants. Pointing at him with her little feet, and every day that goes by, she asked me if this work is not rated 18+, and the lady asks what mission that is, and Alina says there is a mission that only he can carry out. So she asks what he thinks, and he says it is fine. He agrees with her and accepts her offer. It is just that Talina says it is excellent, but she wants to warn him first that even for him, it won't be easy at all. It is just that the man thinks that what he needs most right now is blood with divine power, and besides that, it would be the blood of the Cardinal Helena herself, the strongest in the Vatican, and it would definitely have a different effect. And he has already been on numerous dangerous missions as a secret agent, and any mission she proposes to him, he will definitely fulfill. It is just that the mission she gave him was in a rather unusual location, and he wonders when Carol said it would not be easy. She was actually referring to this, with several kids running around in the middle of the park, while he observes them all, and to make matters worse, he has to stay by her side while Cecilia herself wonders what she is doing there. And now going back to the past, Cecilia went to Alina saying that this was ridiculous and why she should go with him, and he should go with Mirror. But Helena says no, and the day of the deposition is a kind of family event, and it is her who should go with him, and Suki is Dominique's replacement. But a reason for them to participate together, which is to improve their relationship, and in future missions, the distance between the two of them will be a constant obstacle, and that can't be resolved overnight. But she thinks it is better for her to make progress with it. And now, going back to the present, our boy says that since it seems like there is nothing to do, he will wait a bit. Then they come back and Cecilia says that is good. Just then, at that moment, someone goes to the two calling for Cecilia, and who appears is Ild running up to Cecilia, and she already hugs her saying she knew she would come, while Cecilia says it was her who invited her so of course she would come. But to Yude's surprise, while she hugs Cecilia, she turns to our boy in the back, and just lowers her head, and says hi to him, while he gives her a little wave. And at that moment two people arrive asking if the two of them are Ild's parents, and the lady says hi to both, and she is Miss Yoki's mother, Ild's friend, and they heard about Miss Yoki, and Cecilia says she understands while the lady thinks she did not expect to be in a situation like this. But that lady says that by the way it seems like Ud's mom takes very good care of herself, and she looks very young and asks how old she is. And Cecilia, who does not understand things very well, says she is 26 years old, which surprises both of them a lot, and the lady and the man get very nervous, and she starts listing the cities. And from what she knows, she is 10 years old. And then she goes to Cecilia, puts her hand on her shoulder, and says she did not know that, and she must have gone through tough times in her youth, while she cries from emotion. And Cecilia asks, what do you mean? And after a few hours, the next event will be the relay race, and she and her friend will run side by side. But to the girl's surprise, that kid bumps into her, and she falls to the ground. But then she looks at him and wonders why he did that, but the kid just stares at her with that arrogant face. And the teachers say that the blue team is the winner, and then he got really annoyed about that, and basically, the next event was to blow up the pot, and as he was getting angry, he used his power and managed to blow up that capsule, being the winner. And the next event is the tug of war, and once again, Eld uses her power and makes the boys lose, and once again, the white team is the winner. While that kid Jess was very sad. But then I said her friends were very happy. And she was watching that. Remember that everyone says she is very talented. And now she understands that she only used her life power enough to remain unnoticed. And that one looks to the side and sees if he is paying attention to the competition, while she is very happy looking at Il. And an older woman says she did not know she cared so much about why. And Cecilia says he said he would not bother her, but the one who says it is no use spending the whole day like this. And she should at least talk to him a little. And after a bit, she starts to say it is because they spent their childhood together, and then the digress in the Vatican very young, and since she has no memories of her parents. She sees Dominique as a father and herself as an older sister, and Ild's potential is greater than anyone else's, and despite her youth, she already had the power of a bishop. Instead of training her, she asked for permission to have a normal school life. But of course, this would also help her mental growth, and at least for now, she could spend her time like a child her age, and she hopes she can create happy memories while she is still in school. What surprises our boy, remembering Helena's words, is that in the end, Cecilia was still a good girl, and he realizes that she was telling the truth. But he asks what is wrong with her, and she asks what he is talking about. Amor. Yuke asks her if she remembers her parents, which shocks Cecilia a lot at that moment, and she gets very serious not knowing what to say. And she responds with a lot of anger, saying she remembers everything perfectly since the day she awakened her powers, the last moment she saw them alive, who were killed in front of her by that person. And she will probably never forget it. The sadness and despair she felt that day. Everything was taken from her by those red eyes, and the guy is really nervous. And Cecilia, angry, says they are a disgusting race that keeps harming humans, and they must be destroyed. And that is why the apostles exist. But our boy interrupts her and asks if she knows the motto of the Korean Secret Service, and the motto is, "We work in the shadows and seek the light." And although he has become a vampire, that conviction remains intact, and his only goal is to kill Anna and take revenge. And he also wishes that everyone could live in peace. But well, if she is going to kill him anyway, he asks her to kill him after they finish with Anna. But Cecilia said that anyway they are adults now, and at least he has memories of his parents. But our boy says no. The two of them died when he was a child, and at that moment, to their surprise, the teachers announced that now it is time for the final event. And everyone has seen enough of the children's games. And now the parents will also get to have fun. This surprises both of them a lot, not expecting it. Because at that moment the highlight event of the day begins, where they will see the bond between the parents, while our vampire is tightly holding on to Cecilia. And she feels very embarrassed asking him to wait a little, and the adventure is popping balloons. And so one of the teachers explains that without hugs and legs, the team that pops the most balloons will win the game, and the prize that the winning team will take home is an adorable stuffed animal that is anything but adorable. And our boy tells Cecilia that he thinks that is not necessary. And she says of course it is not. They do not need to do that. But at that moment, Hald calls Cecilia, and she gets very excited and says that she really wants that stuffed animal, and she asks if she could participate with Sayek, which surprises Cecilia a lot. And the girl told Hald that the two are not, but at that moment, Hald interrupts her with her adorable little eyes staring at the girl, and she gets very nervous, not knowing how to refuse, and simply accepts. And the two of them basically go to the front. Meanwhile, Sil asks if she was not saying she would rather die than do something like that. But she just tells him to shut up now, and the teacher is saying that now they should get ready, because the game is about to start. And this one quickly grabs a balloon and pulls Cecilia in, placing the balloon between the two of them. But this movement left Cecilia quite surprised, and she gets very nervous, asking why he did that. But he asks if she can't see that he is popping the balloons, and they can stop whenever she wants. But she should remember that she promised to give the stuffed animal to Ild. While Cecilia is feeling very nervous, thinking she knows that it is still very embarrassing, and she wants to stop right now, but she promised. And it was not for her, but for Ild. So she decided to make her happy, so she can't just refuse. And even though she is very embarrassed, Cecilia just tells him to keep going while she thinks that now she won't complain, because it is just a silly game. And there is no reason for her to be embarrassed, while the balloon is pressed between the two of them. But at that moment, the teacher up there points at the two of them, and tells them to explain themselves, and it is a one-time thing. And they can't do that again, which makes Cecilia even more embarrassed, wondering how that works. So basically, our boy turns to her and tells him to wait a moment. Cecilia tells him to wait a bit, because he can't do something like that. And Soyuk simply places the balloon between the two of them with Cecilia turned away. And yes, this work is getting more and more 18. For sure. And with this movement, Cecilia got very embarrassed, falling on the ground, not knowing what to do. Well, I think she can't accept this. And although she was determined to do something like that, it is too much, and she is very embarrassed, and she can't keep doing this. Because if she continues like this, she is definitely going to go crazy. It is just that Suki does not care about anything and grabs her leg, putting a balloon in his mouth. ready to pop another one. But she is very surprised by his movement and tells him to stop right away and asks what he is doing. But he just says he is popping the balloons. But she just tells him not to be on top of her, and he asks what she is talking about. But she just tells him to go easy since this is her first time. Emo, very confused, asks if she thinks he has any experience, and if he looks like a pervert who is going to do anything other than pop balloons. But she says that is not what she means. Just looking to the side, they notice the other team, Misook's team, which has already popped 6 balloons, and they are doing very abnormal balloon popping movements by themselves. But since the two are a real couple, the man says that Misook has been looking very lonely lately, and he asks his wife what she thinks about making a little brother for him, and his wife just says he is very bold, and it is clear to see in this scene that he already pops the 6 balloons. She gets really worried. But right next to her, that boy Misook starts laughing at Ild's face with that very arrogant smile, and Cecilia gets a bit worried about this, and does not know what to do. But our boy right above her says that they will stop this, and he understands that she is worried about Ild. But there is no need to go that far, and he will complete the mission because she has already done enough. But she gets really nervous staring at him and asks what he means by she has done enough. And no, all she is doing is escaping, and she wants Wid to be happy. So she will keep her promise. But she does not want to see you sad, and if she keeps thinking and saying that it is fine, she won't resist, and he can take care of everything, for sure. Each chapter that passes gets weirder, and Silk says that if he understands, this will end quickly, and he already presses the balloon against her belly, while she gets really nervous, and our boy tells him to wait a bit, and pushes his belly against hers, popping the balloon, and then another position. He pops another balloon, and then in yet another even stranger position, he pops another balloon, and the more balloons that are popped. But Cecilia thinks no. She is going crazy and doing this in front of so many people. She is doing something very blasphemous. But she thinks that she won't run away yet, because all of this is for Eld, and our boy is still there doing his moves to pop more balloons that are getting more and more peculiar. And after the match ends, the winning team was Ild, and the teachers congratulate the parents, and Cecilia's guy thinks it is over. And although it was very embarrassing, seeing Ild smile is enough for her, and after Cecilia recovers from the shock, she faces him talking to that mother, with this mother who is quite cheeky, by the way, saying that they both stop for the little brother for tonight. But our boy says no, none of that. And Cecilia starts staring at him and gets more and more embarrassed. And now back to the Vatican base. Alina says that now Bishop Mirror can use the authentic holy relics, and they won't be replicas anymore. And she asks how it compares to her power before, when it was in the testing phase. She asks if she feels anything different, but Mirror says no. She has not noticed much difference. It is just that her hair is longer. And now if we go back some time with Alina talking to Mirror and Mirror asking why she was called there today. And she says of course it is about the training, and now that Cecilia has gone out with Sayak, she has some matters to discuss with her, and Mirror says she does not know what to say. But she asks why she has to use this, and is like I said, with each chapter that passes, it gets more and more 18. Still in the sense that these are bishops and priests and nuns, and everything else. But Alina responds that it is because they are going to perform a sacred ceremony, and today Bishop Mirror wants to test her skills as a bishop, which makes her quite worried, and the scenes start in a specific location. While Kay asks how much Mirror knows about sacred relics, and Mirror says that sacred relics are weapons or objects from previous bishops, and besides that, as long as certain conditions are met, she understands that they also prevent vampires from getting close, and Helena says that the relics are basically that, tools that help them fight against vampires, and all the previous generations of bishops, including her, will use sacred relics. But Mirror asks why she is asking this. But he still asks why they do not give relics to all bishops. And that is because it is not possible. But she thinks that it is not the bishop who chooses the sacred relic, but the sacred relics that choose the bishop. And if you use a relic that did not select you, you will lose your divine power, and the divine power that steals your relic will never be able to recover it again. And that is why the sword they gave her is not a real relic, but a replica of the sacred relic. And in her time as a bishop, they trained hard until they were chosen by a sacred relic, and after that incident, they could not just wait for the selection, and so she prepared to take her test before Peter's sword. And the Mirror goes to the sword. Tana says that the moment she grabs the sword, the test will begin. And she should know that if it were anyone else, she would have been given time to prepare. But for her, that is not possible. That is because it was you who precisely caused the loss of the bishops from the previous generation. And the Mirror remains silent while Alina says that if she fails the test, she will lose all her divine powers. And the Death Squad has already lost several bishops, and it is her duty as a bishop to do her part. And she thinks this is the least she can do, and the Mirror says she knows. And her mistakes are not in any way lesser. So she will make sure to pass this test and fulfill her duty as a bishop. And he tells her it is excellent. So she wishes her good luck, and the moment the Mirror touches the sword, a glow begins to surround her. And she simply appears in another place before a sword, and she grabs the sword and looks around while she remembers Helena's words. Who said the test was simple? When she is in the sacred space, a shadow will appear, and that shadow she must ascend, and as soon as the shadow appears, it vanishes in the next second and quickly advances towards the mirror. But the mirror manages to block the attack while she remembers what the cardinal just said. And those words certainly did not come from her heart, and she is sure she said that deliberately given her growth. And maybe they will find a way to fix this. Because after all, it was Sook who would finish the job. And what if she can do that? Of course not. And justice without power is incompetence. And because she was weak, she could not protect Lucia and she almost fell. But there will be no more defeats. Only victories, and no matter who the enemy is that appears in front of her, she will definitely cut them down. Because that is her mission and also her own surrender. And now at night in the hotel, Yud in the bathtub is saying it was a lot of fun, and she won the sports festival. He won the stuffed animal thanks to Sook and Cecilia, and next year she wants them to go together again, and she asks Cecilia if she also had a lot of fun today, while Cecilia stops bathing at that moment, and she, quite embarrassed, says it was not that bad, and she asks if it is true, and Cecilia asks what she means by that. He says that Mook's mom said that about Sook, and that she would give her a little brother, and as soon as she hears this, Cecilia is very shocked and starts saying that it is impossible, and why would she do something like that, and besides that, she is not mentally prepared yet. But when Cecilia looks at Wild, the girl has simply fallen asleep in the bathtub, and so she picks her up and realizes that she is very tired, and it is pretty normal because she ran around all day, and she looks really adorable when she is sleeping. But she remembers asking her if it was true that she would have a little brother, and after she remembers that, she feels very embarrassed and starts recalling what happened throughout the day with all those unexpected moves from Soyuki. But she just shakes her head, trying not to remember that, while thinking that it was just a game, and there is no reason to be embarrassed. But to Cecilia's surprise, our boy comes into the room and tells Cecilia that she bought this, but asks if that is what Y wanted. And it is a pretty strange name, and Cecilia quickly turns around and realizes that he is there. But she has not gotten dressed yet, and she starts screaming no, but at that moment, she realizes that being very silly. She let Ildus go and the girl is falling to the floor while she screams for Wild. But quickly our boy runs to catch her, and Cecilia does the same, but at the moment the two grab Wild. Their heads collide and they start staring at each other while Cecilia gets very nervous, and because of all this movement, her towel falls to the floor and she suddenly appears naked in front of Tsuyuki, making her even more embarrassed. And she quickly starts screaming out of shame, telling him to get out of there. And after the commotion, I continue sleeping, hugging her stuffed animal, which is really ugly. But right in front of her, Sook and Cecilia are staring at her while she sleeps, and Ceci is very happy, looking at Wild's cuteness, while Sook says she fell asleep. So what are they supposed to do about this? Staring at that bag, and Cecilia really just says that, obviously, they have to eat together. When Wild wakes up, Em says she wanted to eat that, but she gets very nervous and goes quiet right away, and basically, they open the bag and start eating those chicken pastries, while we are waiting for her to eat before it gets cold, and she starts eating those pastries and says she will only eat a few, while she wonders why her stomach had to growl at that moment. But she looks at Soyuk and wonders why he is not eating, while our guy just stares at her, and she feels very embarrassed after he is staring at her, and she quickly asks why he is looking at her, while he talks about how he is a vampire. Food means nothing to him. This surprises Cecilia, and she remembers that is right. He is a vampire, but he must be very hungry and has not had a drink in a long time. She wonders what his feeding cycle is like and how Mir gave him blood. She has no idea about that. If she says it is a shame, and if he wants to drink her blood, she quickly shuts her mouth, feeling very embarrassed, while our boy asks how come. She says it is nothing, while thinking she must be going crazy for wanting to do this. She is a bishop offering her blood to a vampire, and he, who did not hear her, asks what she was going to say. But she just says it is fine. But she gets very nervous and starts shouting that she won to give her blood to him, and leaves it to Mir. Sky says it is okay. He does not mind. And it is not urgent, while she thinks that is a relief, and it is all thanks to that stupid balloon popping competition. Now, every time she sees him, she feels stranger and needs to forget about it. She starts drinking to forget the whole day, while thinking she can't make any more mistakes. But at that moment, she tastes something weird and rushes for the liquid right away, and that is when she realizes it was alcohol. And if she starts screaming, asking why he bought the alcohol, could she drink it by accident? But then she realizes she spat all the alcohol in Soyuk's face, and she gets very nervous about it as she realizes she made another mistake and spat in his face, and he must feel very disgusted. While our girl calls Cecilia, she says it is his fault for blaming the drink. He should have noticed. But our boy says he is sorry because he did not know it was alcohol, and it looked like regular juice. He stands up and tells her he will clean this up, and if she wants, she can rest. But she is quite surprised by his attitude, and as soon as he gets up, she says thank you for today, which surprises Soyuk, and he stares at her, and she continues saying that was what I did, and our boy says he thanks her too for accepting what happened earlier, and then he asks her to let him take care of this, but she starts yelling, very nervous, saying well, She does not really understand this kind of thing, while Sue wonders what she is talking about. Cecilia says she has been in the squad for almost her entire life, and how could she know about that? She is pretty nervous. Amanda, he should not take that the wrong way, and naturally. She is not like that. But Sylvette goes up to her, puts his hand on her head, and says that is very strange. She does not seem to have a fever. So why is her face so red? But she starts screaming that it is because of the alcohol, but he says she spat everything out. Only she said she drank a little, and she keeps drinking the alcohol, and after finishing the whole can, she gets drunk instantly, which is very bizarre. She heads towards Suyuk and says how nice. She is going to sleep now. But first she needs a bath. While she simply lies down on the bed and falls asleep, and our boy thinks yes. This woman is very strange, and he wonders if she has always been like this. But while he is staring at her, he notices her murmuring something, and she keeps apologizing for always being so mean, and she thanks him for saving her, but what he does not understand is if it is for him or someone else. And now back to the Vatican base. In the test of the sacred sword, Mira finally defeated that shadow and says it is decided. The sword of St. Peter belongs to her, and she is the final winner, and the strength he gave her, she will use with pride as the bishop. And back to the present. Helena says she did a good job and this sword is no longer a replica, and now she can wield the original sacred relics, and she asks how it compares to before. If she felt anything different. This mirror starts to feel the power of the sword, and says that even now she does not feel much difference. And Alina says that since she has been inside the sacred sword all this time, she might feel that way, but in her eyes, she has become stronger than ever, and it seems that now, finally she is an authentic bishop. And that said, now Bishop Mirror, what does she think about using her baptismal name? Surprising Mirror a lot, and Cecilia says she knows that she is rejecting this because of that incident. But it has been a long time, and she is sure that others feel the same, and, first of all, it was not anyone's fault. But Mirror interrupts and says it would not have happened if she had not been there, and she thanks her for the words. But she will continue acting in her own name, and Helena says she understands, and if that is what she wants, there is nothing she can do. And anyway, she congratulates her because the number of bishops capable of guarding the sacred relics has now increased. And then she asks if there was anything in common during her test. But Mirror is thinking about it, and remembers her test against that shadow, and she remembers the eye of that shadow, which was a red eye. But she tells Helena that nothing special happened. But she says to Helena that she was going to ask a question, and Helena tells her to go ahead. And the best question is whether a vampire can use a sacred relic. And Helena says it would be impossible because, besides that, the purpose of manipulating the sacred relic in Bazan was not to use it, but to eliminate it and attack the sanctuary. And probably the vampire would not even be able to get close to the sacred relic, let alone use it. And now in another place, Dominique is facing a person asking him where Ziyuki is, and this is not the guy she talked to before. But she says it does not matter. He looks pretty strong, so he can keep her entertained with Abigail using the sacred relic of the fists. And now at the Holy See, in the general room of the Vatican, our boy finally returns and says that now that they are back, he should form the cardinal. And he feels a little strange. Maybe because of the sacred relic. But at that moment he stops and asks Cecilia if she is not going along, and if by any chance she feels unwell. But Cecilia says she is feeling okay, while she thinks this is bad. And she remembers that Wid was leaving and even said goodbye to her. And after she drank that night, she does not remember anything else. And besides that, they took off her clothes, and the two of them slept together in the same bed, and she wonders if that idiot did something to her while she was sleeping. But she gets really nervous and thinks that in the end, she is still okay. But she remembers that it was not him who advanced on her, but it was the other way around. It was her who advanced on him, telling Soyuk that the balloon popping game was fun, while he was asking if he did not want to pop it now. But Cecilia starts to think that this must be crazy. She can't jump to conclusions. And maybe nothing happened. And while our girl is walking, Cecilia stops and says that at night she will ask if something happened between them, while our guy is quite surprised and remembers that actually, at night, Cecilia was yelling a lot, while he gets really nervous, not knowing what to say, and so, he turns and says no. Nothing happened, but Cecilia notices his reaction and feels very embarrassed, thinking that definitely something happened, and besides that, clearly, it was his fault. But at that moment, to both of their surprise, someone comes out of a cell, and when they realize, they recognize that person. And in front of them is Mirror asking if they are okay, and Mirror asks what is wrong, while Cecilia back there says it is nothing. But Zook asks what that is and says her hair has grown, but Cecilia said no. It was not her hair that grew, and even her clothes changed. And Mirror says it is nothing, and Cecilia, nervous, says they are all fine, but Mirror turns and realizes they were on their way to become cardinal, and they arrive just in time, because now Dominique is there, which surprises both of them, and so quickly everyone gathers, and with the Mirror up front, she says that she heard he went back to Dominique, and Dominique says yes. It has been a while and asks how they are doing, while he says it seems like they have been training hard, and on top of that, the Mirror congratulates her. Later, I heard that she managed to use a sacred relic, which surprises Cecilia a lot. And she wonders what that means, and what happened while she was gone. The mirror quickly thanks her, and Dominique goes to Cecilia and says that she looks better than before. So something good must have happened, but this makes Cecilia very embarrassed, and she starts to say no. Nothing happened, but Alina in the back says that he knows he is happy for his disciple. But she wishes he would finish his report. And Dominique says of course. And then what he was saying was that when he arrived to destroy the lab, he found the fourth leader and she was using a sacred relic, which surprises both of them. And Alina says that then a vampire using sacred relics should be impossible because of the holy power in the relics. And she asks if he is really sure that she was violating sacred relics and not just holding them. But Dominique says that it was also hard for him to accept. But he definitely saw her using it, and he can guarantee that. And before blowing up the lab in Russia, he tried to rescue the hostages. But there were no survivors, and when he left that lab, the fourth leader had already left, and there was no trace of her. And the skake at the end is wondering if this is really serious, and if two bishops could not defeat her. And Dominique faced them all alone and came back without a single scratch. And Helena says that even so, the laboratory, the headquarters of Blow Snow were destroyed, so he is happy that at least they cut off his supply. And she tells Dominique to return immediately to the sanctuary and reinforce the security, and Dominique says she understands. And Alina says everyone needs to pay attention, because they have now acquired the ability to use sacred objects. Therefore, to deal with them, everyone would also have to be able to use them. And Dominique goes to give Cecilia a call and asks about that face. He seems to be impatient, but he just tells her that she will be fine. But Cecilia says she does not need him to console her, because she knows her limits well. And she always talked, but never managed to. And even the mirror can use the sacred objects. And Dominique is pleased with this change in her personality and tells her not to worry, because she has also become much stronger. And the awakening of the flame ability occurs in total 2 times. And the first awakening was done by anger, but the second awakening will be by controlling her anger, which surprises Cecilia a lot. And Dominique says that in all his life he tried to help her control her anger, but it was always a failure. But now he can see she is much calmer than usual, which surprises the girl. And Dominique says he does not know why. But that does not matter, and he only says that she did very well, and he is very happy for her, and she will certainly become a great bishop, while she happily thanks her master. But soon after that, Lena starts saying that is a beautiful master-disciple vision, but something that makes a great bishop, and she asks if they know what they are, and that this is a solid foundation of physical strength. So they should focus on their training, and both will run 1,000 laps around the training field. And Dominique in the back starts running to escape from the training, and Alina continues saying that Cecilia rested enough, so she will train twice in Saya. She calls him to go with her, and while the two walk together, Cardinal says she promised him that if he completed the mission successfully, she would give him everything he asked for. And then she asks Soyuk what he desires now, and what he wants her to do for him. And so she says that everything is really possible. Then she asks him please not to exist, and Soyuk says he has just one request, and he would like to drink her blood. And Alina says that as he expected. Then that is what he wants. But she says wanting the blood he asked her for, and what if she granted him something else? Because he completed the mission splendidly, and thanks to him, Cecilia grew much stronger, and so as a symbol of gratitude. But quickly our quota thanks him and says that if he needs anything, he will ask her. But for now he wants the cardinal's blood, and that is the only thing he needs. And Ilan looks at him very seriously and says she is relieved, which surprises Soyuk. And Helena says that the bishops are very naive, so she was testing him to see if he had any dark intentions. But from what she heard, he is only interested in revenge, and now she can trust him with the team leader position, leaving Yuki looking very serious. But he asks her, what if he is hiding his intentions? And she says that is possible, and if that is the case, he will have to hide them forever, because the moment he gets caught, he won't be in this world anymore. And since they are talking about bishops, how about Cecilia joining them too? Which surprises Soyuk, asking what Cecilia is like, and Cardi replies, she will be a great asset to your team, and it seems good for her growth too. But our boy says he personally does not care. But Cecilia finds him very uncomfortable. But Alina says that is obvious, because he is a vampire. But he does not need to worry about that, because she will like him a lot. And what she asks is, what do you mean by liking a lot? And Alina says that now it does not seem like she is going to discuss much, and so he must let her do the other thing he wants. Already taking off her clothes, and now in the hallways of the headquarters, Cecilia leans against the wall while you think that she finally finished, and it was 2,000 times around. And she will definitely never drink again, because she is feeling really sick now, but she wonders if it is on purpose, because the cardinal asked to see you separately like this. And she starts thinking nonsense at that moment and wonders if that bastard Yuki is flirting with the cardinal. But she thinks no, and there is no way he is with the vampire. Just then, she hears a noise, and when she looks ahead, she realizes that coming out of the door, this room definitely belongs to Cell. And she wonders why that bastard is coming out of there. But our boy recognizes Cecilia and asks where she is coming from, but this Cecilia, who is very perceptive, noticed the blood on his collar, and she wonders about this blood. But she is very surprised and thinks that maybe this blood belongs to the cardinal. Imagining the scene of the cardinal on top of Sayek, and she gets very irritated at that moment and says that he looks completely innocent. But he is a cunning bastard. And the incident at the hotel was not his fault after all, and she starts running towards him and says he is a shameless person and asks what he did with the cardinal. But our boy says there she is. And he was just looking for her, and Cecilia feels very embarrassed and asks if he was really looking for her, and she stops right then and asks what he needs, and Suik says it is some bad news for her, leaving Cecilia quite worried, as she only sends. But looking at her expression it seems to be very serious, and Silvio, who is a cardinal, wants her to stay with them. And she said it would be better for the mission's performance, and for her personal growth too, but she does not have to force herself if she does not want to. But at that moment, Cecilia starts laughing and feels very happy inside, and our boy quickly wakes her up and asks what she thinks, while Cecilia feels very nervous and thinks she must have gone crazy. Why is she smiling like that? Well, our girl asks why she is laughing like that, but Cecilia says it is because of that. But Silk starts saying that it would be uncomfortable for her to work with him anyway, so he will tell the cardinal that she refused. This leaves Cecilia quite surprised. But she quickly runs over to him, telling him to stop, and says that it is a bit uncomfortable to travel with a vampire. But that is an order from the cardinal, and so she will have to do it. And Yuke, feeling nervous, says everything is fine while wondering what has gotten into her. Just then, Mirror appears and says she was looking for them, and it seems they were both there. And Mirror asks if they were in the middle of an important conversation, but Cecilia says no, they just finished, and Mirror says that is perfect and grabs Yuki, saying she will take him for a moment, surprising Cecilia, and Mirror says if anyone asks, she should tell the others they are in the training field. Meanwhile, if they ask what is going on with them and why they are holding hands, they are just casually like that. But she thinks no, more than that. They said they were going to the training field, but that does not seem right, while she thinks that Mirror is taking him to a secret place that only they know. She wonders where they are going and what they plan to do, but is not like she likes Sayek, so she does not understand why she is thinking about these things, and besides that, all those things were just her delusions. It is not like he does something like this. But she remembers when he touched her head asking if she had a fever. And she gets even more nervous and thinks it is all just concern and nothing happened. And at the hotel with Mirror too, and with the cardinal as well. Just then, the door of the cardinal's room opens, and the cardinal steps out and sees Bishop Cecilia and asks what she is doing there. Cecilia recognizes the cardinal while Alina says she asked Sayek to talk to her and asks if he mentioned anything. Just then, Cecilia notices Helena's neck is stained with blood, and she is very shocked at that moment and realizes that it is real. This is completely insane, and to be very nervous, she starts screaming, and the scene cuts to our boy and Mirror going down several stairs while he asks her where they are taking her. But she says it is something she wants to check, and she mentions that she sees a vampire's light in the sacred relic test, and the fact that Abigail handled the sacred relic seems to connect him in some way. And our boy asks how this illusion of a vampire works, and Mirror says they may have found a way for vampires to handle the sacred relics. But currently, they have very little information about it, and this Mirror opens the door, and when the door opens, our boy notices that sword right in the center, and thinks of its name. Peter's sword, and this is the Mirror until the sword, and says that it has the most reliable method, and that is for him a vampire, and she sends it. He tries to hold this sword, because after holding it, it will be much easier to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and do not forget to like the video. It helps me a lot, and if you liked it and want the next part, let us get 5,000 likes on this video. Of course, be part of our community of members, and that is it. Folks, I will leave it here. I hope to see you in the next video.